Hey Dom, I made it.
All right, so it becomes it's Friday. We did it.
We
Solid
did
made
it.
it.
Another week gone.
And
Dang.
Albie and Drayden are back,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
I don't have to run things, and hopefully we don't have technical issues like we did last week.
Was it bad?
Thank you
It's
for
just-
calling
finally got
technical
good.
support. Have you tried turning it off and back on again?
To be
There
fair, it
was
was
two-
more Discord than you.
Yeah.
It really was.
So Drayden, you didn't meet Mr. Nimbus. Is that because you are Mr. Nimbus?
It could be. I wish I
He
could.
can be whatever you want him to be.
I wish I could.
Well, he was at the
thrust
water
things into
conference.
existence.
With the World Water Conference, you met the CEO of Water. I thought maybe he'd meet the Lord of Water.
Yeah.
Drayden has not turned into
No, it was fun.
Florida
It
Man.
was I mean,
Good time.
there was like some cool people to hang with. Then there was a bunch of just rich people
Jesus,
that were
paintball.
like. It was like half of it was people just actually just chilling and having good conversations. Then there half was like just a bunch of like rich business owners that were just talking about how much money they make, and it was like, no, you're not fun to hang out with. I'm gonna go hang out with these cool dudes over here. They're partying, so
How much did you drink?
quite a bit. But
Were you required to drink water?
I didn't really have much water. Paintball.
Did they have samples of different kinds of water?
They did have samples of water. Paintballs. Thanks for the fucking gifted subs. Jesus.
10 of them.
10 of them. Rayo, thanks for 3 subs. Dom.
No big deal.
But yeah, it was fun though. There was a event dinner thing by the beach pool thing, and then there was we had the event, the convention, and then we went on some yacht on the they call it the intercoastal. It's like Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Like there's this big strip that's on the beach, and there's like an inlet on the other side. So it's like just took a yacht thing up and down that for like 4 hours.
The intercoastal actually runs almost the entire eastern seaboard and most of the Gulf Coast of the country.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But
LB, we're not talking about Vegas, just so you know. I know
there
it
was
sounds-
Okay, yep, it's fine.
Yeah, there was one, and then
He's
we got
talking
back
about
from that,
Florida.
and then we got back from that, and
Yes.
everyone was like, "Oh, they all were going to bed," and I was like, "Dude, it's like midnight. The fuck is people going?" Because I guess like a lot of those hotels, I guess it's for like upend things. All the hotels do like last call at like midnight, like they shut down at midnight. I'm like, is that like a state thing? But then I was like looking on my phone, and I saw there was some bar open till 3 a.m, and it was like 8 blocks away. I'm like, here I go walking, see if I don't lose my phone this time.
Tanja Falkenbach.
And so I got there.
Wait,
and it's-
where was that again?
He
it
went to a
was-
work thing last week.
we were in Hollywood Beach by basically like
So
between
you were
Fort
in old
Lauderdale and
people part of
Miami.
Florida.
Like yeah, it's like Miami, Fort Lauderdale. In between there's a town called Hollywood. We were there.
It's the same thing where I work, Drayden, and I've heard our general manager of the big hotel, say nothing good happens at bars after 11.
Oh, I don't know. I went to this bar. And it was
That's funny because my saying is nothing good happens at bars before 11. So
yeah, but it was this bar that like there was these 2 girls working, and then like these 2 bouncer guys, and like no one else was in the bar, but they only spoke Russian. So I was like trying to order a drink, and they're like, I don't know English. I was like, pointed at the menu.
You don't know English. Why do you own a bar?
Yeah, well, because I just pointed at the menu and I was able to order drinks that way. And then it was like a hookah bar. So there was this other group of dudes came in, and they like got like a hookah thing. They're like, come on over. I'm like, okay, I don't really, sure. You know what? Just fucking hitting hookahs. And they were.
What time was it when you got mugged?
No, it was like 3:30 when I went back to the hotel. But they were like these 3 dudes from Quebec.
Oh,
And they only spoke Russian?
No, the bar staff spoke Russian. These guys spoke. One of them just spoke regular English, and then one you could tell was French Canadian, but spoke English with a heavy accent. And then
All you need to know in Russian.
I was hanging with them, and then they like were having a good time. Then they made me an official friend of Quebec. So I have, and if I'm ever in Quebec, I need to call them and hang out with them. So I've now got a diplomatic card for Canada in case shit goes down.
You're an honorary Quebecois.
I mean, Quebec's nice. I do want to go to Quebec, but depending on when the Formula One race is there, that's the one thing I want to go to Quebec for.
Yeah. Or sorry, well, not just Quebec. More specifically, Montreal. I have a official friend card for Montreal. is what they were saying. So
Hey, that's where the race is. They have it in Montreal.
I haven't seen him in a while. He was run for CSM a couple times, but there's he organizes the Eve meetup there.
Yeah.
Can't remember his name right now.
Ben?
Ben
Yeah.
Rush. Yeah.
Yes.
Ben Rush. I
Yeah.
forgot
Yeah,
his
yeah.
name.
He does like a Fallout 76 role play stream now. Kind of weird.
So, LB,
mean,
honest
if
question
that's where
for
you're
someone that's
from,
Canadian.
you know.
If you go to Quebec and you know no French, can you at least reasonably get around?
Yeah.
Isn't it required by law that everything's in both English and French?
I think if
So,
you
yeah,
don't
but
know
in
French, you're
Quebec-
probably all right.
In Quebec, it's more French than English.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, but I think
So,
if you
like-
don't speak French but you do English, you'll probably be fine. I would assume.
I literally
you're
spent a week
okay.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally spent a week in Quebec City, and I don't know any French whatsoever.
Yeah, I think
and had no
Montreal.
issue.
I feel like Montreal is like the most French of all the cities there, and
No, it's the opposite,
No,
actually.
really,
Quebec
No,
City is
Que-
way more French than Montreal is.
Yeah, Montreal is. Yeah, go ahead.
There's an English portion of Montreal. Like, they only speak English.
Oh, okay.
It's like a lot of Irish descendants. So it's mostly English, and then French on the side, and then the rest of the city is French with English on the side.
I
Yeah.
love having this conversation with a bunch of Americans because I'm here going like, when I was at school, like, okay, yeah, you have to learn French, and then, you know, there's options to learn Spanish or German on top, and I'm like, I have reasonably passable conversational French and German because of that. Like,
Well, that isn't your
I
work
don't use
headquarters
it.
in France?
I don't use it very often, but like if I go to France or I go to Germany, like after a couple days, I can kind of settle in and like get the language back, and it's so it's one of those interesting bits of like, hey, yeah, I was kind of forced to do this when I was young, and so now I can kind of get back into it when I go there. And you guys are there going like, how do I get by in a place that doesn't have English as a first language? And it's great.
Yeah.
Like, guys, I love it. It's hilarious.
Luckily,
Well, I mean, yeah,
if,
like
if
I
there
said
was,
though, I mean,
if there was
Quebec
What a
one,
City
big
is
ocean
very-
separating us.
if there was
yeah,
one
Quebec City
language,
is very, very French and very. It was super French. It was kind of shocking when I got there, and I spent a week there. I know absolutely zero French whatsoever. Never once had an issue. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those things where even if they don't want to speak English, they definitely know it.
And then they will
Well, it all boils down to they
make
want your
money
money,
from
so-
you. Yeah.
Yeah, they want your money. They're going to.
Especially if you pull out a $20 American dollar or American bill versus like the Canadian, trust me, they'll speak English real quick because they'll just be like, yeah, you can just pay for that in American money.
I mean,
Yeah, because you're getting
more,
ripped
but-
off by the exchange rate.
Eh.
a $20 bill is what, like 32 Canadian rupees right now?
Lord. Let me
Rupees.
check.
Canadian rupee.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like
no,
150 Canadian to
I thought it
one
was
It can't be
US.
that much.
It's not
no.
that-
I'm gonna need you to
it's-
convert that into toonies.
I thought it was like
Please
a
convert
dollar.
to
It's like a
toonies.
$1.20 Canadian for $1 US or something like that. Like, I don't think the exchange rate's that terrible.
The only place that I have to
$1
compare-
US dollar is $1.44 Canadian.
Oh,
Holy shit!
Oh,
way
damn, it's
higher.
gone up. Wow.
Well, Drayden, remember Eve Toronto when when CCP's credit card machines went down? So they were only taking cash, but you could pay for it at the US dollar list price, but in Canadian dollars.
oh.
So it was cash only, but you basically got like a 1/3 discount because of the exchange rate.
I didn't know that.
Nice.
Oops.
Yeah,
Alright,
so
so-
the Eve store, the CCP's merch stand at Eve Toronto, they had that. They were like, "Yeah, our credit card machines are broke, so we can only take cash, but we'll take Canadian dollars."
So the only place that that I could compare, like going to Quebec to, would be the Iceland trip, where I had literally no issues. Is it pretty similar to that? Like there, everyone just spoke English and Icelandic. it felt like.
I feel
Yeah.
like pretty much anywhere around the world, if you didn't know the local language, if there was one language to have, it would be English. So
It's the most widely spoken
Yeah.
language for sure.
It's
Yeah.
mostly
Most widely
because of
spoken
tourism.
second language.
yeah, tourism. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone's going to speak English, but you have a higher chance of coming across someone that does than any other language that you speak that's not English.
Just grunt and point,
Well,
you'll be fine. Just grunt and point.
did
My
you wanna-
personal favorite is the fact that, like, in Germany, they all basically take 4 years of English, but the problem is, unless they live in an area where they get a lot of English speakers, they don't speak it as much.
Yeah.
But it was really funny because when I was there and I was in Heidelberg, and I know some German, but I don't know enough to like ask every question. And I was at this place that was their equivalent of a Best Buy, and I just walk up to the guy and I basically say, like, in German, I know a little German, but it's I don't know a lot, and I just like walk up to him and I'm kind of stumbling him a little bit. I'm like, oh hallo, ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, but es ist nicht gut sprechen English, and he just looks at me. He's like, oh yes, a little bit. How can I help you? It's like, oh, you
And you
fucking
just feel
bastard.
so
Right, like-
bad because their English is way better than your German.
Yeah,
like,
I know. I'm just sitting here like, oh,
really-
Yeah,
you
like, I took a
motherfucker.
semester of German in high school because, you have to at least where I'm at, like you had to take 1 year of a language, and my school offered Spanish or German. I don't remember much German. I do remember how I could go there and be like, Ich möchte ein Stück Kuchen.
Ein Bier,
well,
ein
I-
Bier
I-
bitte.
I want a
Sorry,
piece
Nick.
of cake.
Ein Bier bitte.
That'll
Yeah,
get
the
me
funny thing
through.
about it
Ja,
was
ja, ich möchte ein Bier bitte.
That'll get me
that
through.
guy
Wo
probably
ist
hadn't
die
spoken English
Toiletten?
in
Wo ist der Bahnhof? That's it.
that guy
You're
probably
good.
hadn't spoken English in 5 years, and that's why he's like so afraid to even speak it. Like he looked
Yeah,
so
but, like-
terrified. I'm like, okay, dude.
There's
But-
a lot
but
to be
here's the
said
thing,
for
though.
like not even that there is, I think, a lot to be said for not even trying to like give them context on how much you speak. Just kind of like try and talk and see how much you stumble, and then like see how they respond. Because especially in Germany, in my experience, if you go in and you say, "Hello," like that bit of like you try, and
put a
then
little bit of effort
you
in, yeah.
miss it.
Mm.
If you miss something, they'll kind of put 2 and 2 together and try and help you out. And that way you kind of get a little bit of experience of trying to have the conversation at the same time as getting what you want, rather than the whole bit of like going straight in and saying, I only speak a little bit.
Yeah.
Can we speak in English? And
I mean,
they
the other-
appreciate they appreciate the attempt more than they appreciate whether or not you got it right.
As
Yeah.
much as I,
I mean,
love
you could
this
probably
term,
always use the line, Entschuldigen Sie bitte, ich bin ein Ausländer. And they'll probably be like, yeah, okay, you don't speak German.
No,
as
I
much as
actually think it
love
was
this
funny because my
topic,
one buddy.
we do have a
Oh, go ahead.
lot to talk about.
Yeah,
tonight,
we should
actually.
probably
It's
swing into some
actually
Eve.
Eve
There's a lot of Eve
related,
shit.
and yeah, we're 18 minutes in the show, and we haven't even gone around the horn.
Yeah, we can do the horn real quick, and then let's hit
Oh,
some of the
let's
Eve topics.
speaking of Around the Horn, I want to do a shot because Around the Horn has been canceled after 32 years. So
I don't know what that is.
ESPN had a show Around the Horn for like the
yeah,
last
yeah, I
30
never
ye-
wa-
20
okay.
years, and they just canceled it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The baseball show?
It's the thing where they
It was
just
like
it's like
everything.
quick
Sports.
talking points, like quick rapid fire talking points of sports stuff. Yeah, I never really watched it, but I know of it.
So, Dirk, you drinking
yeah.
anything? Or you? good to go?
Yeah, I'm drinking. I've got the last of a bottle of red wine at the minute, and I'll see how long I'm here and how long the last of the bottle lasts me.
Might as well finish the bottle. You opened it.
Oh no, no,
Uh,
this is like I said, this is the last of the bottle in the glass. The question is whether or not I need to open anything else afterward.
Yes.
I want wine
Bet you
now.
got some rum.
Dom, what you got?
I've got.
Dude, I remember
a,
we used to have a thing, an event like with my corp back in the day. We had Box Wine Wednesday, where we do like rooms and wormholes, and everybody would just get their own personal box wine. Got pretty fun by the end.
I'm doing. It's a
That
cocoa
sounds like
stout.
White
by
Girl
Resto.
Wednesday.
It's a nice
Hold on.
dark beer.
Let's on
go through
point, guys.
it.
Focus.
Dom, what's it?
It's a cocoa stout, dark beer from a local brewery. So it's really good.
Alright.
6.5 alcohol. It's, I like it.
Sweet. I'm just doing a vodka cranberry juice. LB, what do you got?
I got some scotch, Delmore 12.
Are those ice cubes in there?
There's some ice cubes in there. And
Nice.
then
Yeah.
fucking the Kilkenny cream ale is still in the fridge, so we're going to that next.
Scott, what do you got?
Drinking some vodka lemonade that is phasing out of existence.
Oh, Nukem, Rico.
Oh, goddamn it. I'm not in mode. Sorry, I can't do it.
Did you get
Got
it?
it. I got him.
Got
Okay,
him. Get him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Worried about being in moderator mode because I'm worried I'm gonna actually ban somebody.
Well, I don't know. It was a viewer bot.
I know,
so,
but I'm,
yeah, I
I'm worried
wanted
that
to-
I'll accidentally ban
I
somebody.
do want to ban them. Sullen, you got anything?
Yeah, I'm just drinking some Bullet, Boulier, for our French
Boulier.
speakers.
And Vlad,
Is
what you
that
got?
bourbon or is that just, or is
It's
it
bourbon.
Yeah, it's bourbon.
bourbon? Okay.
They make other stuff too, the company. But
Do they?
Yeah, I
They-
know.
okay, I didn't know if they did.
yeah, they make rye as well.
I'm not a big
Vlad,
fan of rye myself. I'm not the
Same
biggest
here.
fan of
Yeah.
super rye.
Well, we
stuff.
can't buy bourbon here anymore, so
oh, right.
Yeah.
rip.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
No, you're wrong. You can't buy bourbon legally.
I ain't running to the border for fucking Boulay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's not worth it.
But you can go to the
Um,
border for Pappy, because Pappy's worth smuggling.
Not when you got Canadian Mist. I mean, that's just
Yeah, I got all kinds of good Canadian whiskeys and plenty of good Scotch whiskeys, so I don't need bourbon.
Yeah. Vlad, what do you got?
Darwin, if you
I got
need
a
us
rum and
to
Coke.
smuggle stuff, let us know.
All right, we got around the horn. Let's hit some Eve stuff. Now, Dirk,
Dirk,
you
do you want us
here-
to start with you? Yeah.
I was gonna say, Dirk, you're here for a limited time.
I'm not necessarily here for a limited time, but it is kind of late in the day.
Okay, because yeah, if you're,
it's
if
one of
you're here
those
for the
bits of
tournament,
like, you
or-
know, Dom was here like asking me what I can tell him to tell you.
He knew that I'm drunk. So.
And I'm here going like I've been sat here chatting shit with Dom for fucking 4 hours at this point, and like, do we really want to play that game of telephone? Is really my
Listen.
question.
Now, that's fair.
So you're doing the. Are you part of the staff running the charity cup?
Right. So the charity cup. For those who don't know, let's do a little bit of a round the table of what it is. It's a player-run tournament, primarily directed by Jintan, who many of the people who are listening may know from previous years. Jin's been around the block. He's the weed suit man. He's been a big part of CVA at times, and you know, now
literally
he's
on
running.
literally on CSM with him.
Literally,
I
you
missed
know,
the
yeah,
update
tell him
videos
hi for me.
I put a link.
on the CSM as well. He's been around the block, right?
I
And
put a link in chat with the tournament rules as well.
yeah. A couple of years ago, he came up with the Captain's Cup, which was a new format. It's a 6v6 player tournament, which differs from the Alliance tournament, which is currently 10v10 in terms of your teams, and also Anger Games, which I help run with Sothrasil, which is a 7v7. He's got a couple of extra restrictions in there as well, you know, like your 6 people can't just be in all battleships or whatever.
Yeah.
You get a battleship slot, you get a battle cruiser slot, you get a cruiser slot, you get a logi slot, you get a destroyer slot,
frigate slot.
assault frigate slot, and then you get a frigate slot. Yeah.
Well, no, the assault frigate slot is still slot 6, so you get a destroyer slot and a because when we
I'd have to double check with my theory crafters at that point.
Well, I'm on one of the teams, so I've been doing practices.
I'm captaining a team for this trade, so you know.
But yeah, it's the.
So which
We're
team
both
are you
here.
running then, Dirk?
Assault frigates aren't used as much. It's usually the E-War frigates that you're going to see in slot 6.
Yeah.
And then just slot 5 is usually command destroyers. For the
a
most
lot
part.
of support stuff. Really.
Well, command destroyers or the T3 destroyers are usually what you see there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of conversations about what you can put in each slot and what does really well in there. For example, the Prophecy Navy issue remains an overpowered ship.
Yeah.
And I continue to believe that. But hey, we love it, and while it's balanced the way it is, CCP, we will keep using it. Anyway,
Hector's / Ashamu is kind of like your slot 3 go-to, I think, a lot too.
yeah. Phoboses, Devoters, Onyxes, all very popular there. Anyway, so there was a question about what team I'm running. I'm running basically the Goon team, as I normally do for the AT. We are called Former Relv Desidents for this time around, because somebody stumbled over the words when we were chatting about what our team name would be, and we all laughed.
Okay.
That was kind of the way we came up with our team name. But yeah, so in terms of talking about what it's gonna be, how it's gonna work, I am involved a little bit on the staff side as well. There's still a couple of questions to be answered, but mostly we do know the format and the schedule, so we could talk a little bit about that. First up, the format is a really interesting format. It's quite complex, I'm not gonna lie. Trying to figure out the brackets was a curious one. But basically there's the feeder rounds, which are happening over the course of one weekend.
Yeah, next weekend.
That's
So not tomorrow.
Next
but-
weekend, very
yeah.
specifically, yeah. That's the 15th and 16th of this month. The feeder rounds are a round-robin group stage. So everybody in the group plays everybody else in the group, and the top 2 from every group go forward. Based on the number of teams, there are what is that? 12. There are 16 groups for the feeder rounds. 14 of them are 3-team groups. So obviously in that case you will either have a 2-1, a 2-0, a 1-1, and a 0-2 team in that group, and the top 2 go through. So teams who win 2 or win 1 go through in that situation, or you will have 3 teams that win 1 and lose 1, at which point there's a tiebreaker. For the 4-team groups, it's a bit more complicated, but every team plays every other team, and then the top 2 go through. That's happening, like I say, next weekend, 15th and 16th, and we do have a schedule for it as well. So the schedule for that is that the streams will start at 1700 Eve and run through till probably just before 2200 Eve. There are 2 arenas being run simultaneously to try and get all of the matches done in a reasonable amount of time.
Are they going to stagger kind of like they did with the AT, where like you kind of
They are.
They try. I mean,
they
you're
are
gonna have
slightly
some overlap.
staggered.
Yeah, some overlap.
Yeah.
You're gonna have that for longer
Um,
matches, but like to where it's not like 2 going on at the exact same time if you can avoid it, type of thing.
Yeah. So, in terms of the schedule for we are looking to stream both arenas. That's very important to note. I'm still working with Juntan to figure out how we can like get it
On which streams?
done in a particular fashion, but my understanding, again, you know, I need to talk to Jin about this again this weekend. It's a work in progress, but my understanding is that we will be doing a stream on the CCP channel, and then a stream on the second tournament Twitch channel that Soth and I manage.
Is that the EVNT one, or is that something different?
No, that's not Event. This is the channel that Soth and I have set up that basically we don't use it very often, but
Well,
it's there.
Can you share it now, or
Well, I would say like during on CCP's stream, I would maybe like if they have a bot that can just kind of periodically spit the link out for the other one.
I know we're coming kind of quite close to it, and I'm not being very particularly clear about this. This is because I do still need to sit down and talk to Jin specifically about the second stream. But the idea, something that Sothrasil and I have been very advocative for, is making sure that every match in a tournament is either streamed or videoed and put up on YouTube in a timely fashion, so that every match is visible. Everybody can see what the compositions were, how the match went, what the target calling was. Like, there's a lot of information that you get from watching your opponent's previous matches, and making sure that every match is out there is something that we really strongly believe in, which is why I've kind of volunteered to help Jin with streaming one of the arenas while I'm also trying to run a team.
Also, happy
Is
birthday,
CCP
Alana.
going to give y'all any tech support for this apart from letting you use the Twitch channel? Like, are they going to be doing anything on TV?
I don't know. I don't think so, but I'm not the organizer here. I'm here trying to like drum up kind of advocacy for it and kind of
Get people excited about watching it. Yeah.
He's the
yeah,
hype
get
man.
people
He's
excited
he's
again.
being like
Yeah,
Little John.
I'm legitimately trying to be the hype man for a tournament I don't run, but really think is kind of the tournament scene in EVE, right? It's really fun. It's really interesting if you want to get interested and get involved. There's obviously Jintan's Charity Cup 2 server that exists. I'm sure we can get a Discord invite link dropped in the Twitch chat. There's the Anger Games server, which Soth and I have, and we run, and we are committed to Anger Games 7, even if we don't have any details for it right now. There's the AT, which CCP runs, and we know that CCP have a lot of support for that because CCP Zealous, previously General Stargazer from the EVE crew, is so dedicated to tournament work. Like, we are really kind of building a good tournament scene again over the last few years, which was something that wasn't quite guaranteed for a couple of years over the CCP hiatus, right? So I'm here trying to be the hype man and trying to give you the details I have without like committing to one thing or another that suddenly, you know, Jin's fucking got 3
You
streams
can't
going.
promise shit
Well,
that
this-
Jed's gonna have to deal
This
with
group
later
here
on.
is very, very.
CCP are
tournament
suddenly on
friendly,
the like CCP are suddenly getting questions about, well, is there going to be skins or is there going to be an in-game event associated with the? I don't know. I don't know. I've not been part of the conversations between Jin and CCP and kind of the broad management of the tournament. My understanding is that the first stream will go on the CCP channel, and that the second stream will be on another channel. This probably will be the channel that Soth and I run, but I don't have full confirmation on that. I will try and make sure that it gets announced whenever we get it lined up, but I need to talk to Jin this weekend about that and make it work. But I do know that all of the kind of streams and the fights will be starting 1700 Eve next Saturday. The first match of the weekend, so they will be staggered across the 2 arenas. So 1708 is the scheduled start for the first match in the second arena, and then 1715 is the start for the match in the first arena.
Rapid fire. I like it.
They
52
yeah, I mean,
matches over those 2 days.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
we're talking about 8 matches an hour across the 2 arenas.
Oof.
Y'all are being
It is
aggressive.
it is very quick. There will be a lot of action, a lot of explosions.
The nice thing about these with the 6v6 is that they tend to not be like kind of
You know one way or the other.
yeah, you generally
very
don't
quickly,
have
right?
people just hanging back doing nothing. Like there's a lot of just match starts go. You know, there's shit dying. I
Yeah.
highly doubt many of the matches are going to go to time, which is 10 minutes per match. So I feel like most matches are usually like 5 to 7 minutes long.
I think some of them will go to time, but that will be less about the way people are playing, right? Like it's not going to be about this person's playing kite while they're against a rush comp. Like stuff is going to die on both sides in that matchup.
Mhm.
It's just a question of how quickly it dies. So I think some will go to time, but not a whole lot. I think it's going to be a very, very aggressive format from what I've been seeing, and I think you're right. So yeah, we've got 2 days next weekend, 1700-ish stream starts for both days. Like I say, we're looking to do 2 streams, one of which I think will be on the CCP channel, and one of which will be somewhere else. That'll be announced. the primary stream, presumably on the CCP channel, will have a bunch of commentators, casters, a lot of very engaging situations. The second stream probably might be a bit limited, because trying to split your staff across 2 streams for 10 hours each day in terms of
kinda
man
a lot, yeah.
hours is a lot. So there might be a bit more of a basic setup where you're seeing the arena and you're seeing what's going on and which teams are fighting, but you won't necessarily get commentary on the second stream. We're still finalizing the details on that. But yeah, so that's next weekend. That's going to be a ton of fun. Then there's a weekend off. Like, you know, you've made it through the feeders. Here's your weekend off to go and practice more and figure out who you're fighting against. And then there's 2 weekends solid. So March 29th, March 30th, and April 5th and April 6th will both be big events. Again, for the second weekend, we're expecting to do 2 arenas, probably 2 streams, just to make sure that all of the matches can get done, because
There's 40
there's-
of them that weekend, right?
No. So the second weekend is the group stages, which is Group Stage 1 and Group Stage 2, because Jintan has decided to go with GSL Group. Those of you who don't know, it's basically a double elimination, but kind of within the group. So there's 40 matches for Group Stage 1 and 20 for Group Stage 2. There's 60 matches. It's the highest intensity weekend of them all. So that again is going to start around about 1700 for the streams, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe like 1645 Eve time for the streams, and it's going to be 60 matches in rapid succession, lots of explosions, lots of fights, lots of stuff to keep track of. It's aggressive. We'll put it that way. It's aggressive.
Dirk, I just have one question for y'all. Will there be cake?
God, I hope so. I'm gonna need some.
It is a lie, though.
Oh, that's
well, the
such
cake
an
is-
old meme. Let it die.
The cake is always a lie. But yeah, and then we
There's
get
probably
into
people
the...
in this game now that don't even know that meme because it's too old for them.
Portal.
Hate
And then we
break
get
it.
into the finals, and like,
Yeah, someone
Yeah.
looked me the damn Portal song, and it got stuck in my head.
so like, there's a lot of stuff going. Just to round my monologue out, there's a lot of stuff going with the Charity Cup 2. It's called the Charity Cup 2 because we are trying to raise money for charity as well.
Which
There
charity?
is Jintan is raising money for a charity that supported his mum while she was in the latter stages of her life, as well as there's a second charity that... So there's a hospice and then something else.
Those will be things you'll be able to do during the tournament, right?
During
Like
the
a-
stream,
like a-
yeah,
yeah, during the stream,
specifically.
yeah.
It like there's no direct requirement to donate to be a part of the tournament or whatever, but we're a live streamed event. It's a big old thing, and so why should we not use an event that will get people watching and listening to talk about some of the issues in life and get some support for some worthy causes? And this is why it's called the Charity Cup rather than the Captain's Cup this time around.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, based on the past tournaments, I mean, it seems like more and more people watch these, so that it should be good for the charities.
I do like this one with the unique things with each ship slot too, because it's not like AT where you just like are seeing triple Sleipnir, triple this, triple that. It's like it's like you have to
like
bring
AT1,
about. It has to be you get one
AT2,
T1
etc.
battleship, one Navy or pirate, or no Navy battle cruiser. No, I think and then you get a pirate cruiser / Hector. That's you could bring Tech 1 Ewar cruiser as well.
Yeah, the
And-
Ashamu I think is getting
Ashmu's really strong.
a lot more support in this tournament than it has in others, for
Yeah.
sure.
It's pretty much like Hector's or Ashamu, occasional Vigilant is probably what you're gonna see. But yeah, it's.
I want to
pretty
see a
much
tournament where they ban all long range weapons. Short range weapons
Yeah.
only. Nothing
That
but
actually
brawl.
would be a fun tournament. It's like Rush only. Call it
And-
like
and it's like
I mean-
and the
Oh, the
battleships, it's like
Galante
it's,
tournament. Yeah.
and the things
Yeah.
like why a lot of the things where it's because with the Logi, like there's no T2 Logi. It's like you get a T1 T1 cruiser Logi or one T2 Logi frigate. Which I don't know why
Yeah.
anyone would bring a single T2 Logi frigate, but maybe there's an argument for that.
I've seen a couple of
I've
interesting
seen a couple,
applications
but-
that kind of worked.
Would it be the
actually.
range
Like,
the only reason you bring that? What would be the-
Probably to
Um,
sig tank,
Speed
like
tank.
if they have
Yeah.
like
a lot of it is
big
the
speed
sig
tank.
tanking, yeah.
yeah, because the arena's
Yeah,
125
that's what I was
kilometer
thinking, like
radius,
10
so
maybe.
if you bring like a projection comp that has like long range rails, you can maybe snipe out a Logi. That's because it's Tech 1 Logi only, so you can't be bringing like the Tech 2 ones. So
I
they
was
can
talking
die to
earlier about the
projection.
Frosty Navy issue.
Yeah, whereas if you have like an afterburning, T2 frigate, maybe there's an argument that it can survive scalpel and stuff like that.
The Prophecy Navy issue is one of the most broken things ever. It can lock out to like fucking 100 odd kilometers, and it snipes with beams and standard crystals at that range.
And no,
It just fucking goes.
Yeah, no Nighthawk. So
It's fucking
the
insane.
battle cruisers are limited to you can bring Tech 1 battle cruiser knows how to do that, but you can bring Navy Navy battle cruiser or I think that's it. So basically, like, you're seeing Prophecy Navy issues, Cyclone Fleet issues are pretty
Yeah, you can bring a Drake Navy.
Drake
but you
Navy,
can't bring a Nighthawk.
Ferox Navy, but yeah, so it's basically like Navy battle cruisers. I mean, I guess if someone banned a Ferox Navy and you really, really wanted to bring a Ferox, you could bring a Tech 1 Ferox, but I don't think anyone's going to do that type of thing. So you're pretty much just going to see Navy battle cruisers.
It is super interesting as a format. Like it's a different challenge to theorycraft your setups and what have you. There is a question from Tanya about will fittings be discussed?
Yeah, there's some really cool fitting things.
There's a lot of questions about talking about fittings for ships on stream, and unfortunately, broadly speaking, you can't talk about fittings on stream because the thing that enabled previous streams, like the Alliance tournament of 14-15 era, to talk about ship fittings after they died was the Crest API system and tools that were built around it, and that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, this is on Thunderdome
Like,
too, so it's
we
you aren't
legitimately
gonna get kill mails.
we don't have the infrastructure and the tools anymore to
So when people die in
kind
this,
of-
there's going to be no way to know what they were fit like
Nope.
at all.
except to the specific team members
eh,
on the team that killed them.
if you
Yeah.
were on the team that killed them, you
Yeah.
will be able to take a look.
Yeah,
But there's no way for like the stream cast to do that immediately after anymore because the API system is completely different and it doesn't work that way anymore. It's really an unfortunate limitation of technology. And we're talking to CCP about it, but obviously these things move very slowly.
But as far as fittings, like obviously you can't talk about specific ship fittings, but there are some like in the rules, there are some fitting limitations that are
Frictions, yeah.
interesting that are different than you would see in AT. So one of the reasons why things die a little bit quicker, like I like this one, is for battleship, for the Tech 1 battleships, you're only allowed to fit one plate or two shield extenders on it. And you can only have one local rep. You're only allowed one local rep on there.
That
that makes battleships die. Yeah, battleships, and with only a T1 Logi.
But
yeah,
we
so
still
battleships
love
die.
it.
And then also
So, quick question
E-War,
now.
the E-War, specifically three types of E-War. So damps, jams, and tracking and missile disruption. Oh, those three E-Wars are only allowed to be fit on ships that get bonuses to those. So you can't
Yes.
just be having people fit jams on all their ships or damps
That's a
on
cool
everything.
rule. Yeah.
It's like you want to fly dams, you got to bring a Mollis or a Carries or a Celestis, and like that's it. You don't get damps on anything else, and stuff like that. Now target paints, webs can be put on anything, newts can be put on anything. No Tech 2 drones, like Tech 1. I think you're allowed Navy drones of like lights and mediums, but you can't.
fit
No Tech 2
faction drones.
yeah, faction drones. No Tech 2 sentries. No Tech 2 larges or
You
heavies or
can't do
anything.
faction sentries as well. Like the faction drones is only for mobile drones.
Yeah,
Um,
no Tech 2
So
rep
no,
bots,
no
which is
Ishgard
nice.
Jesus then.
Yeah, only Tech 1 rep drones as well, so shit dies faster as well.
Yeah, like there's a lot of bits in here that are kind of borrowed from other tournaments, and I want to be very clear. This is kind of how the player tournament scene has grown. We've begged and borrowed from different bits all across the years. Sometimes the AT has made a change.
So now the
and
most important question I got for you: who's going to be your
we've adopted
commentators?
Oh well, we've got there's actually a very large crew, overall. So in terms of the staff team, I will be trying to do a stream and make sure that happens, as well as making sure that the main stream happens. That's Jintan's kind of job.
Well, yeah, but who are going to be the ones
He's-
talk? I mean, I know you got like a whole backing crew. I just meant who are the main two people
Yeah.
who are going to be talking?
Jin's been working on this, and the idea is to kind of rotate hosts. So there's not going to be one person presenting in the same way as you've seen Ithaca Hawk, CCP Overload present the AT. They'll be rotating hosts. So we've got Elise, who's been doing some Eve streaming themselves and over on INN. Alexander Thuringen, I think, has put himself up for the host role as well. There's Dujek One Eye, who you may know as one of the Brave team members and also CSM member, who has suggested that he's gonna do some time hosting. There's a number of people who have said, "Hey, we want to try hosting," and Jintan's gone, "Let's use this tournament to kind of let new people give it a shot." And then obviously within the staff crew, you've got a lot of established individuals as well, like Wingnut Cross, our lovely bastard from Down Under. Pia Viner, Ali Aris, Raifaisen is there, Starfleet Commander's there, Bazza's there.
Nice.
There's a lot of established people at the same time as we're trying to give new people a shot and see how they do. And I don't want to necessarily call out the referees and get people talking about how referees are terrible or anything, but there's a lot of people in the referee team who've got a lot of experience over the AT and Anger Games. We've got Amy Muff there, we've got Rain Chocolate there, Sotoxel, who...
What is involved with being a referee is what I want to know. Are you scanning the ships to make sure they're following the fitting requirements?
There are actually in-game tools that work for this. So the way it works is, as the team captain or the team leader for that match, you create a fleet and then you invite everybody who's going to be teleported to the arena into that fleet. And then there's an in-game tool that will go through every ship and every module on the ship to double check whether or not those are legal. It will check whether or not you have any drugs activated. If you have drugs activated, you have to clear them out. If you have drugs in your redeem queue, you have to clear them out. And so it comes up with a list of kind of
Excuse me.
rule violations, if there are any. And then the referee pushes a button and people get teleported, and then the countdown starts.
Now, do they have to check for boundaries, or is the boundary thing an automatic, like the system just does it?
Once you're in the arena, the boundary is automatic. The system will explodify you, and that is the technical term, explodify.
with no
But
delay, right? If you break the boundary, you're
the-
dead.
I think it's like
correct?
as soon as you break the boundary, the next tick blows you
yeah.
up.
It is the next tick. So if you're running out of the boundary, this is how people get the boundary records currently held by Goonswarm. You know, if you're taking a jump beacon 100 kilometers out of the boundary and you activate it, you keep traveling, and then you jump, and then a tick later, you die. So, like, you keep traveling at the accelerate at the speed rate that you are going when you make the jump. But yeah, in terms of other stuff, the referees check for making sure that everybody warps at the right distances. There's very
Right.
strict rules about how you can warp into an arena, and if you warp wrongly,
You just get put at
the
0, I think,
referees-
right?
they can put you at 0. They can also choose to put you down in shield or armor or hull damage. There's obviously questions about just destroying ships if somebody does something incredibly egregious. And then finally, at the end of the day, there's disqualification from the match or the tournament, depending on what you do. Collusion rules. These all happen kind of with the organizers talking to CCP about what's happened. It's not. It's very much a kind of final fallback that somebody gets disqualified completely. But the referees spend a lot of time making sure that everybody is working normally and making sure that it's all a fair event.
Has anyone other than Tissue and Warlords ever actually gotten DQ'd?
Camel Empire.
Yeah.
When did Camel
Camel
get
Empire.
DQ'd?
They colluded with that one Warlord. Was it
It
Warlords?
was 80,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
89, I think. And they won it and then got DQ'd because of
What they
the
get DQ'd
collusion
for?
and stuff.
Collusion with
Oh.
one of the other top teams. They were win trading and
Yeah.
stuff.
No, that would have been 1813 because 189 was the one where that was Hydra and someone else that.
Maybe. But yeah,
Yeah.
Camel Empire got fully DQ'd 1 year. And banned from participating for a couple of years as well, if I remember correctly.
I mean, as they should. You shouldn't. Don't break the
I
fucking
still
rules.
remember when it wasn't this last AT, it was the one before, right, where Hidden Leaf like fucking got contract scammed out of their AT ships and skins.
The last one before, yeah.
Yeah, that was the one before.
Oh, that's gotta feel so fucking bad.
So just remember,
2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Dirk, if you guys get an application to referee from a guy named Bill Vinovich, don't do it. He will blow every single call out there, especially if you're a Saints fan.
I mean, the worst part about that for Hidden Leaf was that, like,
it was a legit
that-
like legal scam. It wasn't anything that
it
someone
was
did.
completely legal.
Yeah, it
but
wasn't against
their-
TOS, so they got to keep those.
Their
chips in-
captains. This was a year in which, like, captains got prizes for certain teams
It was
based on the
Baza. Baza
executives
did
having
the contract, right?
like I got our prizes for that year as the captain rather than Asher as the executor, because Asher had some real life stuff going on and he'd spoken to CCP, blah blah blah. Anyway, in this situation, Baza had been running the team, and then Virion Stoneshard got involved and became the co-captain, but their executor was Baltram. And when there were questions or conversations between CCP Zealous and the team captains about where should prizes go, Baza, as the official captain, who was off doing some other thing, basically said, send it to the executor, which was Baltram. CCP sent it to the executor. Baltram clicks the contract button, sends them all off. If Baza had just said, send them to me, or send them to Virion, they would not have had this problem. But Baltram, remembering the era where actually 80 prizes got contracted to teams. CCP used to actually provide prizes via the contract mechanic. So, like, it's an
This wasn't the first year that
understandable-
they just put them in their in their inventory. Right? This
wasn't.
was like the second or third year they did that, right?
But it was the first time that Baltrum was kind of like dealing with it, and CCP did used to give the prizes by contract. So when he sees, oh hey, there's a contract for AT ships, let me click accept,
Yeah,
and suddenly they're gone.
but it was
That-
a contract
I
for
felt
you will
super
give these
bad.
instead of you will receive these,
Yeah.
and so he clicked
Yeah.
accept and
I-
gave out all the
I-
shit.
I felt super bad
Marcus is
about
up.
it, but of course it's legit, right?
Yeah, it's
like
pretty.
it's the way
It
the
was
game is
technically
played.
legal, but there was some things surrounding it kind of were shitty.
It was
announcing that
skeezy,
they
but
did
it's
it.
still-
Someone
it's-
took
I
advantage
didn't like
of
that
someone
part.
else's lack of knowledge about how the mechanics had changed.
It sucks, but like you said, it didn't break rules. So I mean, what do you do?
All right, so we're at
Don't
an
get
hour in. We should probably move and hit some other Eve topics.
Man, you guys have let
Yeah.
me fucking ramble for 40 minutes about tournaments.
Well, I mean,
Delana
Jesus.
came in and we didn't even get to say
I
hi
was-
to
yeah,
her,
I was-
and
I was
she
waiting to-
left in that time frame. There
she's-
wasn't a chance to say
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm
say,
sorry,
Wait, she came
Delana.
and left? What?
It was she
Yeah.
was
Oh
in
my
here. It was
God.
She was here and left.
It was Delana's birthday
What
yesterday,
the-
so do a shot
Cheers,
for Delana's
yeah.
birthday.
Probably
Happy
hungover.
belated
still,
birthday, Delana. There is actually a quick topic that I wanted to hit on those Eve news. So we got a list of player presenters for FanFest.
That's gonna be
And-
super fun.
And a good friend of the show is going to be speaking. Rain Chocolate will be one of the player presenters, which I didn't
He
realize.
has a
that until I
reputation
read
for
that.
being dark, ruthless, and unforgiving. I've never heard a better description for Rain than that. That was fantastic.
Goofy.
Oh, so
That's
you
a
gotta talk
good
about-
one.
Oh, we got
Oh,
She'll
Avengers
share
and
how
stuff.
the Eve community rallies together to make a positive impact in the world. So it should
Good
be a really,
morning, y'all.
it'll be a really cool talk or whatever.
Still time for you to book a flight, Redline. I was looking and there's still seats open on the plane.
We're really not interested at the moment.
So
You
Uh-huh.
can boo this man. I don't mind. I don't mind at all.
No, I mean, to be fair, I'm going to FanFest this year. I
Here.
will
Super
openly
happy to
admit
hear
that
that.
I am going less for the CCP stuff than I am for the people, right? Like, there's a lot of people going this year that I've wanted to meet for a lot of years, and I'm kind of using it as an excuse to go and do. But there's obviously going to be some interesting player presentation stuff going on.
I
not
think the
to jump-
CCP stuff is the bonus for most of us, really. Like we're really
Yeah,
there mostly
exactly,
for the
right?
people, and also like Iceland is a really cool and unique place to visit.
So like, yeah, the player presentations, Reigns is going to be super interesting. I'll go along and kind of like support Rain there. I'm kind of curious about this one with the Boojum, which is apparently like a rookie's take.
Yeah, and his
and
just
figuring
to
out
read
what-
for everyone, jumping for his section it says jumping into EVE Online in April 2024. Eve partner, the Boojum is still a rookie pilot, but that's exactly what makes his perspective so valuable. He'll share a new player's perspective, diving into what it's like to enter a long-established MMO and how rookies can carve out their own adventures.
The Boojum.
You know, like
Gross.
Hit-
New players suck.
That's actually, that's player. That's a good one.
I'm gonna try to catch
like
that one too, as long as it's not at the same time as Rain.
yeah, like figuring out what new players to eat, people who haven't been around this game for, a decade and more, actually are experiencing with it. I don't know. It's interesting.
Why is it interesting? Tell me why.
Because
Wait, no, don't tell me
their
why. You've been
perspective
talking
of the
for an
game
hour.
is going to be completely different than what mine is, or what mine was when I started. It
You
will
guys-
be
Yeah.
interesting.
You guys know that if you let him, Dirk will talk forever, right?
Well, you're the one asking him more questions.
That's why I'm jumping
know.
in.
I love Dirk. Dirk, hello. It's been a while.
It has been a while, buddy. How you doing? Are you enjoying
Wonderful.
listening to my tournament rant? Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. It was every minute of it. Every minute of it worth
Rix
it.
is also going to be giving a talk as well, and
Boo
that
that
one will
man.
be interesting too.
That's gonna be
Whoa.
good. I'm gonna try to
Whoa.
make that one.
He's
He's a-
focusing on the board game.
He's a pirate.
He is.
Boo. Boo pirates.
Rick Javix, he fucking designed our logo. We support him. Come on now.
Pirate
I-
scum.
He makes some.
I love the dude, but the board
Delicious art.
game, really?
There's a lot of people into board games.
I love board games.
I got some friends. One of my friends owns a
I
gaming
love the
shop.
board game.
He owns a
I
gaming
don't
shop, and
love
I
this
think
board
he-
game at that price.
Well, I mean, new board game, like it's not like Monopoly where you buy it for like 20, 30 bucks. Like the new board games nowadays, it's like $120 for some super complicated thing you guys spend 2 days learning how to play.
It's $120.
See,
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it's new board games are not unheard of
You
to
get
be
board-
in
60
the,
to
like
150
yeah,
bucks.
60 plus. It's sometimes over 100 for a board game nowadays.
The board game that the Eve board game is super expensive.
More than 100.
How much?
I'm just digging out.
Have they got a price
the,
point for it? I didn't think they did yet.
Is it like Star
was-
Citizen levels of money?
The Star Citizen's not that bad.
Uh,
It doesn't have a subscription. You just buy ships.
yeah, but there's people that have put
Yeah, but
thousands of
yeah,
dollars
what's
into a
the
game
cheap?
that's not done.
What is what? Yeah, let's talk about that. What's the cheapest price point to get started
$50.
in Star Citizen?
$60.
I bought one for 50 bucks.
Okay.
It's the cheap one, and then it goes all the way up to like 10,000 or 20,000.
Oh my
or
god!
something.
And then you have the ship forever. You can play the game forever. You pay
I've-
60 bucks
The-
one time, just like all the other fucking video games that
I
exist in the
feed
world.
Riot
Yeah,
Games.
that's-
Star
but not
Citizen
so true.
alone,
Red
it's
Knight, 'cause
three
that per
quarters
ship
of a video
isn't-
game. We're almost there. Suck my dick.
I feed
Alright.
Shit can't do
Riot
much,
Games
no.
money monthly, and I don't think I've come anywhere near that level of money into that game.
So the basic level of the
Oh.
Eve board game, basic level, you get like just this, and they have expansions and everything as well that make it more expensive. But base level, €130.
So
Is that to actually
How
buy the
many
product?
it's like
you
That's
can buy in the
140
game?
bucks.
$140. Who's
If you
paying
want-
that for a board game? I can get 3 Monopoly board games for that.
Yeah, but then you got Monopoly.
3 of them.
And you have to play
Those are
Monopoly 3
boring.
times. Fuck that.
I don't have to play Monopoly.
Well,
3
why would you
times.
buy it
Then-
then?
I can
Then
get
you've got the
collector's edition
expansions
Monopolies.
that already exist.
The what?
Yeah, I-
Get that there are
I just-
expansions for this game that hasn't like
came out with
actually
expansions before the first
You're
game?
telling me there's
made-
expansions
made
for the
it.
board game?
Oh, yeah.
for the
remember
board
a time
game that
when-
hasn't really shipped yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
You're
remember
telling
a
me that
time
there's
when-
a
isn't it?
wait, hold up.
Yeah.
There's a board game that has an expansion?
Yeah, plenty. There's there's
Oh,
tons
it's
of them.
crazy.
For
Yeah.
what, dude?
Uh,
That's
But it
so
ha-
lame.
Colonize Mars or whatever it's
So,
called.
What else
a bunch of
happened
other
in the
games.
video game this week?
Ugh.
There's
Apparently, the
maybe
overpriced
there.
And
board
we
game got
covered-
talked about a little bit.
We covered a couple dev blogs last week, Drayden and LB, while you guys were out, because we actually got a lot of in the last 2 weeks. We've got a fair number of dev blogs.
Yeah, there's the more FPS for less CPU thing. If you guys read that.
Yes.
Yep, we talked about it. We talked about the.
Wait, this came out. This was out last week.
There's another
Aw,
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, there's another one.
Well,
with
I
FPS.
like it because my
There's a beat?
CPU is super old, so I'm happy about that one.
Yes,
Hey,
we
got
didn't want
the
me to speak on the
We
beat.
got the beat.
LB,
Uh,
take it away.
Workbench 2.0 is in beta.
What's that?
Workbench 2.0 is a third-party app. It's like a e-fitting tool,
Ooh,
but yeah,
I just used the
all
in-game
different.
one.
You can see, you can save a fit to it, and people can like look at your fit and
How's it
Use it.
compared to IFA?
Well, this one looks like the in-game fitting tool. Like it looks exactly like it.
Ooh.
So-
what is that? Is that in the beat?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in the beat.
There's no way.
Oh, there's a
Something
link.
useful
Check
in
it
the
out
beat?
here. Click.
You linked it?
Firefox prevented the site from opening a pop-up window.
Womp
Womp.
womp.
I linked the
Your
site.
problem is right at the start of that sentence. Fire.
I like Firefox.
Boy, are you a good Chrome fanboy?
Oh
I
my
use
god,
both.
not this. Anything but this. It's just a browser, dude. Just use Brave. It's easy.
I use both. I use
Anyway.
Chrome and
I prefer not to
Firefox.
use
Use the
Brave,
gamer.
except
Use the
on
gamer
Chrome.
browser.
Opera,
Opera?
GX.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Okay, Eve Workbench. Okay, yeah, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
I like this website. It's very cool. This
And
is
then
what's
there's
in the
another. Yeah. And then there's another third-party dev called Eve OS, which is like a third-party AI-powered chatbot trained to answer questions about EVE Online.
How do we feel about
Now
that?
that sounds sketch.
Why
It's
does that
just a
sound
thing.
sketch?
It's just an AI that's been
What are
incorporated.
you,
in
some
EVE.
kind of fucking AI fearmonger?
It sounds like
Yes.
Vlad keeps a pistol by the printer in case it makes weird noises.
Bro's gonna pop his
I
laser
mean,
printer.
half of that is correct.
The gun is there, isn't it?
It's
The
not a
gun is
pistol.
there.
It's half. He keeps 2 guns. He goes akimbo
But you know,
on
like,
that fucking thing.
There's 2 kinds of tech people. There's tech people who like have smart everything and everything's connected and everything's Wi-Fi and everything's AI enabled. And then there's the other kind who don't trust anything and they have a pistol by the printer in case it fucking makes a weird squeak in the middle of the night.
My gun's an app
That's
on my
true.
phone.
You have the Dido guys that are like, yes, I know how much this can be abused, so I don't use it.
I avoid all of the AI shit because I just don't trust it.
Why
Yeah.
don't you trust it? I don't understand. We'll
It's
talk,
not
we can
scary.
talk about
It's
that
not going
later.
to get you. It's going to come out
We'll
of the
talk
computer.
about AI later.
It's gonna fucking get me at some point. It's gonna get
Oh,
all of us. at
not
some
if you're
point.
nice. If you're nice,
Just
to you,
remember,
Look at
AI
me,
will
I'm not
never
when
very
the
nice.
AI starts asking for a phase plasma rifle in the 40-watt range, it's time to take it all down.
Like Redline's here saying like it's not gonna get you if you're nice.
Huh.
Redline, when have you ever known me to be really nice?
I mean, if you're asking for something, why wouldn't you be nice, right? Like,
I'm
do you
nice
ask for
enough.
things nicely? Hey, can I have
But-
that thing? That's not what you say.
Broadly
Say, "Hey, can I
speaking,
have
people
that
do not
thing?"
consider me to be a nice person.
You think
Do
you're a
you
nice
think-
guy? What are you talking about?
What do you, are? I don't understand what you're trying to say, but
He
I'll
says he's
tell
not a
you
nice
what.
guy. I think he is.
I'll tell you what. I need to do something, and I think that I remembered it.
Congrats.
Well
Continue.
done.
Red
another
is it
third-party
spoken of a
tool?
bowl?
No, well, there is the
Back to
Marquette
community beat.
tool.
Marquette, a new Eve market tool. It's like Eve
Beautiful.
Janus, Eve Workbench wrapped in a one. You can draft contracts with it and stuff. It's pretty neat.
Now imagine this was all
That
in
does
If you're a
sound pretty
market
cool.
guy.
Dude, these are like a lot of cool stuff on the beat.
I'm
And
gonna
then
make a
even
page
more
for
third-party
these.
stuff. Planetary Industry templates. There you go. There's a link there for them from Dal Shuth from Shadow Cartel. Oh, okay.
No, not Shadow Cart. Oh wait, no, they're fine.
Yeah, it's not the Goggle Man.
It's not. Down with all the
Um,
Goggleman except Tyrion seems cool.
So these templates are still in beta. So it's an opt-in feature. You have to opt in to be able to see these.
Yeah.
There was-
Excuse me.
There was a developer dev blog today as well.
Was there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
think there was.
MER.
Maybe we should wait for the beat to be
No,
over.
no.
Yeah,
Not the
wait for the
MER.
beat.
Yeah, let's finish the beat.
Weird. And then a massive Mimitar public fleet battle with iBeast. iBeast, everybody knows iBeast, right? He's one of the Neve partner, does fucking videos and stuff.
Mhm.
Let's see here. They fought Frat. So Frat brought faxes and all kinds of stuff to an ESS nightmares and everything. And they were fighting them with like retributions and stuff. That's pretty cool. And then another brawl in how do you pronounce this system name? Seaside? Seaside? Seaside?
I always thought it was Secede. Is that
Secede?
is that the only fleet or the only fleets one?
It's the Mimitar Midmill one. The bear that cares.
Yeah,
they
if,
had a
if
brawl
Blazing
there.
Bunny's listening or someone in
Yeah.
his alliance should just ping him to talk about that because he's in only fleets.
He was going to come on and talk
Who-
about that.
who
but
is?
he was busy, and so he didn't have a chance. But a couple weeks ago, he was going to
Oh, Blazing. Yeah, yeah.
discuss that.
Blazing Bunny.
Blazing is in not only fleets, he's in fucking Mimitar Fleet Alliance.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I mean, derp.
And that's it for the beat.
Mimitar Fact War Bros.
Yeah.
All the criterion is.
What a
so,
journey
yeah.
that young
They are
man
recruiting.
had.
So, yeah.
God damn it, Redline.
What?
I was reading through the technical dev blog that someone like for ESI, and I just got confused.
Sorry.
Why? God damn it, me?
God
You're
damn it,
usually
Red
blamed.
Why
Line.
not?
What did I
Just
do?
Big shoulders.
Just remember, Redline is always sus, and hit the emergency
Bro.
main button.
Bro,
Timber, thanks for the sub, man. Welcome. What's up?
Redline, I'm
That's
down to play Among Us later if you want.
are
Want to
you
talk about the MER?
The
not
Line go up?
really?
I think line
Mine
stayed
did
same.
not. No, mine went
Oh.
down actually. Which
Which
is a good
line?
thing if line went down.
There's
The
a
money
lot of
line
lines
is
on
the only
this.
one that matters. I mean,
But
the bad line went up, obviously, which is bad. But I mean, it was mostly
which is the bad line?
fine. The MPI. The minerals
But
are
I
still
thought it stayed the
getting more
same.
expensive.
Did it?
No,
Well,
it's not
actually, did it
expensive.
can keep with this trend then?
Production versus destruction versus mining.
No, what?
Production's gone up.
Great. That's not the one we care about. We care about MPI, which is the Mineral Price Index.
How far down I gotta scroll for that one? Money supply,
Pretty
velocity
far.
of ISK.
They sync it, dude. They sync it. You gotta scroll for it. Most people don't get that far. Yeah, the velocity of ISK is a good one.
Decomposition of mineral price index, is that the one?
It's about 3/4 of the way down. You'll see like 3 charts: money supply, velocity of ISK, and then you'll get to one that says economic price indices, and you'll see there's an orange one that's MPI that's like going up to heaven.
Oh,
Yeah, going
Oh,
up
but
to
it stayed
heaven.
flat. It's flat up there. See how it's flat?
it's flat
Oh
for like the
my
last like week.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're
It's
right.
been flat since the blog came
Since the
out.
start of
The dev blog.
2025, so it's flat for a couple months now.
You're correct.
Which
you're
leads me
correct.
to believe that there's not actually a mineral shortage. It's just people with stockpiles of minerals controlling the market.
Bunch of jackasses.
Sure.
Well, and
Sure.
you saw the blog, the dev blog for the mining. If you are cool, you watched the Untethered show last weekend with CCP
I did.
Okami, and it was
made
a
a
very
clip.
show.
cool
It was a
show.
very
one of the
good show.
shows we've ever done. And LB, I think you're right, because if you do look at the velocity of ISK, it started moving rather quickly in the last month.
Mm.
Probably those miners
are
selling off
clues.
their shares.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Well,
mineral
Mhm.
price
no,
index is actually
the-
going down because
What?
people are selling off. What?
the really interesting thing about velocity of ISK is that velocity of ISK is how much things actually get moved between characters.
Yeah.
So it's always a question of, are you moving ISK around or are you selling shit? Is shit being sold?
No, it's not a
Well,
question.
what's one of the
It's a good
ways that
thing.
ISK moves is when you sell stuff.
Yes, this is my point, right? You're either giving people ISK, which happens in EVE, obviously, but primarily it's is stuff being sold. And if the velocity of ISK is on a downward trend, which it is for the last couple of years,
It's not.
last more than a couple of years.
Well, yeah, I guess it is. I mean, it's on an upward trend now.
It's on line go up right
Hey.
now.
Over the last like 2-3 years,
Like-
like looking at it, it's bounced back and forth like within a consistent range since like January of
2023.
2021.
It seems fairly
It-
steady since January 2023. It seems like pretty
Yeah.
flat.
Yeah.
Isn't that
the
when
interesting-
Scarcity came out?
The interesting consideration comparatively is actually where the money supply goes compared to the velocity of ISK.
Bots?
Because the money supply moves up character wealth rather than corporation wealth primarily over that period of January 2023 forward. And the velocity, the money supply, is total ISK available to active characters. Now, this is like characters who have been subbed
think you're
in the
getting
last
too
30
complex
days.
with it. Everyone's
Yeah.
getting really silent because they don't understand. Basically, this crowd, we talk about the MER in the terms of line go up good, line go down bad. So you're going to need to simplify
Right.
what
Okay.
we say to make
Two
sure
numbers,
that
Mark.
we understand.
the active characters are characters that have been active in the last 30 days or 90 days.
I think
30
we said
days.
90 days. I thought we
CP
established last week it was 90.
No,
I think it's 90 days.
CCP say it's 90. It's not.
CCP.
Oh.
Why would what? If
CCP
CCP
lie.
say it's 90, then
Why
it's
would they lie
90.
to us?
Well, how
We-
do you know
we-
it's 30 if they say it's 90?
Trust me,
The-
bro.com.
Yeah.
Right.
AI's involved with
um,
this, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
I
So
spent a
active
lot
ISK delta went down. by
Doge
80
told me it was only
trillion.
30 days, so I know it's 30 days, okay?
No, over at
Yeah.
over at the INN side of the shop.
Oh,
I got
we-
beef. I got beef with INN
we-
right now. Why did
you
you
can-
guys change the meta show to the exact time we've been doing our show for months?
Don't talk to me about the meta show. That's not my department.
God damn it.
But
Figure it out.
Um,
damn it.
Wait, when has the meta show been relevant?
Not
Um,
since Brisk
Doesn't
left
matter.
it.
I
But
think
the
no.
thing
Wrong. The correct response is never.
Yeah. I used to
the-
watch
the-
it weekly. It
point
was
is-
one of
you
my
guys are like,
staple
you
shows.
guys are
Wow,
sitting here
we
like
are-
NBC and Fox News bitching about which one is better. Just get to the fucking point.
Who's
Talk about
bitching
squirrel-
about anything?
Okay.
What are you talking about?
what?
But yeah, no, we basically reverse engineered a lot of the MER data and figured out that actually their velocity of ISK changes and their ISK money supply changes were happening on a 30-day basis. They
The
say
whole thing is on a 30-day basis. It's the MER monthly economic report.
they say that they're working on the basis of money supply for accounts that were active in the last 90 days, but they're not, because there have been historical events that change the amount of active characters, bits of protests and all the rest of it, and you see an immediate downturn.
What
An
happened the last 30
immediate
days?
downturn.
You're mentioning that too. It's
Yeah.
has that ever lined up whenever they do a mass banning of bots and RMTers?
Yes.
Yes, it has. If you look at it, you can see sometimes line go down. Sometimes that's bots.
So
Sometimes that's people
CCP
leaving. So when that
CCP say
line
it's
goes
90
up,
days, but it's not.
thing,
It's 30.
who cares?
It's
cares?
last month.
We can
Who-
reasonable people can
Yes.
agree to disagree. There's no way
It-
that any of us can actually hardcore 100% confirm it beyond a reasonable doubt. So
Oh, I
think we
can.
should
I
just
just
move
choose
on.
not to.
Yeah.
The
you-
point I was trying to
have
make
from
though
us.
was that like the activist delta, it, minus 80.4 trillion. That is larger than his historically average when there's a decrease.
I will say as well, in terms of the production versus mineral price situation, have CCP like got the Moongoo calculations dialed in? Do we think? Because like that's a hell of a lot of production for not a lot of mineral price changes.
Metanoxes have
they
been a
got-
thing.
I want you-
You've been injecting a ton of Moongoo with the Metanoxes.
I do also want you to ask yourself that question. Do you think they've mastered it?
No, and I,
don't
think they
CCP
finally
have
admitted that they
mastered
haven't.
anything.
Yeah.
But
No.
Well,
yeah.
did you
And
all
that's-
see the news today though about
and
the
that's okay,
MER
as
that
long as they're
CCP has
talking.
hired an economist from the Central Bank of Iceland?
Was waiting for somebody to bring that up, and I'm
Mm,
excited
That's
about
for
For the crypto
Frontiers,
guys.
though.
Frontiers.
Yeah.
That's not for
Yeah.
EVE
We would-
Online.
I have some hope that there will be some crossover. That
I
this
would
guy will-
hope.
It's possible.
Like when
I
he's
know
not busy
Why-
stroking
why would you
crypto
think that
bros,
there's
he's going
gonna
to
be
come over and
crossover?
check out EVE Online.
because it's because it's happened already. Like I know I've heard some CCPers that have been working on Frontier have also like worked on stuff with EVE Online as well. There is
Yeah,
crossover.
that
I mean-
there is sometimes crossover, no matter what CCP are telling us.
Those people
There
are
are some
I
sort of
think
people who
that-
left the
earmarked that
company.
I think one of the
for
reasons why
that
CCP
one.
is kind of taking it a little slow is because they know for a fact there's a shitload of people with massive stockpiles of minerals and ore who have literally just like said, I'm not subbing right now until they fix this shit. And they can see that and see that there's a shitload of ore and minerals that are just sitting waiting to be used. And so they're a little worried the second they change this. And now all of a sudden, yeah, things are back to good again. Now they're going to offload everything they have and fuck the market hard. I think
Are you
that's part
speaking
of the
from? Are you speaking from
But-
experience?
No,
I'm pretty sure he
no.
is.
What?
No, I
You
no.
market fucker. You market
I-
fucker, you.
I'm teasing
I'm
you.
just saying though. I just happen to know multiple people who have
in his corp. That's okay.
hundreds of billions in minerals that they're just like, I'm not gonna build until this shit gets unfucked.
Yeah, but
Drayden.
Sullen.
Someone remind me again what
I'm
corp
not
you're
this
in
corp.
because I forgot.
I don't.
I actually am not. It's funny because I joke about that. I actually don't have that much. I probably have more than the average EVE player by a lot. But I know several people who, from back in the days, that used to have 15 to 20 Rorquals that
Damn.
they are still sitting on their stockpile. Like, yeah, I'm just waiting. Like, I don't care. I'll sit on sub for half a decade. When they fix it, then I'm going to come and unload everything. So I
yeah,
mean,
but what's the downside of people like CCP make a change and it becomes, you know, valuable to sell, and those things then end up being put into ships that cost less, and people use ships more freely. What's the downside there?
Of flooding, or what do you mean?
There
Downside of what?
if you make the game fun, that's what matters, is to make the game fun.
Exactly, right? Like when
And
we
that's
were
something
in the
CCP seems to
Rockwell
have
era.
lost.
When we were in the
I'm
Rockwell
just saying,
era,
I
we
think
were
that's-
throwing Titans at everything, and it was fine because things were dying.
yeah, I think
Exactly.
that I'm not saying that they're right necessarily. I just think that I know that is one of their things that they have brought up in numerous dev blogs over the last several years, that they know about the mineral and ore hoarders. Like, they know very well about them, and they can see it. Like, they
What are they
know
gonna do
that.
about it?
Yeah,
they
so
gonna do
I
about
mean,
Never
like, but I
vote.
think that's part of their. I'm not. I'm
They
like,
never do.
again, I'm not saying necessarily that they're right. I'm just saying I know that's one of the things they have brought up that they're a little worried about. That the second they change it, it's like, yeah, you can see the metrics now, but you can't see the metrics when you have thousands of people that just offload trillions worth of ore in ISK all of a sudden.
Sounds like you might hate miners.
What?
Not with a passion, but I
No,
mean,
I'm one of them.
Sounds
What are you
like
talking
Yeah,
about?
sounds
I
like
do.
Sounds like
Yeah,
this guy
remember
hates
last time
miners.
I've done like everything in this game. I do mining, I've done ratting, I've done it all. I just know that is one thing they have brought up before, though.
he's one of the people
I mean, a guaranteed
flooding
way
the
to get
market
rid
with
of all the
shit just to
mineral
screw the prices
stockpiles would
up. 'Cause
be
he's mean.
roll
He's a
back a
mean guy.
bunch of the bullshit changes to caps so that they use mostly T1 minerals again. Someone made up a good idea of
They will never do that.
I don't think
and
they. I think they,
not
want,
with
they
it.
don't want the
Going back is
proliferation.
never the answer. Yep.
They will never do
Yeah,
that.
they don't want the
Because you'll fuck
proliferation, but
over
then.
any.
Oh, go ahead.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Oh,
the
I
other
was
thing that
just
someone
saying
suggested.
they don't want to roll back the proliferation of capitals because then you have. But then now that they're more expensive, people don't use them as much.
I don't have a problem with
yeah,
them being more
here's the
expensive.
other
I
thing
will-
too.
It's not that they don't
that
get
I was
used.
being mentioned earlier is someone I forget who it was made the suggestion of that capitals and supers should use a type of mineral rather than PI that's only found in null. That way you can balance capital production without fucking over the rest of the T1 market, like battleships, freighters, T1 cruisers,
Yeah.
etc. And it
That's an idea.
made some sense.
And
I think they could fix a lot of it if they just made it so capitals were worthwhile again. I mean, part of the problem is they're so expensive and they're
Yeah.
pretty fucking worthless. Like,
Pretty
Oh,
fucking
carriers,
worthless. You're
that's
right.
that's been my big thing is
like,
Titans
I don't care if
costing 250 bill are not a problem if you boost the power to
250.
make it worth it.
I don't care if
Yeah.
I don't care if a carrier is 5 billion. I should be able to take on a small gang by myself in that carrier. Then, if it's 5 billion, like, I shouldn't get just raffle stomped by like 500 mil of subcaps just because I can't do enough damage and they defang me.
Exactly.
when
Yeah,
you can't
like,
you
kill
should be able to
3
kill
cruisers in a
everything.
carrier.
Yes.
No. But when you can't kill 3 cruisers in a carrier, you start to ask questions. And you know, dreads are sort of disposable. You throw them at a problem and they die, but the problem also dies.
I mean, we're at a point
Alright,
now where
facts,
carriers
but-
only, like, it's funny because most doctrines, carriers, the only purpose they have is, well, if we ever
Boosting.
want to drop supers, you're there just to be an anti-fighter thing. That's all. That's the only role. You're just there to be cannon fodder so that the supers last longer,
I
and
mean,
that's
it's like
about it.
faxes are pretty used.
That's still a role, though.
Faxes and dreads are the more used ones right now. Probably faxes more than dreads, I would say at this point. But
I just want to imagine an actual navy like that, Dom. Hey, we have carriers. Your only job, though, we need you to be cannon fodder so our battleships don't get hit. All right, thank you.
Well, in that case, though, it's not the carriers that need to change. It'd be the fighters and heavy fighters, right?
didn't
They need to-
anyone
Yes,
tell you?
fighters-
I mean,
sirs?
yeah.
That's what
Fighters
mobile infantry's
and-
good for.
Fighters need to be buffed. What
Don't be
point-
talking shit about
point
mobile
blank
infantry.
and simple.
No.
Make fighters drones
fighters
again.
and heavy fighters need a buff.
Make
Titans
them
need a buff.
drones again.
And I mean, here's the
Give
thing with
Titans
Titans. It's
drones.
Make Hot
What-
Titans great again.
Yeah,
yes,
I don't know
all
what
you
they
have to do is just give them Haws, and that would solve one fundamental problem. It's literally
Give
go into
Titans
database,
Haws?
check the box, and just push it to dev. Make sure you didn't fuck something up in the process. And then you push it to prod. It's a 5-second change, maybe 2 hours to do a QA review. And guess
Here's
what?
the-
You make the game a lot better, and people will probably be dropping Titans left or right. and people will be dumbasses and get them killed.
Yeah, no. Here's how you fix it. You can put Haws on Titans, but you can't group guns. You can only lock
Oh,
one target
beautiful.
per gun. So
What?
that thing is just
but
like a 4th
theoretically,
of
a
July firing off
one
every
target Haws
direction.
I
kill
I
everything.
kind of love
Actually,
that.
would be fun
I
if the Haws
actually
were
do.
buffed,
Of
so they
course
did
you
like
love
4
that. Why
times the
wouldn't you love
damage.
that, Dane?
So you basically could essentially
the
kill like
worst.
5 subs at a time.
I just want to see a Titan like they show in the videos where it's just got guns going every direction, like it's a fortress. Just every single gun is firing at a totally different target somewhere around it. That's all. I just want to see that.
That'd be
Hey,
awesome.
Nervikin.
Now the one thing I would love to
Yeah,
see,
hello.
and this is my if I could go and
Yep.
get blackmail on CCP so that they would have to do this, would be to make the Lapitan tie-ins where they would have the old school AoE style Doomsday,
Lapation.
maybe 2 mods, old school Doomsday, new school Doomsday. We could have both, but they would cost like 2 or 3 trillion.
Oh Jesus.
Well,
Okay,
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Palatine.
Mm,
exactly.
That's the
But
point.
here we go. You
I
need a
feel like
Titan
that's
story?
just a way
I've
for like
got
the
a-
super rich Eve players to helicopter dick around and like no one can really do much.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I have a-
we
a-
already have skins, dude. We already
I
have
got a
skins
Titan.
that are
I got a
Here's-
Titan
here's the
story
thing,
for you.
though.
That
These
happened
things actually
yesterday.
exist in game lore, and that's about
they
the amount of
exist in the
resources
lore,
it takes
but,
to
like-
make one.
But the argument, and I kind of agree with it, is like, why would you introduce a ship that there's no
Counter
One-
to
yeah,
like
One, there's gonna be
reasonable
one ever
use
in the game.
for?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know,
What
like
do
Oh, you mean like
these
T2
things
Titans,
should-
or I mean T2 Dreadnoughts that were
That-
cool
that-
for all of 5 minutes, and then people were like, "All right,
There's-
never
they're-
mind."
they're just
they're
They,
very-
they've got a
Only you
gimmick.
should use it for
Yeah.
ganking jump freighters.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
They've
I
got
know,
a
that's it.
gimmick, and it's fine.
in
I,
the
I don't necessarily agree that we needed T2 dreadnoughts. Nobody was asking for them, but you know, CCP
I think the
decided, hey, we want to
It
do
was
it.
it was a
so-
it was a good attempt.
The
but
idea was
I gotta-
cool. It's
yeah, exactly.
it's
the idea
an
was good. It just
idea.
didn't work out.
the execution. But I mean, yeah, they were
Um,
just used for jump fighter killings. But I mean, like in bigger capital fights, they're super rare, but you do see a few of those brought in.
And,
So like, they're
every now and
using
they're
the
again,
super
Amazon
niche.
to
It's
keep
it's
doing
like it's like
China.
okay, maybe you use like 5
praise
of them a
Azeroth.
year
Azeroth.
or something. Praise Azeroth.
Well, they were used in the Amazon fight to keep goons from jumping all their dreads out.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like,
like,
there's
they-
a
they
use.
have
Very very niche use.
they have a function somewhere in the, but like
They're pretty much the
having an
greatest meme
extra-
ship in the game.
having an extra Titan that's more expensive and does nothing really extra. What's the fucking
You
point?
basically defined every single
But then
faction
I asked
Titan they've
these.
introduced now.
But then
like,
I asked
it's
these
cool, but
questions.
Yeah, it's
about,
cool, but yeah, it's cool, but
I,
exactly.
to
That's
be
exactly
fair,
what it is.
I asked these
To be
questions about the Deathless
fair.
ships as well, and their damage over time mechanic. Who asked for this, right?
Oh, I like them.
Oh
I think
yeah.
I hope they
They're-
I hope they end
they're-
up being cool.
They're a gimmick, but they're not like.
Anytime you can
fantastic,
take a
are
tornado
they?
and shove it into a Ferox, fuck yeah, give me that every time.
Oh, are you talking about the breachers?
Yeah,
Yeah,
what's the name of that thing?
Yeah,
I mean,
the Tholos and the
Yeah, not to drag it back to the tournament thing, but
What-
the Tholos is allowed. The other one is Cenotaph is not, but the Tholos is allowed.
Yeah.
and that is surprisingly good, I think.
But like the damage over time mechanic is just one of those things that I do ask, like, who the fuck asked first?
yeah.
Why did we need
I
this?
think it's a bit
I
high.
think it's
I think it's a
cool.
bit high for the for like one ship for what it does.
Yeah,
It's a
but-
lot.
Very expensive. It's very
It's
expensive.
very
too.
expensive,
You know, it's
and
not
it's
like
gonna
it's-
get targeted, and it's gonna probably die. But I mean,
Well, it
I
better
don't-
be cloaked up for the most
I mean,
time.
also you haven't really been seeing them in fights, right? It's like everyone's like, oh, these things are so broken, but it's like you see these big fleet fights happen, and it's like there's no Cenotaphs on field. There's
Well, here's the thing:
there's
it's
no Tholos running
6.5 billion ISK to get into it,
right.
right? To buy the ship and buy the skill books.
Yeah.
That's without, and then you have to train it up.
And then the
obviously, but
ship
that's-
itself
yeah.
is, I mean, I don't know what
Well,
they
it's
are
2
now.
billion.
Is this
Yeah.
for the Cenotaph or the Tholos?
The Cenotaph was like 1.8, and I think the Tholos was 700 million.
Yeah, that's
the,
a
the
lot.
skill books were
Is it
a
still
little
now?
bit more than 4 billion for all 5 skill books. So
Is it still that high now?
I don't know. I haven't bought one. When I bought it,
I was
that's what
gonna say
I paid when I bought mine.
because the Merkden thing was one of the greatest. Like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, what the fuck is this? Like it was like before you could
It's
even like
Siphons 2.0.
So the
That's
Cenotaph
what
is
it's
coming down to
supposed be.
1.2. Yeah.
there's so many aspects of it. Well, and the worst part about it is the main thing you spend on is the Cenotaph and the Tholos, but it's like, but those are so situational where they're actually worthwhile to use. Like basically, if you're not attacking a Rorqual, it's like, well, why would I bother with this?
And
Other than
600
the memes.
yeah.
Other than the memes.
What about making dens so that where you can sell the excess product to Deathless just for straight Isk, so that if you're not trying to go for a Cenotaph or a Tholos, you just convert it into straight Isk.
I mean,
Convert
I would
what into
love to
straight?
see what the liquid faucet generation is of that.
What are
That
you
would
converting?
be if you could just convert the shit from the Merc dens and just say, I don't want the Cenotaph, just give me Isk. And I'm
You
very
just not
curious
do the
what
Merc dens, and then your shit produces more, right? I mean, that's one way. If you don't want the shit, just don't.
Yeah,
do
but then
Merc
it
den.
fucks up your Shav upgrades, so it's a trade-off.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it fucks off your well, if nobody does anything with it.
But again, it's a lot of things in Eve gameplay, counter gameplay. It's why
I just want to know
Anything that
why
adds more Isk to Eve would be great, right?
I just want to know why the fuck Merc dens aren't anchorable by Corp. Why in the actual fuck do they have to be individually anchored? Like that makes no
what?
sense
CCP
whatsoever.
Darwood, he would know which dev actually did this, so we can interrogate them on that fact. Why they programmed it like
of
that.
all the stuff related to Merc dens, the only thing is why are they individually owned? Why can't they be anchored by Corp?
Is it because they're kind of in the same vein as the Siphon, and that was the same thing? That was individually launched too? Maybe that's why
Could you not anchor siphons for Corp?
you could not. It was individuals. Yeah.
Yeah, they just reuse that code. They're like,
That's why I wonder if it,
copy
because they're
paste.
kind of in the same
Yeah.
vein. This is the not the same, but you know what I mean, like same ballpark. I don't know.
I'm
maybe
curious
not.
when they're going to release the updated Merc dens. I don't know if you guys have seen that. That's in the game. They have they're if you go in the game and look up the Merc dens on the market, there's a Merc den that's not available that supposedly self defends itself when it's under attack. I'm curious, like when they're gonna. Yeah, it's in the market. It's not in game, but it's in the market. You can see there's a upgraded Merc den that will launch basically mini fighters to defend itself.
Huh.
But they haven't released it yet, so I'm curious. Like,
We may not. The stuff gets added to the database that's never seen the light of day.
yeah,
You know, it'd be cool to add to the database to release mining fighters for Rorquals.
All,
So
all
I
let's-
did actually
let's-
suggest
let's-
that to
we talked.
CCP
That was.
Okami.
You talking about
Yes,
excavators? What do you mean?
But I don't like the way you phrase that though. The way you should phrase that is convert excavators to fighters. We've already got
Crazy as
super
nuts.
expensive drones
That's what I told
for
him,
them that are just
didn't I?
useless.
So they are
So
actually
convert
combat
those.
drones. instead
Convert
of-
them to fighters and give them abilities like fighters have.
Well, the original way
I
how
can
I
hear
suggested it
I
was
can already
that
hear the
they're-
screams of 10,000 miners all complaining about now they have to hit F every single time that the cycle ends, like and have to keep hitting F or something.
Miners.
You know
suck.
what? If you make it where you have to be more active
do
to
complain
get
a lot,
more
don't they?
ISK, that's
Mhm.
good gameplay because you have
No,
Mackinaws and
because
Orc.
It would help prevent the
no,
mass
because you have now made a
proliferation.
system. You've now made a system that is more difficult for humans and easier for bots to do.
Yeah, but
Like,
how do
that's-
you not do that?
What
So
do you
like,
use them for
did
ratting
you
then, or just
did
for
you watch the
defense?
show? But just curious. Did you see it at all?
The
Which-
one,
which-
which show are you talking about?
The one that I had that CCP Okami was on. Because I
No,
asked
I
him
haven't
No,
got
I
you.
missed it.
Okay, well, I asked him about that, and that's something that they're paying attention to with any changes that they're making, is to make sure that they don't, like, they're considering, will it make it easier for bots? Will it just make it more tedious? So they're like actively trying to avoid things like that. I think. I don't know. I'm assuming that part.
It's a balancing point that they pay attention to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. Good thinking.
Well, that's
Yeah,
why
I
I,
mean,
was
they're-
suggesting the
they-
mining barge fighters because they'd be
Oh, come off it,
useful,
bud.
I
but
like
they're-
that.
but
I
they're
like the fact that
killable.
they're looking at that, Redline. I'm glad you asked that
I mean,
question.
that's
I
what they
love
said when they released Thunderchild, and now look what we have. We have just
Hmm.
thousands of Thunderchild bots that just all go in a group perfectly timed. And
Those
I've
aren't
watched it.
bots.
Huh?
Those aren't bots.
Oh,
They're
yes,
just
they
fucking
are.
very, very finely
They-
tuned fleets.
They are not bots.
skilled.
They just all instantaneously fire at
Very
exactly the
skilled.
same time.
Very skilled players.
Skilled players, yeah, paying
I
attention.
mean, with the server
They're
being one
fucking great
tick,
fleet members.
Big dogs. Oof.
I actually got my first kill on one of those Metanoxes this week. I went on Fleet and we killed one.
It's someone with like actually 10 computers set across, and they just built like a big
Oh
wooden
my
thing
God.
that goes, and like they can just all push it down and push the
No,
same.
remember
button,
it's the dowel
push
rod.
the same button on 10 keyboards at the same time.
Yeah, it's the dowel rod that you just
Yeah.
push down and it just hits it on all of them at the same time.
Just don't,
just
just don't
ice-
video,
it's
just
just
don't
Icebox,
stream
sir.
yourself doing that
Hit
because you'll
I
fire
get
feel
and
like it's
fire
not
tunnel.
that, but
Oh my god. Yeah, there was a move op where some guy was docking 25 ships at identical times, and then people were like, hey bro, you might want to make your botting a little less obvious. And then people were defending him. No, he could do that with 25 ships. I was like, no, he's not.
totally
He's not
could.
getting
Bing, bing,
25
bing.
ships to dock instantaneously.
Bing, 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 bong.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
one tick.
that's 5
There
in
are
less
some
than.
people that have
Okay,
like
so look.
insane APM with
So
with
look.
Evo preview,
Check
where
it
it's
out.
just
It-
dock tab, dock tab, dock tab, dock tab.
Yeah,
dock
it
tab,
just
dock
depends
tab.
on what your hotkey
I know
is.
that. You're not going to do that 25 times for a warp with 25 cruisers that is only 1,000 kilometers.
Prove
There's
it.
no way you're telling me in that distance you've got the dock command to 25 ships just by switching that quickly.
What if you
Okay,
have
so hear me
25
out. Hear me out.
Have
Wait a
you
second. Wait a
seen
second. Hold up.
professional
1 second.
StarCraft
Time out. Time
players?
out. Time out.
Oh
Yeah,
Time out.
no!
This is gonna be a hot take. Okay. Even if the guy was multi-boxing 25 accounts using Iskboxer, what's wrong with that?
A lot, actually.
So aside from it being against the terms of service, if everyone could use Iskboxer, would that not make the game have more players in it? Technically,
No.
more
more
people
players.
on the battlefield.
No.
Nope.
No?
No.
Not
Okay,
more players.
explain.
One person, 25 accounts is one player.
You'd have
There-
more
Correct.
accounts, but fewer
Yeah.
humans.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
More
you'd have
accounts.
fewer humans.
I would rather not have replicator 00 through replicators 045. instances
Yeah,
again.
I
was real
remember the
ti-
days of the,
I was
I
real
remember the
s-
days of the single fleet 40 Tengus that
Yeah,
one
oh,
guy
that
commanded the whole
replicator.
fleet.
That replicator
So you
guy would
don't
bring like
want
50
CCP
hounds
to make
in a-
money,
and he would
is
ta-
what you're saying.
It would be one dude
Is that
taking
you
on
would
a fleet
rather
of like
CCP
500
go
dudes
broke.
or 100 dudes by himself.
CCP's not going to
Not
go
500.
broke.
They're not going to go
Interesting.
broke. I think that they would.
Interesting that you
the
would rather
EVA
they go broke.
No,
No,
EVA
here's
I'd
the
rather be
is the
people play the
benefit
game.
of those
Wait,
that
shh,
extra
wait,
money
wait,
to
one at a
CCP.
time.
I want to
Worth the
undercut
loss.
the-
Wait. One at a time. We're talking over each other. Hold on. Who's Dom? Go.
Is the benefit to CCP or to the CCP of that extra accounts worth the detriment to the game by people, adding that much more of everything into the game? You
Me
know what I'm saying?
first.
No.
Is it, what is the
here's the
detriment?
I still want to
Tell me-
reply to what
tell me
Red
what-
Light said.
Hold on. Tell me what the detriment is, and then
Well,
Skyhawk
if
can
you
go
have
next.
somebody who can do 25 Mackinaws or whatever, mining
Sure.
with one push of the button, that's not quite as bad as the roll call days, but it's close, right? If everybody's doing that,
But-
you're mining way more shit. It floods the economy with crap. That's
Good.
kind of what they're trying to get away from.
the,
Would
the
that, wouldn't that
downside
be the-
to that. Yeah, here. I see
shit's
what you're
still
saying,
hard
Dom.
to-
I'll break it down
the
in
shit-
I'll break it down in a more clear way.
Hold
the
on,
problem
wait,
with that.
time out. The shit still takes a long time to build. That's like a part of the proliferation problem.
correct? Yeah.
Was the
But-
time
but
it
part
took
of the
to build
proliferation
it,
is the
but
lack
now
of
it takes
materials.
much,
That
much
was
longer.
lack of
mean,
materials was
I
a big point.
I think it's a smaller point now.
I agree too, but what I'm saying is the benefit that CCP gets of that money for those accounts worth the change it would make to the gameplay of the game? That's what I'm
So
trying to say.
I think so.
the point
No,
that I
because-
wanted to
Wait, Scott, go.
Yeah,
so
Skyhawk's
a couple,
first.
a
Yeah,
couple
second.
minutes ago, Redline made a comment about like CCP like needing money. So one of the benefits of CCP being owned by Pearl Abyss is we actually get quarterly earnings calls where they have to divulge how the company's actually doing. And in every single one of those quarterly earning calls where they've gone through their income by broken down by IP, EVE Online is doing fucking great. It's consistently been like 10 to 15% of all of PA's total revenue. EVE IP is doing fine. Don't worry about like CCP not making enough money. They're doing fucking great.
So
Okay,
the thing
I
that
gave
I was
you the
going to
floor
get
for
to.
that. Holy, that
Well,
wasn't
yeah,
even a
it's-
rebuttal to what I said.
Can I-
Because I was
No,
just
you were
meaning.
you.
I was meaning, dude. I was being
This is
sarcastic.
why I shouldn't trust you.
You shouldn't. I don't know why you do. Like, what the fuck?
You're just trying to get
Okay,
me all
if
riled up.
Sullen-
I appreciate it.
Sullen, you
Red
are
Line- or-
next. Sullen is. You had your bit, Skyhawk. Sullen is next.
Okay,
My bad.
here's the problem when you have that. So let's say you have one person who's got 25 accounts. Like, let's take this in a microsystem, okay? You've just got, 10 people in a microsystem. One guy, though, like humans, 10 humans. One guy, though, has 25 accounts that he can mine with and make money with. The problem is that that guy has a means now to basically buy things that the others will, like, he can drive the price of anything in this microsystem up because he's like, I don't give a shit how high it gets because I have so many accounts that I can just burn making ISK at a rate that no one else can compete with. Like, take Plex, for example. I don't give a fuck if Plex gets to be 10 billion. If I have 20 fucking bots that I can just burn, I can burn that much ISK in a week, then what I give a shit? Versus the vast majority of players do not have anywhere close to that many accounts, which means that then for them, when they look at things like Plex going up to, that high, it's much more detrimental. Same thing goes then for mining. If you are mining with 25 fucking accounts versus somebody who's starting the game with 1, maybe 2 accounts, you're going to drive the mineral price down exponentially compared to what they can do, and it eventually gets to the point where, like, for them, they're like, this isn't even fucking worth it. I only have 1 or 2 accounts. This is not worth it for me to do. Whereas if you have 25 fucking accounts, you're like, I don't really give a shit that they make so little because I have 25 accounts that I can just hoover the living shit out of everything. Anyhow, that's
That was my point. Yeah, and then on a
yeah.
macro scale, it affects everybody.
If I may,
and if you expand
if I may,
yes,
this is why it costs so much to Plex your account every month with in-game ISK, because people have driven the cost of a monthly Plex up that high because they can make that much ISK, right?
Yes.
The amount of ISK that you make every month is comparative to how much it would cost to play the game every month. But multi-boxing and multi-accounts make it so that you can earn more ISK, so that price goes up.
And to add on to that, I am not against necessarily 100% having any alts whatsoever. Although honestly, I think that would be cool if they ever made EVE in a way that you could get by with 1 account. But I'm not necessarily against.
I get by with
Yeah,
one
I'm
account.
not necessarily
one
against
account.
bot
Yeah.
or having not necessarily against having an alt
Just
or
two.
having alts. But
He
I will
said
say
he wasn't against bots there, by the way.
No.
Team. You wanted to click that?
you shut your fucking whore mouth,
He
okay?
did say it.
I'm not against bots.
My point is that there's a vast difference between somebody who's like, I have a scouting alt, I have a marketing alt, I have some 1 or 2 other accounts versus I have an entire army that I can control by myself. Those are entirely different gamers. And the first set is vastly more than the amount of people than the second set, but the second set has much more power over how the game is influenced than the first set because of the way they can run the game.
So, as
Now.
most of you know, like multi-boxing and mining is like how I started off really with making my iskies in game, and I
You say
run with
Iskies?
iskies. Yes, I did.
Someone else talk.
So
Shut
I run
this
with.
man up.
I'm gonna mute you. I swear to fucking god.
For what?
So I run with 6 miners, a booster, and a hauler, and that's the most like clicking that I can handle. Essentially, if I could, and I've gotten more wealth in my time in EVE than like the average player at this point. If I had been able to like just multi-box and have bots and not worry about like being banned, I would, instead of having it over a trillion ISK, I would end up having like 20-30 trillion ISK, and that wouldn't make the game better. It
Why?
would just make my wallet fatter.
Welcome
Why are we
for the
talking
raid. We got a
about
raid.
bots?
Welcome
Like,
everyone for Raid Champ.
I'm
Hold
not
on.
talking about bots. What are we holding on for? We're
Hi, Rain.
welcoming?
Say hi to Ray.
Hi,
Rain.
So I just
Well,
realized
your
that
fault,
our
Brendan.
channel
This
needs an
came from the-
umbrella
We're talking
because
about mining right
it's
now. Kinda.
This came from the Rorqual fighter mechanic discussion, right? And so anything that you can scale is something that you can do with alts, and that's something that we have to, well, not we, but CCP should look into, making it more difficult to scale certain activities there to dissuade multi-boxing and therefore dissuade botting.
Yep, the whole point of the original exercise, of the original thought design exercise, is something that is good for a single player, a single human, but is hard to multi-box or bot effectively.
I
And
thought we were
something
talking about input
that
broadcasting.
adds gameplay and counterplay where, at least in my original design, you would be more effective running multiple characters and multiple barges. But if you didn't have the sheer number of barges, one workflow could be 75 as effective as, say, 5 barges.
Here's the
But how do
problem with
you
that.
control that person from having that work
Here's the
and
problem
the
with that.
mouth, you know?
Here's the problem with that. So I hear exactly what you're saying, and I will just point out orcas. Orcas in high sec never have mined anywhere close to what mining
Ian,
barge mines.
Hold
And
on, I also
people,
have a point after you.
yeah, and people used orcas in mass purely because it was much more passive than it was to use mining barges. But orcas have never mined anywhere close to what a mining barge mines, even unboosted. So the thing about that is that while you are correct, that sounds good, but people didn't care that they didn't mine as much because I can sit there and mine for hours in an orca because it's so fucking passive. And if
And
I can mine for
also-
hours in one orca, I can mine for hours in 25 orcas.
Correct. If they're mining
And-
more, that's
Hold
just,
on, wait.
yeah, probably.
And also, you're a boob.
And also, I'm a boob.
No, him.
Oh,
I have no problems with alts. No problems at all. I just don't bot, right? Because it's against the rules. And
No
alt,
input
like the
broadcasting.
45 alt thing is, if you're input
Yeah,
broadcasting, you can
so-
do a lot more damage than you can do if you're having to click.
Input broadcasting is
move-
borderline botting, not quite.
I agree. I think that's awful. Yeah, that
And
would
see,
ruin
that right there, that is where I'm like, I don't think so, because so input broadcasting to me would make it so that you could have multiple accounts so much easier. But like you're really only restricted by the performance of the game at that point. And like that's what CCP
Right.
wants, is people to have more.
Yeah,
If
but
I
the
may.
thing is, like, and
If I
And-
may,
we were going
and I
with. Go ahead, LB.
I understand.
may.
No, you will. No, you may not.
Nobody
Because
has the talking conch.
no, he does not. I do. I was talking, and he started saying, "If I
I'm-
may."
That's because I wanted next. I'm gonna let you
There-
finish, but I
Okay,
want
okay,
next.
Okay, you're next. But everybody said a lot of points, right? So you mentioned the people that have 25 accounts and they hoover up everything. Look, dude, they're paying for 25 accounts. They deserve to be able to hoover up everything, and they have to be able to hoover up everything to pay for that many accounts. Now, if it so
Redline's
happens,
Just
Redline's
not with
meeting.
cheating. Yeah.
and
He's
now
my
if
argument
it's-
is, I would
What-
venture
and
there's
it's-
probably much more than 25 people.
Venture, this procurer, bro. Procure my opinion before you respond to it. And furthermore, if a new player or other player finds himself unable to mine because someone is hoovering up all the rocks, the suggestion I have for them is to simply get good.
We'll
Oh,
do another
so-
system.
Okay,
And-
LB, go ahead. Hold on.
Damn.
LB's.
And
okay.
that is why we have such a problem getting new players to join. No,
How
not
come,
among
dude?
many other.
We have a
The-
problem getting old players to stay. What do you mean? All the
We
FCs
do
from the
have
old
a-
days,
we
where are
do
they?
have a huge
hold on, hold
problem.
on,
You're
how's
talking,
it getting forward?
you're talking
No,
about
no.
new players.
Give it-
LB
Stop.
turn.
LB's turn.
No,
The equalizing factor between a multi-boxer and a single account player used to be, well, is actions per minute. You can only do so many clicks. You can only do so many button presses per minute. When you use something like IS Boxer to do input broadcasting, you remove the equalizing factor of actions per minute, and you create an immensely powerful single individual who can command far more firepower or resource gathering power, excuse me, than an average player can. So
Then
IS
shouldn't
Boxer
they?
and input broadcast, no, they should not,
Why
because
not?
because it
the-
removes any sort of equalization. So now it's why don't
No,
I
it
just
doesn't.
I'll just insert money into computer and get game.
Mhm.
It's mining
that-
in
that-
a
why
am I even
Oracle and an
playing? Why am I even
Orca
playing?
versus
No,
a
no,
procurer and a
100%
mining
of it.
barge.
That's what I was trying to
It's
get to.
about
The-
investment. You invest a lot in,
Right.
you get a lot out.
you don't.
That's
you,
the
you,
point.
yeah,
That's
but
follow
the
the
don't.
rules.
gameplay
You
loop.
you don't invest in gameplay when you're using IS Box or what have you. Now
Yeah.
I appreciate
You
the
invest
F-
something.
I
Don't have
appreciate
to.
that.
Let's all just understand that
FCs
Redline is
and
memeing and he doesn't
other-
actually
Yeah.
believe these things.
Oh,
Redline
Yeah,
has been
fuck
memeing us,
that.
guys. It's
This is
dragging
a
us
fun
into
little
it.
But it's a-
exercise, but he's
Okay.
dragging
No,
us down.
that's not
it's
true.
a fair-
Actually, I'm telling you. But okay, whatever you say.
If he's not memeing about this, then that's possibly more questionable. But I would agree
He's naming.
that
I'm not actually.
You
but
are.
Harry,
Fuck
he's
off.
He's
I'm
naming
not.
so hard.
the IS Boxer situation is somebody utilizing an artificial tool to play the game instead of playing it themselves. Like when I was FCing, I was running 6-7 accounts simultaneously. It was a lot of work, and it was a lot of work because I was using different accounts for different purposes. I wasn't trying to figure out, okay, what is the best way to run 20 fucking mining barges into a belt and make the most money, even though, like, you could make a reasonable amount of money running mining barges anyway, right? The bit of, and especially, I think LB noted ganking, where you can have a bunch of catalysts all run from the push of a button, and all you have to do is fund the accounts somehow. How do you fund the accounts? You kind of figure it out over there.
I mean, there's some people you got to consider don't give a flying fuck about that. Like,
there are.
Yeah, there's a
but-
lot. There's some people who do not give a shit. If I have to plex 20 accounts, I don't give a shit. It's mommy and daddy's credit card. Who gives a shit? Like, I don't care
There are
if I have to
people
plex
like
that
that.
many.
But
Yeah.
but we're here playing a
Like
game.
4 of them.
We're here
Like
trying
literally
to
6
play.
people that play like that.
We're here trying to play a game and trying to contest ourselves against other people because it's
Why?
a PvP game. And so
You
there's
see?
a
Told you.
level of understanding that, like, hey, if I'm putting myself up against somebody else for skills-based purposes, and this is why I enjoy the tournament scene so much more than the rest of Tranquility nowadays, right? Like,
I shouldn't be
the-
penalized
the-
because I'm not renting a server to run my game.
the
you
tournament
should.
scene is it's a flat situation in which you have a bunch of rules and a bunch of people, and you do the best that you can with those people and those rules. Tranquility doesn't have that, fair enough, but Tranquility has certain things that stops you artificially inflating your own performance versus other people's own performance. Those are the rules.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're gonna turn around and say IS Boxer should be allowed, you're basically saying throw the rules out, do whatever the fuck you want.
Like, I'm fine with, you want to have a bunch of alts, that's fine. You want to have 20 alts mining in a belt, that's fine. But like, I do find that there is value.
You better
to
manage them yourselves.
It's like you need to manage them yourselves, and I do find that there's value in, like, there is a limit to how many alts you can actively run. Maybe not necessarily based on your computer's performance, but based on how many actual manual inputs you can manage doing consistently. Whereas, and like, I mean, back in the day when IS Boxer was allowed, and I know that it's not like everyone did this, but it was really frustrating when you and like 80 friends would get together in a fleet and go out, and then that replicator guy, you'd come across this one dude that had 50 accounts. It was all IS Boxered he would just bring like 50 hounds. And you would come with like, there was like 70 or 80 of you, and he would just come and just kill all of you by himself, by just by piloting one account and having 50 accounts do the same thing. And it's like, that's such a bullshit thing. And like, it's like no one else, unless you have, that kind of limits to where it's like, if you have enough money to throw at a computer system and the know-how to throw at IS Boxer, you can actually just completely nullify many people's gameplay.
It's basically pay to win.
Yeah, it's basically kind of a pay to win thing. Like, I'm sorry, like, I think the IS Boxers thing is bullshit. Like, you want to have alts, that's fine. Input broadcasting and bots, fuck them.
Similar to like an aimbot.
Okay, wait a second.
On Untethered, CCP Convict told a little story about like how certain gameplay can be passive, but can also be active as well. So like, he gave an example of a freighter. You can take a freighter and set an autopilot 30 jumps, walk away from your computer and come back, and maybe you've made it or maybe you haven't, but eventually it'll get there, and that's passive gameplay. Or you can have that freighter set a desto and then get a webbing alt, and then get a little bit more sweaty about it and web your freighter into warp and have it land on 0 and like actively jump through gates, and you're more active, so the reward is the trip is shorter, right?
Yeah,
so the same thing should occur in the game, is that if you're more active, you should get more reward.
The other thing
You shouldn't be
in-
rewarded
in-
via IS Boxer because you're removing the APM
and
inputs.
that's the question within this argument as well, because like an IS Boxer input is basically, in IT terms, it's an automation script. There shouldn't be an automation script that speeds you up beyond what you can do via an active coding scenario, right? Like there's that
wrong.
situation of if you figure out a way to do things actively, you've got a process where you're clicking buttons, right, and that makes your process faster, fine. If you're running a script to do this and then stepping up and going off to cook dinner, that's problematic. The speed at which you do things should be related to the, as has been already said, the actions per minute and the ability to do things there and then at the computer. If you can run 8 accounts, fine, but you have to run them directly rather than running them by proxy.
So then
I think we
riddle
were
me
all
this
agreed on
then.
that point.
What is the acceptable APM before you're like, oh, that's NISC Boxer? Because anyone who gets good enough to do it that way gets accused of doing it through IS
But they're
Boxer
not
anyway.
doing it. That's the thing. They can get accused of it, but they're not doing it.
The players
This is
like,
where this is where the logs come in, because
exactly.
if you're doing it via
Logs
ISBoxer,
show nothing.
the logs show a hell of a lot more.
They
It's
show
an old
everything.
meme, but it's
If you have 20 accounts who all activated something at the exact same tick, like so within 2 seconds, yes,
CCP
here's a lot
know. Yeah.
they know.
Mhm.
They know very well from that. And if those guys happen to be in a fleet, they can fucking see that. They're not in a fleet, okay, but I can see where they are in space, and I can see all 20 of these accounts were within 5,000 meters of each other.
Eve
They
players
can see
are
that.
Eve players are suspicious and paranoid, and we accuse people of being botters that aren't necessarily doing it. We can't tell unless we see their logs, but CCP, like everyone has said already, has those logs. It's easy for them to tell that
Like
difference.
the
Hey,
logs
one more
show
time. God,
the logs show nothing is a very old meme, but it's not true.
Well, if you see somebody you're suspect
Yep.
of doing it, you report them, and they'll look at the logs and they'll make a decision, right?
If you see
Exactly.
something, say something.
Oh
And
my
here's the thing:
God.
is if one person who just happens to be like a fucking, a micro machine speedster gets
a
banned,
micro machine.
I'm okay with that. If they,
Well, no,
Say that again?
I'm not. But the thing is, like, so, and that's like to Kite was saying.
micro-machines.
Nowadays, they end up getting accused of IS Boxing instead for being a
Correct.
god with Eve Prevo or Evo Prev. So, like, I think that
You're
like
still
the IS
tabbing
Boxer,
through. There is
like,
no.
there is like there will be a delay, and I think CCP will look at it, and like it pretty much is like there is an inhuman level of speed that it's like there is no humanly way possible that you can alt tab and do the commands that fast, or even if you have the thing where you have like multiple windows on your screen, like you can't. But if you're just really quick at it, and I think they'll differentiate. Now, if players are just like, "Oh, this guy must be IS boxing because he's really good," it's like, "Well, okay," but that if they report it, CCP is going to take a look at it, and I hope that CCP would look at it and be like, "Someone could actually do that," and so they leave it, and not just ban people because they get reported. I hope that's not happening.
Yeah.
I would think that CCP would require preponderance of the evidence proof, or even beyond reasonable doubt before they ban someone for IS boxing.
Does anyone know? Do they contact the person and ask them?
Yeah.
Do they?
I don't think they ask them.
Hey, this is what we saw. What are you doing? If they
You'll
have a
get
good
a-
excuse, maybe
You'll get a short ban, like a slap on the wrist kind of ban, or even I
They
think
they
maybe
do
a
it
warning.
3 strikes.
Someone's
I
gonna
think
slap me on the
CCP do it
wrist?
3 strikes and you're out. So
Do
that
they ever give the person an opportunity to say, "Hey, I'm not doing that. This is
I
what
would
I'm doing."
imagine for
You
sure if you
always-
got like
you-
your
you
first
ha-
strike.
A guy in chat just said that.
You can always appeal.
Yeah. You get a you get a quick
okay, cool,
ban, and then you get like a month ban, and then you get banned. I
Oh,
think is like
To
the
Scary just said
process.
exactly what I said. So they do give you a chance to at least
Yep.
try to explain yourself, whether you lie or not. I mean,
I mean,
And if you can
You guys might be right,
justifiably
you
turn
know?
around and say, "Hey,
Probably not.
this
Yeah,
is what I was
look in
doing,"
chat. That's exactly what happened.
like the bit of, "Hey, all right, yeah, I wasn't actually being fucked." CCP not unreasonable some of the time. Shockingly enough, I know some of the veterans here will like
I'll tell you this much
hear
without
that
getting too
and
much into it.
say,
I was
Yeah.
shocked when I was on CSM and they started actually divulging some of the statistics and data that they had. Like,
You
I was
were
kind
on
of like, wow,
CSM?
all right, you guys definitely have some data. Like, they
Yeah.
definitely have a lot of fucking data. But the other problem for them then is how far do they want to dive into that?
Just
And
because
also,
the
how
more
do
data
they
makes it that
address
much
it?
problem
harder.
is
Yeah.
CCP's problem has never been like a lack of information. It's rather they have too much information, and how do they go through it, and how do they make decisions informed from that data?
Absolutely, they do not have the analysis people to get
Well,
good
for the
Yeah,
longest
just
time.
use
in my
AI. Why don't they just
opinion.
use
Well,
AI?
yeah,
There you
because
go.
for the
Yeah,
longest
chat
time, the problem
GPT.
with them is the fact that like that is not a topic you want to bring to board members. It's not. It's not something that goes over well when you're in the board meeting. Hey, we need to dedicate 20 devs to fixing this problem, because the first thing the dev board's going to go is like, well, how does that increase profits? And you're going to be like, well, in
Yeah.
theory, and that's the biggest.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest problems with stuff like that is how much
There's-
of your workload do you want to commit to that?
And
There's
that's
actually a
and
question
that
I've
goes
got.
back to being a management issue, because management needs to realize that sometimes you have to do work that, yes, is a cost center, but ultimately makes you money in other ways.
Yeah, and well,
It's
I mean, and
essentially
that's
it keeps you from losing more money.
yeah, and the problem, and the big issue with that's actually an issue not just for CCP. That's actually a video game. The industry wide is in a really big problem with that, because of the fact it used to be, hey, we have something we're going to do, we're going to develop it, we're going to get shareholders, it'll pay out in 5 years. That's not the current status quo for the gaming industry anymore. It's now, I'm going to invest and I want to see at least X amount of return in the first 12 months. And that is a huge problem, not just CCP. So I can't get necessarily that mad at them for that, because that's a massive issue in the gaming industry as a whole now, is that it's all about what is the quickest profit, not what is the best long-term profit. I mean, if you can just look at Red Dead Redemption from Rockstar is a prime example of that. Did Red Dead
Yeah.
Redemption ever lose money? No, it made stupid amounts of fucking money. The problem is Red Dead Redemption doesn't make as much money as GTA Online. And so basically they canned it because of the fact that GTA Online had a higher dollar invest / dollar return immediately than Red Dead Redemption did. So rather than pay developers to continue doing Red Dead, they just were like, now we're just going to fucking can that thing, because we could just take all of the money from Red Dead and just put it in GTA Online and we get higher yields immediately. And like that is a
It's
very
exactly
big
what
problem.
happened to the Elder Scrolls stuff.
Yeah,
right?
and that is
like, that it's a crying shame.
yeah,
But
and I don't know what the answer is to that, because the problem with that is that it's not just CCP; it's the entire industry is now dealing with that, and it is a huge problem.
Everyone is talking about quick returns rather than reliable returns, and
Well, because the
this
problem is the people who are investing, they don't
I
care.
don't want to
Yeah.
get too far into the politics, but quick returns rather than reliable returns are becoming everything in everywhere, every industry. It's not just gaming. It's it's
Yeah,
food.
because the
It's
investors that are there, they are not
it-
investing for, I'm going to put money in here for 5 years. They're like, I'm going to put money in your company for a year. I need to see X profit so I can invest it in the next gaming company who's going to do the exact same thing. And
But-
actually, the biggest problem for that was the flash gaming on cell phones. What was the main? What was that major company? Oh fuck!
Zynga,
Yeah, that's
the
Thank you very
one
Farmville
of them.
company.
Yeah, that was one of the main ones, because people saw that, hey, these investors invested like, 10 million into this game, and suddenly they're like rolling in money after only a year. Like it, and that all of a sudden changed the whole industry. I watched, like, I've seen a couple documentaries talking about how the advent of cell phone gaming like has changed the gaming industry suddenly.
Oh yeah, I remember reading like the profits from mobile gaming are like 2 to 3 times that from the rest of the industry as a whole.
Yeah, because they have no investment, no development. They can crank out a new game every month and just keep it, and it starts a new game, more profits.
But one thing though I saw with Rockstar, and we'll probably see this, is they're rolling out GTA 6, and I would imagine the reason they're doing GTA 6 is to build a new GTA Online that they can monetize. Because
When's that
Probably.
coming out?
sometime this year.
No
Looks
way,
gorgeous
you
though.
think?
2035?
And to give Rockstar a lot of credit,
Same time
they
as
are
Elder
not
Scrolls
pushing
7?
out shit. They are pushing out good games.
It's just that who knows how long it lasts. That's the biggest problem with Rockstar.
Yep. And
Red Dead and GTA. What's the other Rockstar games? What else do they do?
GTA.
And
Yeah,
Red
Grand Theft
Dead.
Auto, Red Dead.
So what's the other?
There was
Is
some
there
They
any
don't
other
do. They're not
Rockstar
doing. They're not doing Red Dead at all now. They
They,
literally.
that was their game, right?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
That
they
was.
did it and
What
they're
other
not
games do they do?
supporting it.
Yeah, they're
Find
not
it
supporting it at all
interesting.
anymore.
We got all the way to this starting from like talking about mining drones and fighters.
I know.
Like,
Sorry.
Yeah.
wild road we
It's
walked
the
down.
question of
But-
how
well,
how does a
let's
gaming
please-
company
well,
move?
what I-
3 goddamn minutes to
but-
get a muffin, and y'all stop talking
I-
about the video game EVE Online on the EVE Online talk show. What the
But
fuck happened
yeah,
here?
that's I was trying to
Technically
bring it
after
back.
hours.
I was trying to bring it back around because we are about to enter into like what we usually consider.
There's
the
some new
after show.
wormholes we haven't talked about.
What? Yeah, let's
Wormholes.
bring it back to our last few Eve topics. Then go
The,
wild.
said
the,
wormholes?
tabit, the
Not-
Tabitzer
not-
thing?
We've not
Tabitzer.
talked about the ESI
brawl?
stuff either.
I
Is
know.
that
I
Actually
actually looked
making
at the
changes
ESI
to
stuff.
ESI for a thing.
Well,
Right?
We'll
I
get,
looked
yeah,
at that.
we'll get to that. What about the new wormholes?
Well, this whole
really, really
Drifter
wormy.
Tabitzer thing is about Drifter wormholes, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
I
do we
think
know
we'll
fucking-
definitely see player buildable structures
interesting
in the
about it,
Drifter
LB?
wormholes.
That's what I think too.
I mean, new wormholes. I'm guessing drifter sites in them.
It'll
I'm
be
guessing
some.
they're gonna
It'll be some
decrease
new
the
form. We'll probably find out. You know what? We'll probably find out all about this at FanFest, which
We're
is
probably gonna find out
60
about it
days
on
from
March
now.
12th.
Yeah,
We're probably gonna find it on March 12th.
So actually,
it's less than
50,
that.
53 days from today is when most of us will be landing in Iceland.
And it's after 11, so we're
You
officially
guys
in
keep
the after
track of it like
show.
on a like. You guys know like the exact days. I'm usually one of those. I'm like, oh shit! I guess I'm getting on a plane Friday. Like that. That's
Oh
And
no!
the only reason I mention it is
checked
because
about it.
the
that's
countdown.
when
Wake up in the
CCP is going
morning,
to drop all
yeah,
the news on the expansion. So that's when we should expect to know more.
Yeah, I'm flying in on like the Monday of that week, and I don't know what date specifically is. I just know that I'm flying in on the Monday.
27th, I think, if it's Monday.
Flying out,
50.
you know.
Actually,
that-
sorry,
that's
that
my
month.
situation.
That Monday is 53 days from today. 52 days from today, or yeah.
Skyhawk's
we actually
here getting us all in order, isn't he?
Oh, it's because I actually check the.
We did
every
mention,
week for
Rain,
the
that you got
show.
one
I
coming
actually
up?
do the.
He's got
I
a
do the
fucking
math.
countdown thing. Yeah.
Bro's got a countdown on his home screen of his
I
phone,
mean,
dude.
it's literally me
Cool.
asking Siri, "Hey, how
Um,
many days until April 29th?"
Whoa!
That easy.
Check. We've got Rain in chat.
We've had Rain in
She's
there.
been-
Yes, we did. Rain, I
Yeah.
made sure we gave you a shout out.
Yeah, we
I'm
got a shout out
looking
for that. And then
forward to seeing-
Debuji, what's his name?
Dubums,
Debujum.
Dujums, something.
Debuji, Debuji player.
fucking-
He's doing the new
That'd
player
be great.
presentation.
Rain,
Didn't
just
Dujak
fucking
do
get in
something
here
wrong?
and talk about your chat yourself.
Oh, he
Yeah,
was
Rain, get on comms. Let's go.
Like, why are we not
like,
calling
we-
Rain out
we
for not
almost
being
talked about
here to
wormholes.
talk?
We talked about wormholes for long
Tried.
enough.
I
Situation.
tried.
We didn't talk about wormholes at all tonight.
For
Other than
at
like, the
least
last
7 or 8
Hello?
seconds. That's
Hello?
plenty of time.
Rain, how you
Hi,
doing,
Rain.
friend?
Y'all.
It's
Even
not true.
All right, what do you want me to talk about? My presentation?
Yeah,
Right,
I didn't know
so-
you were
so
going to be
fir-
doing
so
one
whoa,
until seeing that in the post.
No.
Before you get into your presentation, how hyped are you about your role in the Charity Cup 2 next weekend.
Yo, I'm so nervous, dude. I always end up messing up. If there's ever an error with the referees, I'm always the one to get it.
Oh,
so
so if we
I'm
don't
so
win,
nervous.
then it's Rain's fault. Got it.
We'll be like, there's this really niche bug. We haven't. What is that,
So-
Vlad?
Just think of it this way: you can't be as bad as an SEC ref,
Yeah.
Oh, fair.
When
or that guy that screwed the Saints on the Phantom pass
That's
interference
not
no
Eve
call.
related. No, but
I
it's
think
every
that was
time
a
they're like,
legitimate call. That was a good call.
they're like,
That-
every time
that
it's
was a
like, we
wrong
haven't seen this
call.
bug for 15 years, and Rain found it by this weird glitch that she didn't notice in the UI, and I'm like, oh, god damn it. Every
when-
time, dude.
As a point, like, we do not blame you for these things. We blame Sothersol for these.
We do. We do
I don't want
blame
me to be
you.
blamed either.
if it's a match
But-
that
No, if there's
that-
something wrong, it's
Guys,
Souther's fault.
if it's a match that
But-
this is fine as playing in, you should just warp the enemy team to 0 and just be like, no, they fucked up their warpings all at 0. So
Oh my gosh.
Alright.
Tell
I
us
just
what
blame
your
Redline. He's always
presentation
the
was.
Radico should
imposter.
be immediately. What's it called? Dirks exploded. maybe?
The explodified.
Explodified. He should be immediately explodified.
But I that was like a joke of a comment that was kind of trying to be like, Rain, are you looking forward to this event?
I am, yeah.
Like, apparently it got into like
No, it's
how
not.
worried people are about being.
Yeah, so I think
on-
it's what, the 15th and the 16th? So not this weekend,
Yeah,
but next weekend are the
next weekend.
feeders,
Saturday,
right?
Sunday, yeah.
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 So those are the feeders for those who want to join. And then the end of March, so the 29th and the 30th. And then April 5th and
The-
6th is the actual tournament. if
Exactly.
people wanna
Yes.
watch.
So everyone
Make
going
sure-
NOLA is not
And-
fucked.
And
Like-
you're like very hyped to be involved, and it's all going to be really good, right?
I am, yeah. We have it looks like a lot of like new people taking interest, which I always think is good because you want like that new lifeblood coming in, more people learning, more people growing. But it also shows that obviously tournaments aren't dead. That players always want tournaments.
My God, it's almost as if my 40 minutes of just fucking hyperbole was not horrendously wrong.
I have a
I was just thinking deja vu.
I don't know if I can share it. I'll have to ask Radicos if I can share, but like, I have a spreadsheet that shows all the teams and then all the players
Yeah,
on the
no,
roster.
sure.
Oh, that's
Sure.
shareable? That's shareable?
It's public.
Oh,
yeah.
cool. Okay,
That-
hold on. Let me
that's-
find
Oh, I
it.
didn't post it earlier because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, so it
Sorry.
shows all the teams and the rosters on each, and then it's like one of those where like each person's assigned like an MMR, which is like a mixed matchmaking rating or whatever.
It's tricky to understand to start because like the MMR system is a very kind of basic system, and then the way each team gets ranked is by like its top number of players based on the number of players that they can have in a team. So like on this particular Charity Cup situation, you get your top 6 players are your total MMR averaged out. In the AT, it would be your top 10 players MMR averaged out. It's
Yeah, well, and,
it's very much a like benchmark rather than a very specific situation.
right. Well, and also like, but Rain was talking about new blood coming in because if you look at anyone that just has a flat 2000 is basically someone that hasn't been in
A
an
new
AT.
player, yeah.
Yeah, so it's and there's a lot of those in this, so which is kind
And that's really great to see. But yeah, so
think
I
you
kind of
might
like
have a little higher score than you deserve, Dirk.
I wouldn't disagree with that one, to be honest. But I'm actually not included in my team's MMR, so this is like
Not on
fine.
the list.
So
How
I'm
are you
not
able
in-
to play
I'm-
on your team?
I'm
You're
not.
like,
I'm
up
not
and
in the
running.
top 6 of my team.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Yeah,
not
you-
in the top
you
6
got
of
a
my team.
2159.38. You're in there.
I'm okay. No,
Not top
no.
six,
Like
yeah.
I have, but if you take a look at the rest of my team, I'm not in the top 6 that averages out for our
Hmm.
placement. I spend my time running the team rather than like doing well for the team, which is one of the most obnoxious situations that you can be in. I'm a
Well-
manager for my fucking team.
hold up, what are these names? Odin's Call Me Maybe? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not the
Grief
Alliance.
Team
Um,
6?
yeah,
No
it's-
victories?
It's not the
Rookie
Alliance
Crew
tournament, so you can,
Look
you
at
can make
these.
up whatever name you want. So there's
Oh my
Yabby's
God.
Yabby's Baddies. I think that's White Squall or something.
I can't
My-
believe Jin like allowed a lot of the
Yeah,
so funny,
and-
dude.
and my team name is former Relf Descendants.
What
Because
happens when drunk people make names.
somebody stumbled, and we laughed, and we went, "Yeah, let's fucking do it."
Chief Keef Zionist Movement.
Submissive and bushable.
Oh, that's a great one.
I would like
What
it to.
are these names?
I was looking at that Chief Keef one, and I was like, okay, that's got to be an NC one. Because if anybody's been in NC and knows, there's a guy named Keef in NC who is a hilarious dude.
I should note that I objected. Jesus, there's a drunk stumble. I objected to submissive and bushable because teams are not bushable according to the rules. I did object to that name based on a rule.
What about
objection.
premature evacuation?
I was looking at that one too. Shrimp is bugs.
Shrimps is
OSHA
I'm not
violators.
looking at the spreadsheet, so I need you guys to check if there's any teams that are dedicated to the fact that any day of the week you can go into your local Olive Garden and get unlimited soup, salad, and breadsticks. Just because of the
There are
simple
no
fact
teams.
that
there's one called aggressively mid tier. That's probably that.
you guys are fucking listen.
What the fuck?
Listen.
Seema, what's up? Thanks for the sub.
Unlimited low quality food.
Linda,
is still
listen.
Low quality
Linda.
food.
I'm listening to the space in between you telling us to listen and trying to figure out what you're trying to tell me.
Can you mute Red Light, please?
I just want to play the fucking soundbite. I just
I'm
want to play
gonna
the
kill you.
goddamn soundbite on the
I can't hear
stream.
the soundbite.
That's unfortunate for you.
I heard it was very quiet,
You're
but I heard
weak.
it. I think I also have
You needed the soundboard.
soundboard turned way the fuck down because people were doing a bunch of shit one
I
night.
have mine turned off. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so getting
Wait,
back
so
to you, Rain.
Stream can't even
How's you?
Thank-
So
Like,
tell us
thank
what
you
you
for spending
Can
a
we
bunch
mute
of
him?
time on tournament stuff. But
Heck
Rain,
yeah.
Thanks,
what
Rain.
are you talking about? What are you talking about FanFest? Why are we gonna be really excited to meet you and have beers and stuff at FanFest? And what are you talking about?
All right. So, well, I'm an awesome person in general, so you should always hang out with me at
You are,
FanFest.
but
But so are all of you.
beyond that,
But yeah, so I was thinking really hard because I was like, I kind of want to do a talk about FanFest. It's been a while since I've kind of like, I don't know, done presenting, done stuff like that. And I was trying to think, and I was like, what do I know about Eve? And really, when you think about Eve, like I know about it, but I don't do much in it. Like I'm not some FC veteran. I'm not some like war hero or metagame like genius or anything like that. So I thought more, and I was like, what do I do? And I'm like, I do the community, but a lot of people do the community. What do I do in the community? And it's like really what I capture of Eve is like all of the good and wholesome side of Eve. Like when I tell my Eve stories, they are almost always wholesome about good people, about fun times. And I was like, how do I turn that into a talk? Because I can sit and tell cute stories all day, but how do I actually give people a reason to listen and give people something to do about it, right? So the title I titled this to CCP, and it was How to Weaponize Eve for Good, right? It sounds like really like actionable, and you think weaponizing Eve, but then you see the for good. And it's really about how do you come into the community and you take something that's dark and gritty and has like almost like a negative history within Eve Online, right? Like you tell any gamer you play Eve Online and they immediately have bad thoughts, right? Like, oh, dollars killed, people betrayed, this and that. But how do you really take that and show the good side of it, right? So obviously there's like Plex for Good or Eve streamers doing charities. Like that's a very obvious example, but there's more than that, right? Like you have stories of Eve players kind of coming together to help people. The fact that we have like the memorial within the game, the fact that Eve players themselves have taken in-game mechanics such as Sinos. Yeah, Sinos, but it's to the point now where CCP is afraid to change Sinos because they have to give players a way to do a Sino vigil. That's why Ventures can do Sinos, because you have to give players, especially like I
it's
mean,
the
you can't be
industrial Sino shit and everything else.
Yep,
It's
and
like-
but that's why they do it, because they say players took this mechanic and they used it in such a way that goes far beyond anything we care about in the game, right? Like nobody cares that you're using your Sino Venture to drop Titans, right? But you want to be able to show, hey, my friend passed or this event happened and I want to show my support in a way that goes beyond the
We've
game.
lost too many people, even just
Mhm.
over the last year. Never mind anything else. Like the one that springs to mind for me is Anomina.
And I'm actually
we've
using
Azeroth here.
we've lost
Azeroth here, yeah.
Azeroth here
Yeah.
as well. Like we have
The game's
lost
fucking
Titans.
22 years old. We're gonna lose people just because of the
Yeah,
nature of time.
but we lose people who've had such an impact,
yeah,
and
and
we
so
need to be able to give them their credit and recognize them as they go.
yeah, I'm actually probably going to quote you, Dirk, because I'm actually using your screenshot, and you posted one time in the partner Discord where you said,
Here we go.
yeah, you said it does not matter if a map is shown, like, because you can use the map to show sinos. You said you do not care about the limits of the sino. You want to be able to break the map because of how many sinos to show how much support people get in their real lives, because that's something you can take as a screenshot and show people who don't understand Eve. Like, no
That
one in the
was
world.
related to Anomina, but yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
No, it matters to everybody, right? Like
Yeah.
you
Well,
you
I
light
just
a Sino and it shows up. If you light a bunch of Sinos, it shows up more.
Yeah.
And the map should be able to be overwhelmed. The Sino map at least should be able
Yeah.
to be overwhelmed
But
by
like, if you
people who are there to support the person who passed. For sure.
Yeah, because I know y'all did it for Nam. We did it for Akaroth. I mean, I know like a good number of PanFam fleets were canceled the night that the
Yeah.
Akaroth Vigil was because people went to it.
You
So
don't
do you think CCP
don't
should add a special
do-
module like a
I was gonna say, couldn't
They've
CCP
talked
do
Sino
about
something?
they've talked about
module?
yeah, like just a
You go on-
sino
yeah.
that's for those that where it doesn't actually.
That-
you
that-
have to
that-
get
no one
signed
can
up.
jump
about it,
to
but
it
they
and be on
haven't-
any
yeah.
ship. Yeah.
It's just a sino
And-
for that. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
didn't
but-
want to interrupt Rain's sort of thing, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, that
Well,
was
but,
what
like-
we did it for.
But yeah, but that's one of those things where it's like, if you explain to like your average person a sino and the concept of a sino, like, nobody really freaking cares. They don't understand a sino. But if you can show them a picture, right? You see those pictures where like Titans are shooting doomsdays and there's fireworks, or you show them a map and say, well, here's the map, and it's all covered because players were showing remembrance of a player. Like, that speaks to people, right? Like, that's a very clear example that you can show your average Joe as to why they should care and why it matters. And so I really go through this talk of saying, like, yeah, EVA is this nitty gritty, ruthless game, but behind the scenes, we are all human and we all actually care about each other. And like, here's all these examples, right? Like, we've raised over $200 million for Plex for Good, stuff
Yeah.
like that. But then I also go on to say, okay, well, that's cool. These are fun facts, but what can I do about it, right? Like, if I'm telling you this, like, why should you care? Like, it's a cool story, but why? And so I go into talking about how can you raise funds to help for, like, say, a charity, or help motivate people to, like, I don't know, help a friend in need, or show up to an event, or do things like that. Because Eve players are really actually quite simply motivated. If you say you're going to drop a Titan for a charity or for a memorial or just to raise awareness for something, people will show up. They want to shoot that Titan, and they'll be talking about what you care about, and things of that nature. I'm hoping, as CCP hasn't approved my slides, but I included feet pics because unironically, me and my friends raised like $500 by saying we'll post feet pics on Twitter, and I actually went and found them. So,
Oh my
like,
God.
but
Wait,
it's
where's
what
the charity? Where's the charity?
I don't even remember what
Brain.
charity it was for, but it's on Twitter somewhere. Like, me and a bunch of streamers in our feeds.
Remember the Chappie's birthday bash for the guy
Yes,
that
I
and
used
where's-
him. Yep.
Yeah, and CCP brought the Titan in for people to kill as part of it.
Yep, and then they put a memorial in the game, right? As memory, as like a memorial to him, and like also, but like people
And he ended up
celebrating him.
surviving, which kind of made it even better. It's like everybody thought that it was terminal, and then he ended up surviving.
Yeah, it's like really good news. But it's stuff like that. And how can you as like either a community or like an alliance leader, a corp leader, or some, just an individual person who wants to like help do something in some meaningful way that goes beyond just like, I don't know, a battle report. I try to give like ideas and tips for people to take action with it, because that's really what I want to see. I want to see more. Like, I want to see. Do you remember when like streamers do the St. Jude fundraising, and you have like GDC, Games Done Quick, every year? They raise like hundreds of thousands of dollars for charity, right?
It's
I wanna
fucking
see-
millions now.
Well, millions, yeah. But
Even GDC would be tricky, but
Well,
absolutely
not like that, but
insane and
I-
fucking beautiful to watch.
yeah,
right? Like,
but
No.
I want to see
I-
like a annual event where Eve does something like that, where it's like, annual event of Eve raves hundreds of thousands of dollars for whatever charity or whatever
Right.
it may be, or whatever event, you know?
I joked about Eve should joked about making a Eve Online OnlyFans, but it's all just shit porn.
I mean, there is an alliance called Only Fleets.
No,
Yeah.
I think I like Rain's idea the best. We make an open comms page called Open Comms, but then just upload the regular stream we do every week.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
No, didn't you
It's a little bait
hear?
and switch,
OnlyFans
yeah.
is for workout videos and cooking.
Mhm.
God.
No. What you need to do is you need to make an OnlyFans channel, but it's just a spinning fan.
I think someone's already done that actually.
There's a store that's called
God, Seema.
OnlyFans, and it sells
Jesus
fans.
Christ.
What was that, like
Exactly,
hot
man.
unwed mothers of something that he did? What was that thing?
Yeah, hot unwed open comms.
Well, that's what. Yeah, but I mean, like, what was the original one he did? It was like hot unwed mothers to something like.
Oh, what is it, like Briscoe Ball's home for a hot one?
Yeah, that's
something
yeah.
like
That,
that.
well, that's like the corp he would send the emails from or some shit.
Getting railed, but it's just 20-minute montage of rail Talos ganking.
That's funny.
That's great.
They were coming up with great charity ideas here.
I mean, I
I'd-
could do
I'd
a
pay
porn
to see
video,
that.
but it'd just be like 20 minutes of like cleaning guns or something.
Hmm,
You know,
I mean, there's people that probably pay to see that.
maybe.
there are comments that could be made
There are
about
people
the,
who will pay to
the
see pretty
the shape
much-
of the avatar and things you could do with that on stream.
Yeah, we know
That's an
Skyhawk
OnlyFans
would go that
video.
way.
It just buys clear.
I do have a model one right next to me.
That's not what I meant.
Why do you have to be dirty, Redline?
Yeah.
I'm not being dirty. I'm very clean,
So-
in fact.
Speaking about lewd stuff, what
Dirty-
about those wormholes?
What about them, bro?
I don't know.
Fuck 'em.
We were talking about wormholes.
Wormholers are
There
subhuman.
there
trash.
possibly might be new wormholes. That's what it
They're-
says.
No, not possibly. They're
Word possibly is right.
if they're
there.
researching them, they're not gonna be like they're researching these new wormholes, and then CCP's like, they
Well,
didn't do it.
possibly
No
is
wormholes for
right
you.
there,
You know,
bro.
like
the possibility of opening up a new front.
Whoa. So we're talking about
Whoa,
like we've got the C1 to C6 standard wormholes, and then we've got the shattered wormholes, and now we're gonna get something else.
Drifter
as well?
wormholes.
No, you have drifter wormholes already.
Oh, you do have them
Aren't
already,
those the
okay.
shattered
Yeah.
wormholes?
No.
No.
No,
No.
that's
Those
different.
are
But the
really
drifter
cool.
ones
are the
will
shadow
have-
wormholes even like there's nothing in them,
Shadow
right?
wormholes
It's
are
just
sick.
There's
there's stuff
No,
in them.
there's a
There's a
lot
lot
in
of
the
side
shattered
They're shattered
wormholes.
planets.
really,
so
really
the
strong.
shadow
No.
wormholes, you can't
Really
drop
strong
bosses,
rats.
and there's a lot of wormhole sites.
Can't
in them.
drop anything
Oh.
in there.
The shattered wormholes. There are situations in which you go in there with a fucking confessor, and based on the wormhole situation, you can do up to like C6 event sites.
the confessor.
Like you can go crazy in a destroyer in certain of the shattered wormholes. They are absolutely brutal
Hmm.
and broken.
Are the drifter wormholes the
well,
ones
I
you have to
say-
use
I
those
say
the structure
broken.
to go through?
They're
Yes.
not broken. You
Thank you.
you have to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort actually figuring them out. And if you go in them in the wrong ship, you're gonna die very quickly. But yeah, there's a lot of wormholes out there that can be used very aggressively.
Well, yeah. So they're coming with the new drifter ones, but like, I mean, are these just going to be?
Talk into their microphone.
So they're not. They're
Fight
sorry. That
you.
was me. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm
I was gonna
sick.
fight you.
They're not new. Yeah.
They're not
LB,
new wormholes. They're
it's
drifter
okay.
wormholes.
But then the thing about the question is,
Wait,
which
are
are the
we saying that
wormholes
they're
we're
new?
talking about?
I thought they were new.
Because when we're not
They're
talking
not
about
new.
shattered wormholes are not new. The
We're not
question
talking
is,
about
talking
what
about shattered
wormholes.
were-
wormholes.
Forget shattered. We're
Yeah,
talking
we're
the
not
drifter.
talking
shatter
about
isn't the new.
shattered.
Yeah, but they were talking.
I don't
Okay,
care about them.
So the
But no,
drifter
so the drifter
wormhole.
wormholes are not new. But what I think is going to happen, I think that they're going to make a change to them because right now drifter wormholes can be used to easily project across space, and I think that these NPCs are going to, through some lore method, close some drifter holes and make it a little bit harder to use.
Well, it's looking like they're going to be tying it in with the Deathless Circle.
Well, the Deathless and the Drifters are enemies. So
Right.
if the
We're going to see the other side waking up.
if what Redline is
basically.
saying is they're going to make changes to projection and the Deathless are involved, then yeah, closing the Drifter wormhole sounds like a legitimate course of action.
I concur.
We'll see whether they close. I would imagine they're not going to completely close them, but they're going to make it some player thing involved with it.
Well, there's
And
other groups involved, right? Like there's a whole list of fucking dudes here, and some of these people are more involved, more inclined to keep the Drifter wormholes open for research, quote unquote, purposes, and others are more inclined to destroy the
It's like
Drifters.
the four Empire factions: Angel Cartel, Eden Calm, Evermore, Society Conscious Thought, Trickalabian, and Upwell.
Evermore's involved? Holy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, does it? If I remember right, pretty much all those factions, at least from the current lore, is anti-drifter in some form or fashion.
Everybody is anti-drifter, bro.
Yeah.
Yep.
Drifter
Even
lives
the
matter.
even the triangles, which
They
we all
do
know the
not.
triangle provides.
Kill all drifters on sight. Listen, Caps.
Whoa, that's racist.
It's not racist. It's survival, bro. Don't actually kill drifters
No,
on sight.
you
You'll
know
get
it'd be
killed.
funny, and someone
Why am I
actually made
trying to spell
this fan
drift?
theory, and I would laugh my ass off if CCP actually did it. Was that they'd somehow resurrect the Amar Empress just for shits and giggles, the one that got killed by the
Magenta?
drifters several years ago.
The one that
dead,
was
though.
the one that was resurrected already.
She was not.
Yes, and it got
resurrected.
spam and it got turned to spam by CCP Falcon.
Jamel
Jamil-
Sarum, who
Jamil Sarum.
died and then was resurrected and then
I don't think she
died
was actually
again.
resurrected. She
It's
was
a
just
clone.
like,
It's 100% a clone.
Oh no! She was absolutely resurrected.
I don't
There's
think that's what the lore
Why
says.
would she have like all
There-
these
there-
like
there-
leaders of the
there are-
factions?
We're
Why
talking
wouldn't they?
about
like
Deep
there's
writing. And
there-
Cody G
there's-
deserves to be smited.
there are
guys
questions
are
about
wild.
whether or not shit got retconned, but
The tangents
there are two books
Your fault,
about
Redline.
Eve Lore,
It is.
and in one
I'm
of
very good
them,
at it.
Jamil absolutely dies and is then like reborn,
Wow.
and so then she died again. And if we're gonna talk about Eve Lore, she's now been resurrected twice.
I don't know why, like
If
the
you-
leaders
if
of
you
these big
smart bomb
factions, why
the-
would they not just become capsuleers themselves?
If you smart bomb the Amar coronation event,
You
you go
can't,
from
'cause you-
According
positive
to
1
old
to negative
school,
10
old school
immediately.
Eve lore was that a lot of them were. They didn't have the clones, but they were capsuleers.
No, I thought there was
Ooh.
like they couldn't for religious reasons. Like you
Yeah,
can't.
they
leave
couldn't
it.
did-
clone.
They would have a religious.
They were
Oh.
capsuleers, but if they died, they couldn't be reborn. Is basically the idea.
What's the
Like,
point of being a
They're
capsuleer?
Capsulars.
Yeah.
This is specifically
Well,
for
You don't need a
the-
whole crew
the
and you just
trials.
plug your brain in.
You
Oh.
do
No, you
Right,
still need
like-
some crew. That's the thing. Like even in a ship with a capsuleer pilot, it's a much drastically reduced
Here we
crew,
go,
but there's
here
still
we go.
crew
Yes.
in those ships. So when you lose your
There's
battleship,
so many. It's
instead of
Gators.
being like 8,000 people on a battleship, normally there's still like 1,500 people on there. So when you lose a battleship, there a bunch of people die.
Somebody made a
The
website.
best way to think,
that
yeah, the
had
best way to think of it is
Simply
that
replaces the bridge with a capsule. That's
yes,
all it
exactly.
is.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, you have all the rest of the crew on the ship. It's just the bridge is one person.
Yeah, which is
That's
funny
it.
to think about because like someone's
the-
like, "Oh, I'm
it's
just gonna
more than that.
self-destruct because I need to travel home faster." All the crew on the ship are like, "You're gonna
Yes.
what? Hold on, wait a
Yes.
Well,
second."
no, I think it's important
Get
too,
outta
like
here.
with this, to like it helps with understanding the scale of ships. Interceptors are a bit bigger than like jumbo jets in size for your starting
Yeah.
point. So, like, yeah, lots of people on those things.
That's
the
crazy.
thing about the situation of like, hey, an
Jumbo jet.
interceptor is more than a jumbo jet, right? Like a
It's
jumbo
not
jet
the same. What the
carries what 350, 400 people.
No.
If you,
yeah,
if,
the
if it's
larger ones,
completely full.
No.
Yeah, the largest ones, yes, they do redline.
But is that the size of an interceptor? What size
Yes.
jumbo jet
And
are you
that's
talking
that's
A
about?
747 red line. Have you
jumbo
ever seen a
kind.
747? That's the
Or-
size of a frigate.
Or an A380.
Oh yeah.
but
Okay.
they don't have to have the passenger concern,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
No
So
seats. No seats.
You are there talking about a ship that is being run by 12 people. And this is not to say that that's a terrible situation, but like the actual functions, once you include a capsuleer of a jumbo jet sized ship, is probably 10 or 12 people. Then you get
Okay,
to the
but what about
battleship.
like a battleship? Yeah.
But
Battleships are like bigger than our
Oh my
aircraft
god,
carriers,
there's
I
a
think.
what the fuck?
Yeah, battleship is like roughly 1 kilometer long.
Yeah. So
Something
it's
like that.
What's a kilometer?
so take like one
What
of
the
our
fuck is a
take like one
kilometer?
of our
2/3 of a
big
mile.
aircraft. Take like one of our big aircraft carriers and put like 4 or 5 of them end to end, and that's probably a battleship. And then also make it wider and shit like that. So
yeah,
aircraft carriers like a little over 1,000 feet long. Yeah, you're right about big
No.
aircraft
maybe like 2 or
carriers.
3 then, but yeah, still a lot.
Yeah.
They're big.
Fucking nerds.
Bro,
Sorry,
you
continue.
Well,
calm
well,
down.
as it turns out, like Eva's built around fucking nerds.
You just remind me of a kid in high school that I remember could quote the exact staff of every ship in Star Wars from memory.
well, actually,
Oh, stop.
I actually
So,
was joking
and-
with CCP Swift that one of the April Fool's Eve things they should do is Eve American, where it converts everything to US units.
yeah.
So this,
I just like that when they. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm kind of almost want to double check in game to see if this is correct. But Nimitz class aircraft carrier is 333 meters long, which is 1,092
right.
feet.
That's a kilometer per 3.
Yeah.
What about the Gerald B. Ford
that
class?
is-
That's our new ones.
So caracals are 356 meters long along the longest axis. Omens are 400 meters, and thoraxes are about 300. So cruiser size class
cruisers are about
is an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
And
That's the
yeah,
biggest shit we got, right?
the moment
In the
you
military, in modern
introduce-
militaries, yes, that's the largest ship.
and yet the moment that you introduce a capsuleer as a pilot, you bring down the amount of crew required by an order of magnitude.
Like
basically.
80%, but you still have some crew.
Yeah.
You know,
I
you-
mean, come
you-
on.
you
I just
have
love
a
that.
few people running around.
I just
but,
love
like,
that in they're in the cross section of Eve ship's book how apparently Galente ships have stripper poles on them. I don't know if
Yeah,
anybody else
why
saw
not?
that.
I mean, the
why
Galenti are a
not?
bunch of Slaneshis, so
A bunch of what?
I need to just go entirely Galente now. I just need to know that there's
Galente
stripper
Master
poles.
Race.
There's stripper
is
poles
this?
on
So
all
what
my
you need to
Galente
do-
ships.
Lishy.
So if you have a
Slanesh.
Galenti ship,
Sounds like
you
a
need to
drink.
get like a skin for Slanesh the Chaos God, because that's the patron saint of the Galenti.
I did always
Oh my
enjoy though the Minmatar outposts. And now I forget what that flavor of faction fortizar is called. But they've got like
Prometheus.
they've got the triple X like fun place like thing advertisement on the side of it.
A house of prostitution.
Yes, there you go.
You mean a brothel?
That word.
Or a bordello.
Why can't you say brothel?
Because I didn't think of it because I'm drunk and high as fuck.
Oh my god.
A
Is the show
den
gonna
of
be on for
villainy
longer?
or whatever? A den of.
'Cause I want to go smoke more because I'm not
smoke
high
more.
anymore. I'm just tired. But I don't want to do it if we're not going to be hanging out.
I gotta give Dom
I'm
gave me a
good to
couple
go.
skins to give away, so I gotta
Yeah.
do a skin
Yeah,
thing real
Redline. I
fast.
thought we were gonna play Among Us.
Bro, if you get people to play Among Us, I'll play Among Us all fucking night, dude. Even if Vlad votes me every time, I'll still fucking play. It's still
Let's
fun.
play Among Us.
Drayden doesn't like
voted
to
you
play
out?
Among Us. Most
I'm-
people don't like to play
I'm
Among
not gonna
Us,
be
and that's
on a
fine.
whole lot longer.
I just really like to play Among Us. It's a great game.
You guys have some real goober goblin going on in here.
There's always
Gobble my goober, dude.
Yes, we do.
like me.
You know
All right,
what
we gotta wrap
don't
this
have?
up.
You know what we
gotta
don't
wrap
have?
this
You
up.
can leave if
It's
you want to.
time for your shit.
Yeah, we gotta wrap this up because my wife is having too much fun while I'm on TV on camera, flashing me and doing shit on the other side of the camera.
Turn
So
the camera around.
I'm good for another 3 hours, bro.
Okay, bet.
Don't you have to
Oh,
work tomorrow,
bachelor's weekend.
Skyhawk?
I fucking.
It sounds like
alright.
you're the problem for not
It's
leaving.
like that's
so...
some humble brag going on
Yeah,
right
go
there.
fuck your
Except for
wife.
the
dude.
fact
What
that
the
it's
fuck?
not like anything's gonna happen. She's just having fun because she knows that I can't like leave the. I'm just sitting here, so she's just like, ha ha ha.
There is a red hang up button if you need to go.
Yeah, if you gotta go, just go. Bye.
Why?
Love
What am I
you.
gonna
Thank
do
you.
then?
We're not
It's
gonna
not like she's
hate
gonna
on
do.
you.
What?
She's not gonna
Well,
do any of that
whatever-
once I leave.
You're gonna
Well, then
throw her over your
whatever-
shoulder, take her to the
whatever-
bedroom, and
whatever
have a
you
good
want
time.
us
That's
to-
what you're gonna
whatever
do.
you want
She's
us to
pregnant,
quote
I
unquote
can't do
wrap
that.
this stuff
Oh.
up for. Okay, so you already
Well,
did
you're
it.
gonna
So what are you
princess
complaining
carry her
about?
to the. That's true.
Yeah,
How'd that
I
happen?
can't just sling her over the shoulder. That's usually not good for bellies.
Yeah, not with
that's
that
not-
attitude.
Yeah, try harder.
Yeah, get good.
Get good.
Stronger. Lift
And-
more weights.
And anyway, you're all gonna tune in to the Charity Cup 2 next weekend.
Yes.
For,
Maybe.
Probably
course,
not. If I'm being
the
honest,
good,
probably
good,
not.
the good Eve
Why
fun.
not? It's a good
right?
tournament. You want to?
Are we gonna get what do you call it? A betting thing going, Drayden? What's that called? Jesus.
you
Oh,
want to
the
join my
bracket.
secret?
A bracket. There you go.
Oh, so
Um,
you're not trying to wait? Hold up. So you're not trying to join a secret RMT gambling ring?
No,
I
no,
have
no.
an
We'll just do it
game
with
play
bracket.
question.
Okay, just making sure.
How do
I got
I
a secret
disable?
one.
How do I disable this dumbass new show info screen and go back to the old school?
You don't.
Oh
I don't think you
no,
can
there's a
anymore.
way.
Anywhere.
There is a way. I forget.
So one of the
You
things that
fixed
I'm
the new
realizing,
I like the new one
af-
though. You don't like
well,
the new one?
so there, I'm pissed off about it because you used to be able to right-click show info and then click on the image, and it would open up like a screen where you could just look at the model of the ship, and it included also the long axis so you could see the size of the ship. I can't figure a way to do that in the new show info, and I hate it because of that.
You
whip
can
it
look
Oh.
at the
the long
stats.
axis.
So if you go to the attributes of the ship
I'm
and you
looking
go
at
to
attributes, and
the
it's not in the list. The
it's
long
the
axis is-
signature radius.
no, that's
That's
different.
kind of the shield, right?
That's
What
impacted
do you
by
need
skills.
to know that for?
What'd you ask? I'm sorry.
He wants
I want
the
to know for
long
nerdy.
axis.
It's for nerdy reasons. Like it's
Bro,
not.
what's the question?
of course, bro wants to know the long axis of a ship. Look, let's be honest here.
It's
right
easy.
up his alley. But you just look at it, bro. It's huge.
I
Just show
We're
it.
not
Just show
talking.
info.
I don't know where it ever
Look at the
showed an
picture, it
actual
tells you how
long
long it is.
axis. Like
it used to show, you had to go to show info, click on the image that showed up in the top left of the show info screen, and then it would open up another window showing just like that item, and you could like spin it and look at it from any angle, and that window included the actual like long axis of the object. And I'm just sad that it's gone.
Who
Takes
did we
out-
lose?
takes
we
out-
lost Dirk.
Oh, actually, there. Okay, never
You
mind.
lost Dirk?
I will withhold my rage. They did put it at a really dumb spot,
where is
but I
it?
found it.
Where's the dumb spot?
It's at the bottom,
The,
basically.
the
of the
show
scroll.
info.
Oh, long axis. Oh,
Yeah.
it's right there.
Yeah, I found it.
The
I just-
info. You just
yeah,
didn't
I
scroll
found
far
it.
enough. You just didn't scroll
Oh,
far
you
enough.
have to go to attributes and then it's there.
You just quit. You gave up.
386.
I'm giving up
Gave
on
us-
you.
You gave up, and you're giving up on me.
Yes.
Redline,
Why?
you know what I'll never do?
What?
I'll never give you up or let you down or run around or desert you.
I didn't say I was giving him up.
That's my
I'm
13th
giving
reason right
up
there,
on
Tim.
him.
There's a
Spin
big
wheel.
difference. So I
There
did
is.
link the article that tells you how
Still
there's
mine.
crews in each ship.
Touch me.
I mean, I linked the fucking image where you can see there's strippers. We know there's crews.
We love strippers.
Give you the
Yeah.
numbers.
The question is, what percentage of crew on Galenti ships are strippers?
All of them.
I mean, they literally
probably.
have an exotic dancer's cryo chamber.
Yeah, their
Okay.
their uniform. If you've ever seen that movie Zardoz, that's their uniform on Galente ships.
No one's ever seen that movie, dude.
Dude, like
What movie?
And yeah, I
Zardoz?
confirmed it. I confirmed it.
I've never even
in-game.
heard of it.
Oh, Google it. It's an old Sean Connery movie. Just look at the fucking Speedo spandex thing he's got going on.
I now have a mental image of Sean
You are
Connery in a
you're
Speedo.
encouraging
Thank
me
you.
to go look at Sean Connery in a speedo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
And it's a movie where like it starts off and he goes up to this big floating stone statue and it opens its mouth and it spits guns out for a bunch of people and they all just start, yeah, they just all
Link
go.
in chat.
Yeah, it's,
Link in chat.
What the
Holy
fuck
shit!
is
And he's
this
in a
shit?
fucking wedding dress too.
yeah, it's like an old 70s, 60s movie, 70s movie. I can't remember.
74.
Yeah.
So just to give you guys another perspective, as far as the size, because I'm just being nerdy still about this. A Macarial is 4.5 roughly Nimitz carriers in length.
You should use Ford carriers because that's the current ship. The Nimitz is
Oh,
old school.
it's not the
Ford-
current ship. It's not the current ship when we've only got one active in the fleet.
I thought we had two. There's the
It's the
Ford and the,
future.
and the George
Rebuilding.
Bush.
It's only one's
The
like
Bush is a
actually
Nimitz.
active.
Oh, but I mean, it's the new class. But I mean, they're I think they're roughly the same. They're similar size. It's just the Ford is like more advanced in the stuff that it has.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that
Yeah,
much
the
bigger.
And yeah, so the Ford class, so the number I was going with the Nimitz is 1,092 feet. The Gerald R. Ford class varies in size depending on which one it is, apparently from 1,092 feet to 1,106 feet.
Yeah, so it's
Not
pretty
enough
much the
to
same.
be a difference, really.
Yeah, it's just more. It has more advanced instrumentation. The catapults are, I think, magnetic instead of steam. Shit like that.
So also, if you're talking
And
about
all
the
of
Bush,
it has
though,
been, and all of it has been ripped off already successfully by China.
Love that. Go China.
also someone was mentioning the Bush. The question is, which USS Bush?
It's
W
the George.
or the
It's the George
HW?
W. Bush. It's the younger Bush.
Yeah, there's two Bushes. There's a. I actually googled it because I thought that was the case. There's a HW Bush, which is a Nimitz class, and there's a W Bush, which will be a Ford.
That's the new. Yeah, I thought they finished that one. I thought it was done, but
I think the next one is JFK and then Enterprise after Ford.
they always
Yes,
make it. Why is there
Enterprise-
always a fucking Enterprise? There's like we've had like
It's-
9 different carriers called Enterprise or some shit.
It's just a tradition at this point. I mean, we've literally, like, wasn't one of the first frigates commissioned by the Continental Congress named Enterprise? Like,
I
literally
think
one of
so.
our first
That's
ships.
why it's become the name. And
Yeah.
you had the conventional aircraft carrier from World War II, and then you had the
Mhm.
nuclear carrier, and now you have a new nuclear carrier.
Yeah, I think the one
And
from
of
World War
course,
II
all
was
the
like the
various
first one that was like
starships
steel
that have been named
instead
Enterprise.
of wood.
And yep, actually, so the first USS Enterprise was a Continental Navy sloop captured from the British, but then 2 years later was burned to prevent recapture in 1777, and it was named USS Enterprise when the Continental Navy owned it. And then in 1799, the USS Enterprise, which was actually like built in Baltimore. That one was the first. It fired the first shots of the first Barbary War, which is I believe the U.S.'s first overseas war.
As the United States, correct.
Yes.
Also, Skyhawk, if you want to read some interesting case involving the U.S. and maritime law, look up the Alabama claims. It was a series of it went to arbitration between the Union or the United States after the war between the states and Great Britain over the CSS Alabama and other ships that the British built for the Confederacy. But the infamous one was the CSS Alabama.
Another interesting case that is fun to go read about from history is the case of Heard v. Rock Island Bridge Co. It basically dealt with who was liable and like right of ways when it came to railroad companies building bridges over major waterways that had
Exactly.
riverboat traffic. And in this particular case, a riverboat hit a railroad bridge and then caused all the things burn and break down. And Abraham Lincoln was actually the lawyer representing one of the sides. I believe he represented the riverboat company.
Those dicks.
That
They
probably
should've
would have
paid
been
for it.
quoted in '93 when there was a barge that hit a bridge, and it was the Wreck of the Sunset Limited.
And yeah, actually, sorry, I had it wrong. Lincoln, I just double checked it.
Hey, Faustin.
He
Hey, Phil, What?
He represented the rail companies, and that is actually like the first
You're
thing that
right. I
launched
would've
him
said it
to
wrong.
national recognition. Like that was his first foray into being a widely known name, like among the population.
I started a giveaway for
Now,
a skin.
if you want something real fun, look up the story of the CSS Stonewall.
Exclamation point ticket.
I'd rather talk about the Stonewall.
If you want to
Riots.
enter
Yeah,
for the giveaway, it's free. It's for
Yeah,
a
Luminary Rising sounds pretty cool. I'll be
yeah.
right back.
Luminary Rising is
What
for a
about
Mollis Navy issue, which is a I didn't know they had the Navy issue for that shit.
So the
Was the
CSS
Stonewall named
Stonewall,
after Stonewall Jackson?
that's what I believe it is, but the story is that the ship basically was like a international saga, a post Civil War situation, and then it got sold off to the Japanese and then played a part in the restoration of the Meiji restoration.
Everything you wanted to know in your Eve stream.
We're in the after show. It don't matter no
Yeah.
more.
Well, I mean, did we hit all the Eve stuff? I feel like we missed something.
They're making some
LB?
changes with. There's a dev blog about ESI. They are changing
yeah.
some of the URLs you have to use for doing API calls, and they put routes in there. So me being a network engineer, I go to look into it thinking that they're making like some static route changes or maybe BGP changes. Nope.
So this
It's
is
for
more for
API.
This is more for
Yeah.
people that are designing like all the ESI integration
I have
stuff.
to go through. I have to go through and update the class in my program that deals with the API that has all the URLs listed. Basically, I have to go and like update some bullshit.
Yep, they are deprecating some. They are deprecating some URLs, and they're making some changes that you need to.
It seems
point
to be
your
more
API calls
streamlined.
to.
It's more streamlined and seems to make more sense, though.
I need to.
And I hate that they called it
WordPress
routes
thing.
because, from a networking perspective, those are not routes; those are URLs.
There is one other Eve topic that, or rather, at least two Eve-related words that did not get spoken today. I apologize in advance, but they must be said in every stream or we get canceled. In Vegas.
Oh, someone actually asked about that in chat. So it is the 9th through the 13th of October. And it has been
getting back. I'm so happy they moved it back to the normal time because, man, I hated when they were having it in spring. I was like, I'm never going when it's springtime.
Well, the June one was a one-off because of FanFest.
Yeah.
Like, no major Eve meet should schedule a month on either side of FanFest. I feel like that's just, in general, bad idea.
NOLA is, but NOLA is because of
there's no good time
nobody
for
wants
NOLA
to do it in
this year.
summer.
No. I'm sad to miss out on NOLA this year. I intend to hit NOLA in 2026, though.
Wait, is that this weekend or next week? Wait, when is NOLA?
Not this
NOLA
weekend,
is
but
2 weeks from
2 weeks.
2 weeks
Okay.
from today.
Oh man, we should have. Oh, it's too bad that she
Shoulda
left before
hawed.
she could even say. Yeah, she
Well,
didn't
yeah,
even say anything.
that's probably why she came on. But I guarantee with the way the stream
Yeah.
was going early on,
Yeah,
she was not interested.
I feel like she was trying
I don't blame her.
to pump the thing, but
You guys don't take nearly enough pics. Anytime you go to NOLA, I'm like waiting for some juicy content, and there's nothing.
Yeah,
Pearl
Do you want pictures of drunk people? That is all you're gonna get is pictures.
That's
of,
what I want.
Drunk
That's
people
what
doing
I'm
stupid
paying
shit.
for. That's what I'm paying for.
I took tons of photos.
So real quick, Pearl, no, not till probably June or July, is when I'm heading down there. But there it was confirmed. So like I've been saying a couple times, but it's been like, oh, it's not official. But November and Genevin, I think, are doing they're setting up the Eve.
Tom, are you going to NOLA?
I'm not.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I was gonna, but we had changed our plans.
They're setting up the Eve Seattle meetup this year, so they're normally they'll be a Seattle meetup, but it's usually like just an evening. They want to do like an actual full weekend thing. So if you're interested in Seattle, there is going to be a meetup there August 8th through the 10th. So
I have to see if I can make that.
Do they have a cool name?
Eve Seattle.
Eve Seattle?
I don't know. I'm assuming. But yeah, so it's there's a Pacific Northwest Discord. I can link if people want, but I think they're wanting to maybe make a separate Discord for the Seattle one. So
you know what you should do? You should ping your corp mate November to get on and talk about it.
They might
Because he's
be
on the
coming
fucking
on.
left coast, and it's only 8:30 or 8:50 right now.
I'm on the left coast. It's 8:50 right now.
Yeah, but he's in
I'm
fucking in
tired.
Washington.
Oh, he's
and
yeah,
it
he's
actually
in
is
Seattle.
left.
Yeah, he's the one setting up. He's in Seattle. So
He
they're
lives in like liberal land.
I like Seattle, but I'm also liberal. But the
I said liberal land.
that's part of why I like it there a lot. But
Sane land.
Sane land, yeah. So the
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. We're thinking about doing some stuff. They're gonna probably be doing a day where everyone goes up the Space Needle. There's a restaurant there and stuff like that. And I think it's not as much of like here's a structure of the whole meet. It's like here we're all gonna be hanging out and see. It's kind of more like NOLA, where it's like we're all just hanging out in the town.
Oh yeah, Pearl
and
just brought up, is Rise gonna be there?
I don't
Does anyone know?
'cause
that-
yeah,
Isn't he mostly in
He
Iceland now?
loves CCP.
no, I think
What?
he's mostly
No, Rise?
I
No,
said he
Rise
was
has
mostly
worked
in
from.
Iceland now.
Oh, did he move? Did he move there now?
Yeah, he's
'Cause
still doing
for a
both,
l-
like both places. But I thought it was more time in Iceland than it was.
I thought he was like
Boston.
a quarter in Iceland and 3/4 home. He's like,
Yeah,
he's
'cause-
in-
And I
he's
thought
Oregon.
that changed not too long ago.
Gotta ask
Oh.
him.
Yeah, you gotta ask him. Sure.
Okay, yeah, because I thought I swear I'd heard that someone had said he left, but
But
hopefully
yeah,
I'm wrong because Rise is cool. I just remember
Oh, yeah,
one
that's
Vegas.
right. He's not with. He went to the Frontier and then left. That's right. He's no longer with the company.
Oh, shit.
He was moved to Frontier. They asked him to help with. Right, isn't that the name of it? Frontier. Yeah, Frontier. And then he wasn't happy and left. Apparently.
didn't like the crypto.
I
Well,
remember one
there's
Vegas,
scuttlebutt
though.
that he didn't want to go to Frontier and was forced to. That's the.
Oh,
but
that's
you
weird
know,
that they.
Well,
I don't know why they
there's
would do
been a
that.
couple people that have worked on Frontier that left that I would really love to talk to them about it, but they probably can't. Like Uriel is one of them. He was a CCPer like as recently. I don't know when he left the company, but he was still living in
within
the
the
U.S.
last year.
but working on
Didn't he go to
Frontier.
Vegas?
He was
No,
at
no,
he
you-
was at
Skyhawk.
NOLA.
He was at
That's-
NOLA
yeah,
last
yeah.
year, and he was working for CCP then. So it's been in the last year. Yeah.
So Uriel
Well, he
worked
just
on
did you not have a message
Vanguard,
on?
not
There was
Frontier.
a Twitter message.
I
that
thought he
said
was
it.
on Frontier.
I was
No,
gonna say,
was
how
that
much?
Nolan?
How much do we
he
even?
explicitly dropped a message on that. So he was brought on basically on a contract to work
Ah.
and write for Vanguard, and his contract finished. So
Okay,
he was
that makes
always
sense.
brought on in a temporary role.
Oh, okay.
That makes
Oh,
sense.
what
Okay.
what
He
is
was a
going?
nice guy.
Speaking of that, what is going on with Frontier now? Or I'm not
It's,
Frontier. I mean Vanguard.
Uh,
Vanguard. Sorry, Vanguard.
So if you want to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on with Vanguard, I number one recommend that you be on the Vanguard Discord. CCP has not been posting stuff in the EVE Online channels consistently about it, but there is very active communication on the Vanguard Discord. So if you want to stay in the loop, get on that Discord. I'll see if I can grab a link for it.
I'm good right now. Got it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But
Um,
the other thing though, yeah, I did
did
want to touch
same
on
thing.
Frontier. Like, what all do we even know about Frontier?
it exists and is
Yeah.
coming.
It's gonna
Well,
be
the NDA
blockchain.
has been lifted to a certain extent, so there is a little bit more talking about it. The only quirk right at the moment is we can't tell you any of their roadmap material.
That's the one where
So
it
we
is going
can't
to be
talk-
blockchain based and like play to earn type of model, right?
Yep, it's everything that
Uh,
Hilmar's been gobbling over.
the only thing right at the moment is it is still a testing subject. They just did their most recent reset. So we are at the
Reset.
second
Everyone's
version of
NFTs are gone?
Frontier.
Look, what does that mean?
Well, okay, so Project Awakening bled into Frontier. There were 5 playtests. And now, right now, we went through from December all the way till right about March the 6th was V1. Now we're in V2. And there is going to be some more information coming out. But right at the moment, they've just done the NDA. They've lifted it to a certain point, but we can't really tell anything about like what the roadmaps are because they will change.
Oh, I have a link. If
Can you at least? But
Well,
hey, you're
so
in,
here's
you're,
here-
wait. But the NDA doesn't cover. Are you excited?
Well, there's a specific question that I want to ask with that then actually. So I assume then, with the way you're talking, that were you one of the people that was doing these play tests?
Yes.
Okay. How does the most recent play test that you participated in compare to the last publicly open play test?
Um, there's still a lot of ironing out they're working on because the original open play tests and other materials that they had is almost completely different to what we have now. So P3 through P5, they were testing some ideas and concepts that then were finalized in V1. One of the major difference is that whereas EVE Online jump systems are specialized components, it is integral in the game. And if you were to remember how POS systems work,
Congratulations, Alec.
basically this is the same concepts that are kind of being used in a certain way.
Please say that they are using field blocks and not the old school where you had to do 500 different resources for this.
He's probably not allowed to
The
talk about
the
that.
mechanics the mechanics right now is almost completely alien to what EVE Online is. But they do have a fuel system, but it is not currently not as much as what we are used to in EVE Online.
So one of the things I remember from the last public play test is that the chips and gathering them for like weapon modifications just felt overly burdensome and was just annoying. And I think Drayden and LB expressed similar frustrations during that play test back at the end of December. Is that any
Yeah, there
better?
was there.
All right,
It
Zelda, that's
well
controversy.
V1.
Yep.
Yeah, V1 was an absolute, to me, kind of very grind. If you're a solo player, you're gonna get you can get easily kneecapped. We did have a problem where some people would end up in places where they could not get to a station. So they'd get like stuck like in the middle of nowhere, like in the middle of New Mexico without anything, and that's it. But the mechanics are there. I think they're really working on an idea, and it really is kind of a cool concept. But it's very different from what EVE Online players like. We have the understanding of the bare mechanics. So if you've played in EVE Online, certain things will be familiar to you, but it's a lot more complicated, and the loss mechanics in that game are extremely penalizing. Like your
Yeah.
choices do matter.
Okay.
Isn't
But
it
yeah,
also set up to where it's very not multi-boxable?
that's what it's currently been talked about among the players. But I don't know how they will do things in the future. Because right now, it's basically you have your name locked to whatever account that you got into. But they have kind of a similar system to like EVE Online's log screen, which I don't know if they will do that.
Is it gonna exist in the same universe? Like, is it because like one of the things when Dust came out, I remember is that it was so tied to the same universe that you actually can't even have the same character name as you do in the EVE universe because it's literally like the same universe. Like I actually had to make a different name for a character because Sullen because of that.
Well,
Yeah,
the difference here is
it impacts the EVE Online like main server.
no. But the thing is that they've actually alluded to, if you actually look at some of like if you actually pull up right now Frontier and look at what CCP has alluded to in many of its commentary, it's supposed to be in a post-apocalyptic future related to the EVE universe.
So
There is
all
some
of
suspicion.
what I was talking about is in all of the public playtests they've done so far, and maybe they won't carry this through, I guess, to the final game. But there was corruption and suppression that you would generate that impacted the LB. Help me with the right words here, because I know you're more in tune with this stuff. But suppression and corruption, what impact does that have inside the Eve universe?
Well, they don't have
Oh.
that kind of
You're looking at
system.
me like a deer in headlights, Helby. I'm sorry.
No, those are the right words.
But
We're talking
don't
about
they-
powered insurgencies, right? What are we talking about?
So talking about Vanguard, when you would do those contracts, and if you completed them, they generated either suppression or whatever the
Or
other
corruption.
word is. Yeah, corruption. What was the real world impact of that on Tranquility?
It was driving suppression and corruption in powered insurgencies. So if there was an insurgency that was active, certain systems would go up in suppression or corruption way more rapidly than if the players in Eve were just doing the sites in Eve. So it was progressing the insurgencies much faster than normal.
So is anything like that carried forward in the latest playtest that you did?
You mean Frontier? There's nothing right now that is directly connected to Eve in any sort of way that I can tell at this moment.
Okay.
But that's the other question mark of the whole situation, is that supposedly Frontier is to basically be some future disaster from the Eve universe.
Hi, Mrs. LB.
Hey, Mrs. LB.
So can I ask this? What is the niche of gaming that this is supposed to provide different from Eve Online then? Like what's the goal? What's their niche difference in gameplay they're trying to provide for?
The weird thing about this,
third-party app players. That's really
well,
what
there's
it's
actually here's the other thing, is just like active development, which is an interesting concept. So there's actually a whole group of people who are working on concepts that then get put into the game. But then there's also this interesting problem for me from identification perspective, is that to me it feels like Frontier is a version of a. Have you ever heard of what they call it, FPS RTS hybrid?
Yeah.
Like the old
Planet
Tiberium.
Side.
Well, there's Planet Side, then you have Nuclear Dawn, then you have the old Tiberian. What was that? Renegade.
Renegade was a fun game, but Renegade didn't have much RTS. It was more.
It had concepts inside of it.
Yes,
from the
because it was kind of like Battlefield, except pre-Battlefield, and the credit system was pretty good.
Well, here's the thing about Frontier. Frontier feels like an Eve Online version of that, because it's much more FPS and control in some ways. Like there's actually a function in the game that actually allows you to much more directly control the ship than you would in Eve Online. So like you remember how the Eve Online had the third party system, which is very clunky, still has problems. Well, this one is more
what was that?
actualized. So like Eve Online, we have like a first person control of ship system, but it's very, very clunky. Like the input, if you ever try to do it manually, it's like it stutters.
Yeah.
Well, in Frontier, it's very smooth. Very smooth.
Probably more modern underlying code base.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll end up maybe once Frontier's done, they'll port standard Eve over to the Frontier engine and make things a lot easier on big fleets. Because I'd imagine they're testing it for that.
Yeah. That's actually been a supposition for a lot of people, but the problem is it's also completely different in logistics.
In what way specifically?
Okay, so
yeah, are we talking actual logistics? We talking logistics in Eve Online? Because this.
Yeah, there's so many ways to take that gives us no detail.
That's actually it's literal. It's literal.
It's like moving stuff around.
But literally
fuel.
detail how it's different.
Okay, so like where we have a capacitor, we have the capacitor in Eve, and it's something that just naturally regens. In Frontier, you have to have fuel. make that capacitor work.
Gotta feed it NFTs.
The capacitor
No,
is empty.
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, because you can just not only capacitor's empty, if your fuel bay and your fuel in your ship is no longer there, you're done.
So
can
a lot
actually
of it's
reload on
probably
the
like
fly.
Dual Universe that was kind of that survival type game and that just flamed out.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is they have a lot there that has been done. They've actually swapped a couple ships recently. Like there's been some ships like they had for a while, they had a ship that was called the Gunship. And we even had a ship that was called the Ant. Like they had for one play test, they shifted into like a really kind of funny thought process where they had just straight pure transport ships. No guns, no nothing. But then that was removed. And then the V1 test came along. They've kind of swapped some bodies out, with the ships and, re-swapped them and renamed them as they went along, gave them different jump ranges. One of the earlier play tests, we actually had a very special rig system that, like in comparison to Eve, we have like cargo hold expanders. But in Eve, we had a fuel bay system. Well, in Frontier, we have a fuel bay system that only affects your fuel bay for your engine. You had then a cargo bay that only handles the cargo. Then you had one that was a hybrid system, so it actually was both. And depending
so
on
the
how you set up,
shipbuilding,
Mhm.
is it like where you basically take 3D models and build your own custom ship, or is it like Eve, where it's I want to build an Abaddon, I get a blueprint, all the materials, and put it in, and poof, a ship comes out.
It actually doesn't have a blueprint system like Eve. It has a recipe system. It's very bare bones at the moment. And all the resource materials in the system are completely different to what Eve is. But there is a progression system of how like you have to convert minerals and resources into different finished products and then in order to build the ship. We had one build set where, and also the other thing is too, resources that you collect also can be used for basically POS buildings that you build straight from your ship out in space.
Also, I'm doing one more giveaway before the end of the stream. So, exclamation point ticket.
Excellent.
So, I mean, but they also have, it has
So,
changed more because the early play test, it was all on stations, but then when it got to like P4, P5, it became more about base building.
I have a burning question for LB and Drayton and Down and Solon, because I don't want you to feel excluded. And
No, you can exclude Solon. It's okay.
Ooh, yes. Oh, woke up. All right. Okay.
It's been since New Year's Eve that we did a other game stream where we all just played some silly game and we did peekaboo. When are we gonna do that again? I need that shit in my life.
Hell let loose.
Right,
Hell let loose. I just want to have. I need a full tank crew. I need a
Yes,
fucking full
please.
tank crew.
Like
We all in
So-
one
Do
tank
that.
together.
You can
I
fit
wanna,
3.
I want to play peekaboo, Among Us. I don't care. I just want game night with my
Never
friends.
even heard of
Yo.
peekaboo.
Golf with your
We
friends is
played it
good.
on New Year's Eve. God
Oh,
damn it.
I have
Oh,
only gotten to
that's
play
right.
Hell Let Loose like a handful of times with a full tank crew that everyone has mics, and it's so infuriating and so satisfying when you finally get it.
Or even Phasmophobia, because I know that gets Drayden's.
I do like that
interest
game.
And
going.
Delana.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
according
how
to
we get
Efront-
Delana
right.
back on here. Talk about Phasmo.
After you play the other game, but eFrontier, back to that. According to their website, it almost looks like this is after Eve. Eve is collapsed, everyone's dead, and we reawaken in basically a ruined universe or galaxy.
Eastgate 2.0.
I mean,
Oh,
that's
Yeah,
kind of where it
is there
reads.
any
right?
ships?
Looking at
Is there
the-
any ships that correlate at all between the
Not
two?
that I could see on the website.
Yeah, I couldn't
well,
find anything.
Well, there actually is some ships, but the thing is like it's like you can tell that they have been jumbled up, different concepts. There's some weapons that you might be familiar with, but these
Blaster
are still works in
Caracals.
progress.
Yeah, I mean, so far I'm liking the ship designs. It looks like they're not going with the route of whoever designed the original Galente ships with their stupid.
Yeah.
You mean penises?
No, I
Oh,
don't even
hey,
care about
Just
that. But the
bulbous green
asymmetric,
things.
the crazy
well, my
asymmetry
favorite,
that they put on everything.
my favorite ship is actually a ship that's considered a hauler. But the reason I love it because it looks like a biplane. And so when it goes into when the ship actually starts to like orbit somebody, there's actually something cool about this ship too. This game also has turbulence. One time I
You
actually
know of
was
all the wind,
behind.
How do
wind
you have
turbulence in
how do you have
space?
turbulence
Yeah.
in space?
There's lots of
Well,
sound
because
in
the
space.
wake,
Jet blast.
well, the wake coming off your engine exhaust. But
Okay,
So
but that
inertia, you mean?
that dissipates rapidly. So unless you're like
yeah, that
kissing someone's asshole, that's
yeah.
pretty
Well,
rapidly dissipated.
so what happened was one of the play tests, I
Space
was
magic.
trailing behind CCP Jotun, and I was flying a very particular frigate, and I would just barely adjust, and the thing would start swinging back and forth like you see somebody on a wave board being pulled behind a boat. That's how crazy the system is. So it's actually a lot more interactive, and also kind of like there's different ways how the ships will interact with the environment. It's still kind of interesting work in progress, and they have got some nightmare level
So is it
monsters
more like
in there
space
for
than
you
it
to
is
play with.
like water then? Currently, Eve is
It's
basically submarines, right?
Although,
well,
hey,
Eve.
they did explain that though in the lore of Eve, why that is though.
It was
didn't-
Well, yeah, but I'm
it
saying,
was like
is the
those
new game gonna be
pegs
more like
that
space to be?
that Max
Well, because
Singularity talked about.
well, it actually addresses the fact that also your jet engines don't have to always point it in the right direction behind you. That's how you can go to warp and stuff when you're not even pointing the right direction. And they actually did explain that, which was really funny because it's like, okay, technically that is correct because they're not engine, they're not thrust. You actually are not bringing
Oh, you
thrust from
create
any of your
the bubble
engines.
thing, yeah.
They're heat exhaust vents is all they are in Eve.
Mhm.
That they actually did explain that your jet engines are just heat exhaust. That technically you got to think of it like this. Your ship is not as much moving as you are moving space around you basically. Like that's the concept of movement in Eve. That's why when your engines stop, you don't just continue traveling with your inertia because technically you're not using inertia. You're moving your ship through space.
Oh, so it's
Like
all space magic. Okay, I'm fine with
kind
that.
of. Well, it's kind of like you got to think of it almost like in wormhole concepts. It's fucky, but it technically does make some sense. I don't know. There's like a whole thing. Space Pope did a whole thing actually explaining it how it works. I think actually.
Yep, that's what I was saying earlier. It was something like involving pegs, and it was further humorous.
Yeah, the best way I could describe it is you're creating a miniature wormhole yourself by your ship moving. Like think of you're not moving through space. You're moving space around you. Almost is the way you can think of it.
Kind of like the spoon.
But I would say as a test bench, the Frontier project has proven that the people at CCP can innovate. They can innovate massively. But but it is an interesting question. I'll just say this is speculation. Eve 2.0 or just it's its own project continuing forward is a good question because a lot of the materials that they've just played with. I mean, they
Well, isn't one of the aspects
can.
of Frontier going to be that they won't need the server space also? Right?
Yeah,
It
that's
won't
too.
take
Like
up Eve's.
it's basically like
Yeah.
cloud. It's basically a
Yeah.
cloud-based system, minimalistic interaction server. So they don't have to have the hard server system that Eve has still.
I wouldn't be surprised if this also comes back to a little bit what we were talking about. How when it comes to boards, they don't care about how cool your game is. They care about how much money they make, and it is much more easier to convince them of we have this new shit. It's gonna make you a lot of money. You should buy into it. Whereas like EVE Online in its current state is actually comparatively to most other game developers a very hard sell for investors. It is a super fucking hard sell to investors because of the fact it has been around so long and it's a game that you can't just it's not like Destiny where I can just introduce new shit every other fucking month.
Mhm.
So it's actually kind of a hard sell. So I'm curious if Frontier is like their way of saying, all right, we can't get investors. We have to do something entirely new if we're going to get people to invest in the company at this point.
Every new venture that CCP has engaged in since being bought by Pearl Abyss has been profitable. Granted, like some of their most profitable things have been breaking into areas of the market that the overall EVE Online player base has no fucking interest in, and that's the mobile game EVE Frontiers, and then also relaunching things in China as well. But like
Yeah, because there was actually
CCP is doing fucking great in terms of how Pearl Abyss looks at them, and I think PA has actually been pretty hands off with CCP
Mhm,
for the most part.
mhm. That wasn't
Yeah.
that also why there was suddenly a big concern when they did the recent numbers? Like they did the recent numbers out, and people realized that there was not a separation inside CCP's organization system.
I mean, at the
Like
same time,
people
they
don't.
almost can't though. If you want to get money to EVE on, see, and that's kind of one of the problems is that if you want to get money to EVE Online, you almost have to do stuff like this. And if you have it entirely separated, then obviously EVE is not going to be getting any of the money they're gathering from the investors for that.
Eve doesn't
Which
need
Yeah.
more money than what it's getting bluntly. Like Eve is already like
Mhm,
the EVE Online team is not lacking in funding. If you look
mhm,
back over the last couple of years in terms of like who's been hired, CCP has gone on a fucking hiring spree that's lasted 3+
mhm,
years at this point.
yeah, but how much of
They're
mhm.
but you just admitted
and
that they have a lot of developers that they're moving over to Frontier too.
Yeah.
yeah, but they've also got even like they've added more people like that have been outside hires to these other groups and teams and
Mhm,
projects than they've pulled from like EVE Online. For the most part, like EVE Online and also new people have been hired to work on EVE Online. More people
mhm.
are working on EVE Online now than were several years ago.
Yeah. Like Okami right now
But
is actually one of the newer
CCP,
people.
but CCP always seems to go through that boom or bust where they'll hire
Mhm,
people for EVE Online, and then they'll get to a point where they have to cut 20-30% of the EVE dev force. And then you feel bad for all the CCPers that got hired on and now are getting fired.
I think
I mean,
I think the old dynamic when before CCP was owned by PA, they were owned
mhm,
by an outside investor group that literally knew nothing about video game design and development, like nothing at all. I
I mean
think CCP,
that's a lot of investor groups now that own gaming companies
mhm,
though.
yeah.
of course, but that compared to where they're at now, where they're actually owned by a gaming development company that understands things at a more fundamental level than that previous investor group, that's night and day difference.
Mhm. Do you think, I'm going to just put this in your court, Everhart. Do you think that due to them switching more to this Quasar system, and even from 2020 when I came in, I noticed that they were swapping more and more to cloud-based support structure. Do you think they're going to try building a new skeleton and just moving the skin over it, as it were?
I mean, are you talking about TQ itself?
That's what I'm kind of wondering about a little bit, yes.
No, I don't think so. And I think CCP's own actions in terms of like their last hardware blog from I think a year or so ago points to
Mm,
points to that. They've invested in very modern and very expensive
yeah,
hardware
especially,
tech
yeah,
to
yeah.
run TQ.
Mhm,
They're serious about it.
okay.
But CCP did do a tech demo a couple years ago of
Mhm,
essentially a similar instance to Eve that ran everything cloud based that
yeah.
would have been a potential of
Girl,
moving
yeah.
TQ onto the cloud for
And you
better
know what?
performance.
And the TLDR of CCP's summation of that was it was cool, it was interesting, and it can't do what we need it to do yet.
Yep.
Yeah. So maybe the upgrade was the stopgap until they can get to a point to do that.
Yeah,
And
I've
that's
just
going back
my
to the point we were making earlier that Frontier could be a lot of the technical underpinnings for migrating TQ over to EVE Online 2.0 with as we know EVE, just with a new back end to process the game.
Yeah,
Based on their
my
descriptions, that
biggest
didn't
thing with
sound
them
like
is
much of it.
my biggest thing with them is I really hope with Frontier that they're not investing, which I assume Pearl Abyss probably wouldn't allow this. But like one of the biggest complaints I've always had about the development for CCP is the fact that they reinvent the wheel way too many times. Like they try to do things that other games have already done and done monumentally better. But rather than try and build off of that, they're like, "Nah, we're gonna build it from scratch." Like Dust is prime example. You could have worked in conjunction with other game developing companies who have already made first-person shooters 2,000 times and made them successfully, but they didn't want to do that. They decided we're gonna make this from scratch. We're gonna do this entirely on our own. And lo and behold, the first like several years of Dust were the worst growing pains I've ever seen of a first-person shooter. Like, and we're talking about like not even just game developer in terms of like we spent a lot of time developing this, just little things like vehicle controls for a controller. You know, they just went with like the most simplistic route, even though other game developers have designed games with vehicles and have come up with control schemes that are way better when you have a controller. And they just were like, oh shit, well, and the thing about Dust that sucks so much is because I actually got into EVE from Dust, which is really weird to say, is that like the worst thing about it is Dust, by the time Dust was at the end, like the last 2 years of Dust was incredible. It was awesome. And like anyone who played it in those last 2 years is like, dude, it was so fucking cool for like the last 2 years. But the problem is it took them so long to get there by the fact that they were like, we just want to do this entirely on our own without actually like consulting other companies who have done this so many times. And so that's like, and I saw the same thing then again with like what was Vanguard before it was Vanguard? Project
Legion.
Project Legion. Yeah, same shit where I'm just like, guys, I understand you want to have your own thing, but you have to like look at who your market is and look who you're competing against, and you just ignore the fact that other guys have done this. Like Dust, if they would have like reached out to Bungie and said, Bungie, we're developing this game, could you help us with some of this? Bungie could have probably done so much shit for them. Who cares if they even get a portion of it? And that's like my biggest complaint is that they always want to do their own thing, even to the like one of the reasons even with like people talk about why wasn't Dust on Xbox? It was only on PlayStation. You know why? Because Microsoft required you to abide by their rules, and they're like, well, we don't want to abide by anybody's rules, so they refused to make it on Xbox. They only made it for PlayStation because they just didn't want to abide by the Xbox Live rules.
That's the only reason, or did Sony?
Sony also
put
gave
anything?
them a fat chunk
Yeah,
of
did
change
Sony
to go
put any
exclusive.
requirements on them or restrictions? You think?
No, Sony didn't.
They didn't
give
at
them
all.
any
Okay.
No, they didn't give them any restrictions. That Sony paid them money, but that was not the main reason. The biggest thing was in order to put anything on Xbox Live, you have to abide by Microsoft's rules, and they just were like, well, we don't want to do that. And they still do that. And I can actually talk about this because my NDA is over. But when I was on CSM, it was the end of Walking in Stations. So Walking in Stations was when they were developing that, they used a middleware engine that was not used by anybody else. They just were like,
How?
yeah, they used a middleware engine for Walking in Stations that was basically like, you know, some up and coming developer or something. I don't really know, but the key takeaway was that I loved the concept of Walking in Stations. I wanted them to grow on that, but I remember sitting there and they told us that, so the problem is this middleware developer is gone. It's gone now. So if we were going to continue Walking in Stations, it would take us 9 months to basically get to where Walking in Station was, just to redo everything in a totally different engine. And I'm like, why did you guys pick this shitty fucking middleware that no one uses? Like, and so like, yeah, I was one of the.
Does that come down to price though? Was that why?
No, it comes down to the fact that they want to do everything themselves. They don't want to be indebted. They don't want to use anyone else's shit. Like, they just don't want to. They don't want. Like, one of the problems that Dust had, for example, was the fact that it was built off the Unreal Engine, And the reason they use the Unreal Engine, though, for that specific thing was because the Unreal Engine they could buy, and then it's like you can do whatever you want. But the Unreal Engine is a terrible engine. Like, if you ever notice, if you're playing Gears of War or any game like that, the levels are all flat. They're all flat planes that you're walking on. And one of the biggest problems was when they developed Dust, it has map of the earth bumps, like hills and stuff all over the place, which Unreal is not designed for whatsoever. And they should have never used the Unreal Engine for that. But they used the Unreal Engine because the Unreal Engine basically gave them freedom to do whatever the hell they wanted in that design realm. And I'm like, guys, you need to so sorry, I'm actually a systems engineer in real
So
life.
what engine should they have used then? Should they have used
What would
Crytek or?
There's just a lot of different things they could have looked into. I mean, if I was them, I would have looked into something. Crytek might have worked actually. I mean, there's just a lot of different things. It's like they go with the engine that has the least amount that they're obligated to, but not necessarily the best to actually design what they're building. So they end up reinventing the wheel every single time they make a new game. And that's the thing. I'm like, God damn it, guys! Like, stop doing this.
But it doesn't look like they're doing that with Vanguard, right?
Hopefully
Well,
not.
and
They
so
learned
I
their lesson
don't-
with that, right?
I don't know what middleware. I don't know enough about Vanguard, but I just
Vanguard's
hope-
Unreal.
So when CCP seems a lot more focused these days on like the core engine running things. Like they've talked about it more recently than they've talked about it in a long while. So I think they're trying to get themselves to a point where they have a solid engine that they can use as a platform to develop a variety of games off of, rather than just like this one-shot deal for each thing, which makes sense from like like an individual like company perspective.
Yeah.
And Unreal
So-
has some good things too.
but
Because
It's in Unreal
the
since
sheer number of people using it means that you're going to have a lot of game devs and programmers that have experience working on Unreal doing levels.
and that is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll notice that like at the time, and obviously nowadays Unreal is a totally
I
different.
would just say
monster.
between Dust and now,
Yeah,
Unreal
now
has
is a
gone
total.
through
I'm
several
just saying though,
changes,
at the time though, they were using the Unreal Engine, and the Unreal Engine was not designed well if you wanted any type of walking space that was not flat planes. And they knew that going
What
into
about-
that. They were actually told that's a problem if you're going to try and use this engine but they wanted the Unreal because Unreal at the time was an engine that like you can just buy, and then it's like we have this engine. We're not like indebted to anything else then, which is why they went with that.
Which
And I
is
thought
why
the other
I
reason
always
was the
get
Unreal
angry every time I
communicated
see
with-
Unity games, because they probably bought it because Unity is free. It's like, why are you using Unity? The performance is crap.
Yeah,
Well,
and I
there's
mean,
another thing too is that Carbon as well. Like CCP did something that really kind of concerned me as soon as they started doing Frontier. Was the Carbon engine? They's like, oh, it's now open source. I'm
I
like,
remember
eh?
that blog, yeah.
I mean, that's like to me, it was like security a little bit. I mean, I know they say they got the crypto system, but I'm like, okay.
but yeah.
I think
so
actually,
I mean,
yeah.
I hope that they're
There's
getting
actually-
better
there was a
about
really
that
funny-
because yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like one of those things where in a lot of their development they put their priority on independence from anyone else over almost anything else at all whatsoever when it comes to game design and development. Even at the expense of the fact that it's like, you know, at the point where it's like, yeah, but it took you guys 4 years of just trial and error pains. Like the point, like I hate coming back to Dust, but like Dust is a great example where it's like, you guys basically tried to enter into the first-person shooter market on console, which is one of the most saturated markets that you can possibly fucking get into. And rather than trying to build off what anyone else had done in the market, you just were like, nah, fuck that. We're going to try and develop everything from scratch, which that is rough. That is really fucking rough if you're trying to make it in that market.
Well, especially with the grand plans they had with Dust, right? I mean, it was supposed to be groundbreaking. They added
was.
more.
It
They added more to
genuinely was.
to their pile of stuff they had to do needlessly.
Yeah,
basically.
Dust genuinely was groundbreaking. It was really awesome, and by the end they got it all dialed in. But the problem was it took them so long that they were at a point where like I don't know this part, but I guarantee I know their investors for that were like, I want my money. I want a fucking payout. I'm done with this shit because it's been like so long of fucking around when it's like you guys are fucking like one of the most basic things on that engine was the fact that like with the Unreal Engine it couldn't generate like when you're walking around points the way the polygons would like the points of the ground you're walking on caused huge issues and would lock up the game because anytime you had those polygons that you're walking on, that's why all of them are flat for that reason. And it's like they spent I think over a year trying to fix that problem. Like that's not even a serious problem you should be having, but it's took them over a year to fix that problem.
I'm pretty sure with Vanguard, their lead, whoever's in charge of it, didn't he do he had a I don't know, Twitch talk or whatever, and he actually admitted that was the problem they're trying to avoid of what Dust went through. They don't want to make those same mistakes. I remember him talking about that, how Vanguard's not going to try to where they don't have to reinvent the wheel, they're not gonna, basically is what he said. And paraphrasing, obviously.
So when I was
Have
at
you noticed as well that Vanguard's been in beta a lot longer than Dust was because they're trying to iron out the bugs before they launch it.
Yeah,
one
that
of
was
the,
that did
one,
hurt
one
Dust.
of the highlights of my 2023 FanFest trip was actually the charity dinner Thursday night of that week at CCP headquarters. I ended up getting to have about an hour or so conversation with CCP Rattati. And what I hadn't realized before that day was that Rattati actually came in as like the overall director for Dust. A little bit. I can't remember exactly how far into its development and like life cycle it was, but it was after major decisions had been made about what platform it was going to be on, and like all the decisions that hamstrung it were there, and he made sure that CCP was well aware of all of those issues, like everything that ended up plaguing Dust, especially CCP is well aware of, and with Vanguard, they're trying very hard to not replicate those issues.
I mean, I hope they are, but they're doing a lot of the same. They are having some of the same problems where they're making like a looter shooter thing that they're making kind of
think
like
about it. Think about it. Within the same time frame, they started doing the streaming of the alpha beta stuff of Vanguard. What happened? What were the 2 FPSs that literally bombshelled them?
I don't remember.
From Call of Duty, I'm sure,
Remember?
Are we Call of Duty?
No. Remember, you had the Helldivers 2.
Oh
Helldivers
yeah.
2.
I bought
Then
that,
later came
never
Space
played
Marine
it.
2.
I played it
Never
a
What was the
very
second one,
little
Millet?
amount.
What was the second one?
We should. Never mind.
Millet, what was the
Yeah,
second one?
And Space Marine 2. Like these two, like it was kind of weird because like the timing was like it was interesting. People were actually getting interested, and then just Helldivers just dropped out of the sky.
A lot of people bought it though, so I don't know if they really lost any money on it. Like it was a very quick fad, like, but tons of people bought that game.
Helldivers? Or
Yeah. It's crazy how
And
much
same with Space
Helldivers.
Marine 2. Space Marine 2 got super, like tons of people have bought that game. So I don't, maybe those games have kind of like came and went way faster than most of their games, but like I imagine the company made a lot of money on both of those just for how many.
And I suppose if they're not trying to reinvent the wheel, that doesn't hurt them, right? Flash in the pan's not a big deal if we just put out.
It's not great if you make a game that people aren't really interested in for that long, but I mean,
well, it is if you don't. It's not a subscription based game. You buy it.
You make a solid single player game. It's one and done.
It lasts 6 months. Who cares, right? You made your money because everybody bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's
what matters with those kind of games is, did the people that play it enjoy it enough that they'll buy the next game you make, essentially.
Right, and that's the thing. I
Dragon
feel
Off, we did not mention that.
I feel like Space Marine 2, since that like I actually had a campaign, I feel like more people enjoyed that, but it's like it didn't. I don't know if it has much replayability. Helldivers was just kind of a grind. Like I played a little bit of it. I was like, that's really cool. I was like, yeah, this game's awesome. And then after about like a weekend or two, I was just like, eh.
I literally bought it and have never.
like,
I
got
bought
bored of it very quickly.
I bought Helldivers 2 to play with the OpenComs crew. Wasn't available the like 2 times we played it, and then we've never tried playing it again, and I've never played it.
Yeah,
I've literally never played the game.
It's like, yeah, it's like you play it and you're like, this is awesome, and then like I don't know, for me it got boring very quickly. Like it just kind of became a very, very repetitive grind, and there's only so many times you can do that before you're just like, eh.
I lucked out and didn't buy it.
I tend usually not to be a founder type when it comes to games. I tend not to be a founder when it comes to video games because I prefer waiting until a little bit later down the road when the game has a couple patches and several problems have been cleared out before I buy it. Many times I usually buy my stuff on sale in packs and get to play older stuff for fun. That's just how my
I'll
thought
show you on the
process
doll
is.
where DayZ touched me because that fucking. I don't do fucking what game's not ready either because of DayZ. Fucking love that game. Fucking 7 years. Give me a break, fuckers.
I'm actually happy that all the Command & Conquer games finally got released on Steam, and now they just put out a new patch that actually makes them runnable on new systems.
Oh,
The old
nice.
Have
games.
you seen Tempest Rising at all, Millet? It's like very much like CNC, and it even has the same music guy, so it should be good.
Yeah, it's a combination of both StarCraft and I've actually been testing the demo version and the beta stuff as well. It's got some interesting concepts. There are some hiccups. I think they'll work on working it out. I'm interested in the third faction, though. There's some interesting story I want to see. That's what I'm intrigued with.
Silos
Yeah, RTS
needed.
is just. I can't do them. They bore the shit again.
Well, they don't have silos. That's a good thing. But they do have a population cap. So they do, like, you can build up to a certain thing, and actually some units you can only build like once or twice during your entire match. So it's like
That's
Yeah,
you
interesting.
have, yeah, so there's like specialists, like they have a officer. I'll use the one that I play the most. I play Dynasty. I'm sorry, I like always being the bad guys. The
So
Dynasty.
you're a Nod fan.
Yes, I am. I really like playing Nod back in the day. Played all the other factions as well, but I always like Nod because it fits my personality and play style.
Test the
one
coils
you
are the
talking about?
best. Or was that Red? That was Red Alert 2.
Oh yeah,
wasn't it?
that's Red Alert.
Yeah, you're
That's Red
thinking
Alert.
Soviets in Red Alert.
Yeah, test the coils were cool.
Soviets are kind of fun too, but you kind of have to think a little differently when you play them because it's a very heavy-handed move. But so what they have in Tempest Rising is they actually have a unique power called Dynasty. Call the Guard. And so if you cast it, it generates a ton of infantry from each building that you've built. And they have a unique little ability with their infantry that's kind of funny. Well, not funny. Lore of the game that we have now is that you can upgrade their infantry, and they basically have a bomb around their neck. So if you run them over with a tank, it creates this blast, which then weakens the tank, and then a follow-up attack will basically shatter the tank.
Our lives for Kane.
Yeah, basically. I think the weirdest
Thank
one is
you.
they
That's
have.
exactly what I was
Oh,
thinking
Is it
of.
Warhammer
Oh,
game?
oh man,
Red Alert.
I've used that quote so many times. Whenever we're
Alert,
about to go in a fleet and we're about to all die, it's like our lives for Kane.
Yeah, that's the Fanatics. The Fanatics. They actually, it was the weirdest thing because they were the only suicide bomber faction added in CNC3. But depending on which game, actually, here's one for you guys. Have you guys played Twisted Insurrection?
Nope.
Never
Nope.
heard of it.
I'm actually going to
Oh,
bounce out for the day
will
in a moment. I wanted to take this
I
time.
thought you wanted to
though.
play a game.
Well,
I'm gonna be
Red Li-
bouncing out soon. I'm
Red
tired.
Red Line went away, and
got
yeah,
practice in the morning, too, I gotta do.
it's gotten too late at this point. It's not happening.
Yeah, I gotta take
Okay,
off
sorry
myself.
about
So
that.
Yeah, because you got to
but-
work early.
But what I wanted to say, I just put a link in chat. Check us out on YouTube. I posted last week's episode. Drayden, I sent you
Yeah.
the login details.
Yeah, I need to do
I
that.
want to pretty pleased this weekend.
Tomorrow
over the
after
idea.
practice, I will do that.
All right, Drayden, play
I
the
appreciate.
animation.
But check
The
us
last
out
shot?
on
Oh, do I have
Open
it?
Com Show on YouTube. And then tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, there will also be a group of us gathering to do a roam, and we will see what happens. Solon, if you're around tomorrow night, you're more than welcome to join us. God help
I'm
us.
bachelor
Redline.
tomorrow. Maybe I'll be able to join.
Redline will be FCing, so Bob help us.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like we should just
Final
roam
shots.
around low sec so that we can all shoot the same people.
Also,
Go to
Elby,
fraternity space. That basically
next
will let you do
next
it.
week, will you be doing your Monday and Wednesday fleets again?
Yes, that's the plan. Mondays and Wednesdays. Garista stuff.
Okay. I dearly miss those the last couple weeks, and I look forward to them happening again.
Right,
Yeah.
oh,
If you're in Portland, yeah, the process.
yeah,
Come join.
Portland meetup tomorrow.
We don't know where or what time. But this month.
Tomorrow, just go to Portland tomorrow. They'll
go to
find
Portland,
you.
walk around downtown. You'll find them. You'll see a big group of nerds. You know who they are, right? There you go.
Aren't you more likely to just get mugged?
Meh.
I mean, with
I don't know,
the
they're starting
big
to crack
blast
down there,
sun?
aren't they? A little bit.
I need
there we
that
go.
final
He just
shots
said-
and final thoughts image or media clip. I do not have that in my files.
I'll have to
Did
put
you
it.
play
in
it?
I did.
I
Play it,
need
yeah.
that. No,
I mean, I
the-
didn't
so
know.
the
I wasn't sure.
so I will be very honest. The production quality of the show last week was far less than the usual average because I was not able to get anyone to help me get on ahead of time to set up my camera views for more
Well, I saw
than
that
three
post
people.
the day of the show, so sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll blame you.
But the Discord problem was not your problem. It was Discord's problem.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
No.
Anyway, so I guess I'm first, right? Final shots.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do a shot to my Titan pod. I went out in a Navy Raven fleet last night. Street Quarter Becky killed me in my Raven, and they potted me. And oh shit, I forgot to change out of my Titan pod
Rip.
because I moved my Titan.
You're there, Dominark,
I was
would've
able to
shot
rip
you.
out 4 of them, but it was still a 2 billion
Did you say it was a state? A state Navy Raven?
I did not realize you were there, or I would have made sure to whore on you.
Did you?
Yeah,
Did you say it was a state Navy
No,
Raven?
Navy Raven. Right,
Oh,
Navy
I was
Raven
like,
fleet.
damn, dude, that's
So,
like a.
short version is we had a massive brawl. It was mainline horde had a fleet, NC had a fleet, and then BFL had a fleet, and then we fought a Navy and Raven fleet from Goons and 1 or 2 CFI fleets, and Goons got the bad end.
Oh, that's an understatement.
Y'all fed.
We went in to kill one of those drills, killed the drill, all proud of ourselves. Yeah, look how tough we are. Let's jump this gate. And we're outnumbered 3 to 1.
I
We're
love
trouble.
that, and Vlad just. I love that. So many people like it's like a common thing. Like rarely do people say Navy Ravens. They usually go like Ravy Navens or something.
Did I say Ravy Navens? I might have.
I think Vlad did.
But I'll tell you,
Yeah, I
my
definitely
Titan
got
pod,
a
I
bunch
realized
of kills
it.
at a nightmare, and I was very, very sad to find out Dominark was there, and I did not whore on his kill mail.
I died quick. I was one of the first people. to die.
So you must have died before we jumped in.
So I noticed it as soon as the bubbles went up. I don't know. I'm like, well, I better look at my fucking pod. Like, oh, bitch.
Damn.
Fucking
Well done,
But
well
yeah.
done, Becky.
I mean, I'll say this though, y'all CFI fleet basically went in and sacrificed themselves to save Navy Ravens because
Oh, they did actually. They had a post fleet discussion about that. They basically said we fed those motherfuckers just so that we could save some Navy Ravens.
yeah, y'all kind of got our nightmares a little discombobulated to we had to kill CFIs instead of Navies instead of Ravens. So
Yep.
oh well, we murder zoned the CFIs and it was a
I'm gonna
fun
raise my
fight.
glass to my fucking Titan pod, which I had to replace. I replaced it today, but fuck, it's expensive.
I'll do one. So my sister just had her kid yesterday, so I'll do a shot to new
Uncle
nephew.
Drayden.
Yeah, new.
Yeah.
I mean, I had 2 nephews and a
yearn
niece
for the
already, but now I got
vibes.
3 nephews and a niece. So
Where's the chocolate cigars, guys? Where's the chocolate cigars?
chocolate cigars.
Yeah, that's what traditionally.
I've got a
used to hang
mechanical
at chocolate
cigar.
cigars.
I'm here for the chocolate. I don't care for the cigar.
Is that you
Who
get a
asked you?
cigar
Are you
made in
sure it's
chocolate?
yours? Who said that? That was funny.
This is man. That was
That was
that
Manic. Yeah, that
Nick.
was funny. Are you sure it's yours?
Elby,
You know, that's a question
What?
I've never asked my brother.
well, shop out that thing.
Fuck, I don't know.
Go Flames.
Yeah, go Flames. Go Canada. Go
Are they in
fucking.
the playoffs?
Well, the playoffs haven't even started yet. We just hit the trade deadline.
Yeah, I
How are
know.
they doing? How the Flames doing? I don't follow.
I don't think they're doing that great, but they're not doing that bad either.
How's the Kraken? They're in the same division, right?
Let me see. Yeah, we're ahead of the Kraken.
Fuck.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious that Utah traded 3 players to Chicago, who they then played tonight.
Utah has a hockey team.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it was
for a year.
the
That
the
seems
Phoenix
weird.
Coyotes moved to Utah.
Yeah,
They're called
it
the Utah
basically-
Hockey Club for now as a placeholder, but they're gonna probably have a name next season, like an actual name.
Oh, speaking of that, fuck, this is okay. So they were gonna go with the Yeti, which I thought actually that's kind of cool, the Utah Yeti,
That'd be cool.
and the patent office denied it, or trademark office denied it
because of the company.
fucking Yeti coolers.
What?
I'm not
But-
shitting you.
But those are coolers. This is a sports
Yes.
team. Like you can't trademark things that
yeah,
are different like
somebody
that.
lobbied somebody. That's all I gotta say.
That's
It should be the
That's-
Utah sand bitches or salt bitches.
dude, that
Trade-
sounds like some monster
Trademarking
energy
words that
bullshit
people have
lawsuit
used for
stuff.
Years.
but-
Good night.
Yeah.
I can
No,
understand
final
the
shot-
logo.
final
I can
thought.
understand if the Yeti logo, but that's that. Yeah, that's
Like
fine.
I understand if it's like
That's
the same genre of a business and called the same thing.
Oh,
But it's like if Yeti coolers.
No,
and
there's
Yeti
there,
hockey
there's
team,
already,
it's-
already multiple. They have the option to appeal it, but I mean, obviously that costs us money.
Toronto
But there's already been
Raptors.
tons of people who have come out saying this is straight up lobbying.
There's the
There-
Toronto.
that's the most ridiculous shit ever.
I was like Toronto Raptors. I guarantee you, there's a plumbing company called like there's a Raptor Rooter out here.
Ford Raptor.
Like there's,
There's a baseball team in Utah called the Raptors.
yeah.
It's a
so,
sport.
dude,
That's closer to that than
better
a
f-
fucking cooler.
better fucking sue 'em.
Well, then they also have the USAF
Yeti has money.
22.
Yeah, exactly. No, Yeti has a lot of money though, so they obviously can't have that.
That's
Yep.
anyway.
Personally, it's gonna
I
get to
think
a-
you'll
get
like
to a
that
point
about the
you can't
playoffs.
do that.
We gotta get moving.
My
Millen-
Millen,
oh,
final thought.
Okay.
I
oh.
didn't give mine either, did I?
You're next.
No, but Millen's next.
Okay,
He
shots
doesn't-
on.
Oh, we're going that way. Okay, never mind.
I'm just going alphabetically.
Shutting up.
Millen, did you have one?
Not really. Sorry.
Okay, Scott, go. You're next
Uh, my final thought is really just cheers to the upcoming Fan Fest. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone from Open Comms that is going to be there at the Open Comms Airbnb. I'm genuinely super stoked for it. We are just under 2 months away from it. So it's
52
coming
days,
close.
6 hours, 37. Something like that.
I can't wait. And no, we've got this shit planned. When we get there Thursday morning, we're going to the fucking to where Rain's Hotel is first, dropping our shit off, and then going to Laundromat, getting some breakfast, and then hitting the Eve
You
Monument.
guys should
baby.
wait because me and Manic are gonna
Well,
get there.
It's
a
like
little later
every
than
3
you guys.
hours you have an alarm go off.
I'll probably go there with y'all because we'll be going to the same hotel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Manic and I get in later than you guys. So if you guys,
Oh, I thought Manic was part of the early crew. God
no,
damn.
him and I are getting there
I
around
kn- I
9
kn-
something.
Okay. Well,
Or
Alex?
we could get some else. That's fine. You guys can go
Yeah,
eat breakfast. I mean,
Yeah, because
No,
I'll get it around the
okay.
same time Skyhawk does.
but
yeah. Well, and like I know Alex gets in within like 15 minutes of me, and he's never been. So my plan is essentially to like find him as soon as I get into the terminal, and then just kind of ride shotgun with him, help him feel more chill and comfortable with everything,
okay.
and then ride the fly bus into town.
Sylvan.
I don't have any final thoughts other than
Okay. None.
don't fuck up.
But-
Don't
but
fuck
do
up
you-
CCP on development.
But everyone's got
please.
a final thought though, and by thought I mean THOT.
Well, she's over there, so.
You're not wrong.
Vlad, what do you got?
I want to give a shot to my cat, who is currently sitting on top of my chair and has draped his tail around my neck like a scarf. He's a very good boy.
Picture it didn't happen, bro.
I'm not going to go
Symbiotic
get my camera. I
relationship.
don't want to disturb the cat. He's being very good, and I don't want to disturb him.
Pics or it
Cat
didn't
trying
happen.
to strangle you?
Period. End of story.
Also, it is
we gotta
10
read
days to
someone.
Eve Nola, so all I gotta say is I get in a little earlier than everyone else, and first thing I'm gonna do once I drop my shit off at the hotel is, if I'm not completely dead, I'm gonna have a Molly's get me a fucking frozen iced coffee. Those things are da bomb.
I'm curious, Vlad. Did you book in the block at that hotel, or did you book
Yes.
the discount?
I'm gonna send a
I
raid.
booked with the block, but I had to call the no. I used the group code. I did not use your code.
Well, you don't need to use a code with mine because you're on my list. So like you
Well,
get an
that's what I
extra.
meant. I didn't
Yeah.
use the friends and I didn't use that specific rate. I used the group rate.
Was it just not available? I was just curious. This is me just being.
I don't think I looked.
Who are you gonna raid?
Right.
Probably Shad-Squatch.
That the friends and family
call.
discount is half of whatever the set standard rate for that given night is,
Is spell it right?
which of course varies based on demand.
All right, I'm gonna send the
I'm
raid to
still a little-
Shad-Squatch.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks everyone
All right,
for
yeah, I'm headed out too,
yeah,
guys.
thanks for hanging out. We'll be
Thanks
back
for shoving
next
up.
week.
Bye. Take care.
See you, everyone.
Later, Bader.
I just poured myself a beer. I haven't watched Severance yet. I'm gonna watch that.
Skyhawk, I'm still a little peeved that the Hilton on Lego Vega didn't have the friends and family rate